If somebody traveled back in time and told me that I'd be taking time out of my day to make another analysis video about the characters of the Mass Effect trilogy, I wouldn't know what to say. Well, actually I would. I would say, with all due respect, the discourse that surrounds the character arc of Ashley Williams has been objectively wrong for almost 14 years now, and it's time someone made a video that simultaneously refutes this broken discourse, while also showing that Ashley is a well-written and compelling character with a surprising amount of depth to her. That is, if players choose to give her a chance.
Why is it that whenever someone says, with all due respect, they really mean kiss my ass?
Roll the intro! Hey guys, XBadgerKnight here, and welcome back to another edition of Dichotomy of a Character, a video essay series in which we take an in-depth focus on my favorite characters in media to find out what makes them compelling and well-written. Bouncing right off the previous episode where I covered the character arc of Mass Effect's Garrus Vakarian, we're jumping right back in the Mass Effect universe once more to cover the character arc of Ashley Williams, the franchise's resident misunderstood xenophobe and cynical marine with an excellent dry sense of humor.
Okay, we just have to find this thing and put a couple of rounds into... What the hell is that?
Ashley, among Mass Effect fans, is certainly a controversial character to say the least due to her xenophobic tendencies. However, in this episode, I am going to argue that Ashley's viewpoints about galactic politics, bureaucracy, and withholding her personal trust from the council races isn't all that far-fetched to begin with some, if not all of her xenophobic hangups being completely justified by the plot of Mass Effect itself. Due to Ashley being extremely polarizing, I am certain I'm going to make some people angry during this analysis of her character arc. So we might as well just start now. Allow me to test your patience by saying the following.
Dread it! Run from it! The analysis arrives all the same! Hey, hello there!
I find it absolutely insane that Ashley is perpetually criticized for being a space racist when other characters in the franchise are more pernicious than she is. And one such example is Mordin. I find it interesting that Mordin is often omitted from these conversations about Mass Effect's world building and racism, whereas Ashley is at the forefront of this kind of criticism. As we'll find out in this very video, the most harmful thing that Ashley has done within the Mass Effect trilogy is be critical of some politicians in the government while working hard to make her family proud so she can see them again in the afterlife. Mordin worked to sterilize an entire race because of what some graphs and some projections might say. What's absolutely insane to me is that Mordin is often excused from these accusations of racism and genocide from the Mass Effect fanbase because Mordin is quirky, he talks funny, and he's saying Gilbert and Solomon to you while you're aboard the Normandy SR2. Mordin only gets religious once he finally confronts the ramifications of his actions personally. Religion is what drives Ashley's character. So I want you guys watching this video to write down in the comment section where the lie is. I mean, like, seriously guys, which character is more objectively racist than the last? The Marine who's critical of the government and loves her family, or the Solarian scientist who worked on a literal sterility plague? Like, where the hell have our priorities been these past 15 years? Where have our brains been these past 15 years when looking at these characters critically? And it just blows my mind. You're all crazy.
Before I ask you to like, comment, and subscribe, I encourage those of you who have stumbled upon my channel and this series of videos to check out the previous videos I made for the series, especially those videos covering Mass Effect's cast, if nothing else but for context for this particular video. This video on Ashley represents a culmination of ideas I've had for the series, so do go check those videos out. In the past, I've analyzed other characters as part of this video essay series, with this video on Ashley being the 8th episode of Dichotomy of a Character to date. As a part of the series, I took a look at the character arcs of Mass Effect's Liara T'Soni, Talazor of Normandy, and Garrus Vakarian. In those particular videos, I highlighted how Liara goes from a naive scholar to a jaded cold person, and then finally to an emotionally mature woman who isn't afraid of asking for help by the end of Mass Effect 3. For the episode about Talazor of Normandy, I examined how Tali herself struggles with being just another brick in the wall throughout the Mass Effect trilogy, as Quarian society doesn't allow her to be selfishly selfless and caring towards others. Finally, with Garrus, I detailed how our favorite Turian CSEC officer, ever frustrated with bureaucracy, grows to resent those very ideas, misinterpreting the lessons he thought he learned under Shepard. Garrus then drives himself to pursue justice to the point of obsession, forcing Shepard to step in to prevent her friend from falling completely into the abyss. Garrus then returns his favor within Mass Effect 3 when Shepard, under immense stress due to single-handedly spearheading the war effort against the Reapers, starts to lose her edge. Garrus then steps up to the plate to alleviate some of Shepard's concerns, cementing Garrus as both best friend and boyfriend material. In the pilot episode for the series, I took an in-depth look at Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic's Bastila Shan. In this episode, I explained how Bastila is an excellent example of how to write a disillusioned and flawed protagonist who gets consumed by self-doubt, which in turn causes her to fail herself in the worst ways possible. After uploading that video, I took an extreme two-part examination of the character of Ahsoka Tano of Star Wars The Clone Wars fame. These two episodes include all of her appearances and experiences in Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and in her own novel. In these episodes, I made the case that Ahsoka should be considered the apex example of how to write a young and naive teenager that earns the audience's respect by using failure as a teacher to strengthen herself and grow as a character. Ahsoka uses the lessons she learns throughout the Clone Wars show to become a badass female protagonist with a respectable amount of earned agency and emotional intelligence. And that is a quality I'm finding lacking in modern heroines today, which makes Ahsoka all the more unique. Speaking of heroines from yesteryear being better than the ones from the present, I also did an analytical video essay on Katara from Avatar: The Last Airbender. In this episode, I examined why Katara is easily one of the best female protagonists of yesteryear, through how Avatar: The Last Airbender uses Katara as a tool to examine aspects of revenge, betrayal, being a paragon of virtue under duress, and most of all, not letting your past traumas consume you to the point of apathy or immoralism. These videos as part of my Dichotomy of a Character series are easily some of the best content available on my YouTube channel right now, so I encourage you to check those videos out by clicking either the card at the top right corner, the link in the description, or checking my pinned comment down below, all of which will contain a link to a playlist to all my Dichotomy of a Character video essays. In the interim between the last few Dichotomy of a Character episodes, my channel went from just under 470 subscribers to almost 700. I know for a fact that we can hit 1,000 subscribers at this rate, so if you haven't already, please consider liking the video and subscribing for any and all future content from myself. I know who you are! As per standard fare with all my Dichotomy of a Character episodes, I laid out some ground rules for myself that I hope will help with analyzing Ashley's character. Different from all my other Dichotomy of a Character episodes, we will actively be cheating on Ashley in Mass Effect 2 with a few different characters to gain some insight into her character, which we will of course get into later in the video. I will also not be using any mods from Mass Effect 3 that overhaul vanilla dialogue and plot points such as Back Off, Mass Effect 3 Recalibrated, Lime, or the Mass Effect Happy Ending mod. I will however be using cosmetic and texture mods such as the Mass Effect Updated / Improved Textures mod by Cataclysm and C3 Anderson from Mass Effect 1 and 2. I'm also using this mod in tandem with the texture mods A Lot of Textures and A Lot of Videos by Creepalava and Audiomos respectively. All these fantastic mods work in tandem with one another to up the visual fidelity of the Mass Effect trilogy's visuals and cutscenes for you watching at home. These mods are absolutely essential to any playthrough of the Mass Effect trilogy on PC, at least as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of essential mods to make Mass Effect more enjoyable, I, like most of the Mass Effect fanbase, find Ashley's character design in Mass Effect 3 obnoxious, to say the least.
I wear armor into battle, not swimwear.
Ashley would absolutely hate being forced to kick on the makeup and being stuffed into what amounts to a tactical catsuit, while also fighting Reapers in Geth and heels. According to the digital toilet paper BioWare included in the collector's edition of Mass Effect 3, BioWare had one goal with Ashley's new design: to mark her passionate return to the franchise by upping her sex appeal. This decision never made any sense to me, as I've always thought that Ashley already had plenty of sex appeal in the first game, which was expressed in one of the best ways possible: through solid writing and conversations with Shepard, not through eye candy.
I can make you feel much more than that. Come here.
No. I think you're gonna have to come here.
Shut up and get over here.
Make me.
Fan service or not, the blue catsuit and heels Ashley wears throughout the game clashes with her character immensely. She looks more like a supermodel about to strut down a runway, and not the loud crashing tomboy, career soldier, and future Spectre candidate she's portrayed to be in Mass Effect 1 and 2.
Every Marine a rifleman, every rifleman ZG certified.
Let me be straight with you guys. If BioWare got me to take Ashley's character serious in the first game, despite her first introduction to the player wearing pink and white armor, then BioWare a few years later, turning her into a hypocritical laughingstock for the sake of fan service, we then have a problem. As a result of this, I'll be using two mods to overhaul Ashley's appearance in Mass Effect 3. First being Jania's Ashen Kid and complexion tweaks from Mass Effect 3, and the latter being the Ashley Warpack by Survivor 686. The former mod by Jania significantly reduces the ridiculous amount of makeup and gloss Ashley's caked on her face in Mass Effect 3. This mod brings her appearance closer to how she was depicted in Mass Effect 1 and 2. As for the latter mod, instead of Ashley going into combat wearing heels and a catsuit, the Ashley Warpack puts Ashley in a more sensible suits of armor, such as a retextured set of the Cerberus Ajax armor to Alliance Blue, and a set of heavy Spectre armor and Urban Camo, complemented by a red stripe and Spectre logo stenciled on her left pauldron. This version of the Ashley Warpack I've installed also modifies Ashley's hair into 3 selectable styles while in combat. These options include keeping her default hair, tying it up to a short ponytail, or my personal favorite and the style I'm going to be using for the rest of this video, the combat bun. This also keeps her appearance similar to previous Mass Effect titles, while also reinforcing that Ashley, despite being promoted to Lieutenant Commander by Mass Effect 3, is still a grunt at heart, and would rather be in the trenches than flying a desk. Outside of combat, instead of her catsuit, Ashley retains her long hair but also dons a stylish yet utilitarian outfit that reminds me of another loud crashing tomboy from another franchise I might cover in the future. But that's neither here or there. This is a video about Ashley after all. So let's give Ashley a chance and find out why she's a compelling and well-written character. Let's get stuck into it. Unlike other games in its genre, Mass Effect is truly unique when it comes to player choice, as it took the skeletal framework of Knights of the Old Republic and modernized it for a new generation. While KOTOR managed to RPG-ify Star Wars while also telling a hell of a good story that in most aspects surpasses the original trilogy movies in my eyes, the gameplay often gets in the way of my enjoyment of KOTOR. KOTOR's morality system is also somewhat strange as well. Before Obsidian managed to refine its aspects in the game's sequel, the evil or dark side choices of KOTOR were comparable to that of a Saturday morning cartoon villain twirling his mustache while maniacally laughing.
Kill her. Rend her flesh. Show her the fate of all who dare stand against us.
Sure, it's funny, but the writing for an evil playthrough is little use outside of massive giggle factor.
I think I'll go for some dinner. It will be fun to think of them while I gorge myself.
The light set options are written better for the most part, and echo the wise Jedi Master you're pushed to play by your party members like Bastila Shan, which, hey, I have a video about this, you guys should totally watch it, links in the description. While the party members of KOTOR either admire or detest the player's actions based on the game's binary morality systems, Mass Effect's narrative allows for a bit more wiggle room due to how your party members present themselves to Shepard. It's true that each party member still falls upon the game's renegade Paragon morality spectrum, but due to how fluid such a morality spectrum is, each character is a bit more nuanced. Humanity in the Mass Effect universe has only been part of the greater galactic community for only a quarter century now, which is why it was a wise decision for BioWare to take advantage of this morality spectrum and intertwine it with that bit of lore into the plot. The narrative firmly places Shepard and subsequently the player as an ambassador of humanity, with all the baggage that comes with being the new kid on the block moving into a neighborhood that's already existed for several thousand years. We are far off from the Gene Roddenberry sci-fi utopia that Mass Effect seems to take most inspiration from.
Captain, the most elementary and valuable statement in science, the beginning of wisdom is, I do not know.
A million light years from where humanity began, and we walk into a bar filled with men drooling over half-naked women shaking their asses on a stage. I can't decide if that's funny or sad.
What? You don't think they're here because of the food?
It's much more grounded and realistic in tone. Humanity defending themselves from a hostile alien race looking to subjugate them? Check. Humans breaking intergalactic laws that they didn't know existed at the time? Check. Humanity being recognized as adaptable and tenacious by the aliens? Check. Racial tensions occurring between humans and other alien races as a result of them vastly expanding way too quickly? Check. Humanity being as loved and respected as they are feared? Well, that's where Shepard and you come in. The former is the path of the Paragon. A Paragon Shepard is that of a warrior diplomat, who plans to show the rest of the galaxy humanity's best and most honorable characteristics in the form of the first human Spectre. A true Paragon Shepard tries to see both sides of particular situations, offering counsel and introspection both as friends and enemies alike.
We won't. Because you're gonna stay in your cell and do your time.
Afraid I'll escape. Come back for revenge. Is the great Commander Shepard pleading for her life?
I'm pleading for yours.
On the flip side of the coin, we have the Renegade Shepard. A Renegade Shepard is no diplomat, instead adopting a colder, no-nonsense attitude. A Renegade is someone who is willing to do anything to get the job done, with Shepard either pulling rank or threatening others to keep his team in line.
Look at you, both of you. This is exactly what the Reapers want. Tali, of course they get they're worried about your people. You want to destroy them.
It's not that simple.
And Legion, what the hell were you thinking? Are you trying to undermine this entire operation?
We did not intend to decrease operational efficiency.
We're on a mission. You can either fight at my side or get crushed under my heel, but you will not stand in my way.
That's not to say that the Paragon Shepard is a complete wet blanket, or that the Renegade Shepard is inherently evil either. A diplomat may try to make peace when possible, but doesn't resign himself to pacifism or inaction when shit hits the fan. A Paragon Shepard still takes lives, even when giving his enemies every possible out he can. Renegade Shepards give his enemies no such chances, but his actions aren't completely unjustified either. Sure, while most of the Renegade options involve Shepard being a complete hard-ass towards those he outranks, which in turn leads to less rewarding relationships with Normandy's crew, this type of attitude does keep them focused on the mission. After all, the discipline the chain of command offers does help when you're fighting a race of ancient Lovecraftian machine monsters from outside the Milky Way galaxy. While Shepard's actions directly inform how humanity is perceived in the galactic community, the crew of the Normandy serve a more passive role in the game's narrative. Every character that's part of the Normandy's crew acts almost as an ambassador to the race and culture, which allows the morality system and the plot to be more cohesive elements of Mass Effect's narrative. Every character that's aboard the Normandy has their place in the Paragon and Renegade spectrum. Tali serves as a pathway to understanding Quarian culture and the Geth, while also allowing for an outsider's perspective on the Alliance's inner workings. Tali, being an outsider, doesn't really concern herself with matters outside the Quarian fleet, thus she is a true neutral on the spectrum. Garrus serves as an insight to the inner workings of galactic politics as a good cop who wants to do right within a bureaucratic hellhole that seemingly doesn't care about him. Garrus gets disillusioned with how C-Sec handles justice and opts to leave the Force entirely. Garrus certainly does straddle the line between neutral and renegade by working outside the law to bring justice to those who deserve it. Wrex offers some understanding of the culture of the Krogan, or lack thereof, and how the Genophage has forced the Krogan to fight over every last scrap as mercenaries. He's mostly resigned himself to life of bounty hunting like most other Krogan, although he's a bit more idealistic than his brethren. As such, Wrex is in the far extreme of the renegade spectrum, not caring much for the authority of others, on account of his old age and overall disappointment with what his race has evolved into. Liara's naivety and reserved personality allows for the player to absorb the most ridiculous aspects of the Asari's culture. In Mass Effect 1, Liara comes off as an apologist when explaining Shepard the stigmas that surround the Asari, such as her race being monogender and inherent sexuality. Liara is firmly the opposite of Wrex in the Paragon spectrum. Kaidan serves not only as an ambassador to the struggles of human biotics, but offers a more balanced and starry-eyed perspective of humanity's place among the stars, despite having his share of bad experiences with aliens at Jump Zero. Kaidan killed the Turian officer in charge of training human biotics for breaking his girlfriend's arm. At the time, Kaidan thought fighting back was the right decision, that nobody should inflict that amount of unjust suffering on another. It turns out, nobody was a fan of Kaidan's actions as they now thought of him as a murderer. Kaidan's experiences at Jump Zero taught him that even the best that humanity can offer can still chafe under duress when trying to do the right thing, while also recognizing that even aliens can be flawed much in the same way that humans are. Due to Kaidan's dark past, he's a bit more renegade than Liara, but still somewhat idealistic. Kaidan's idealistic and introspective nature put him in direct conflict with Ashley as her narrative foil. With the exception of Garrison turning Kaidan renegade through some conversations, Ashley manages to capture the morality and spirit of Mass Effect's newfangled morality system so effectively that it makes her place in the narrative incredibly unique and dynamic. She's that important in balancing out Shepard's companions, while also offering a realistic insight in humanity, only being part of the Galactic community for about a quarter century. Due to Ashley embodying the nuances of Mass Effect's morality system so well, she is subsequently the most dynamic and nuanced companion in the entire game, with several resolutions to her character arc in the first game alone. As a result of this, we have a few pathways to take here for Ashley's character development in Mass Effect 1. However, we should first start with the inciting incident for her character, which actually happens outside of the games and in one of the many comics. So let's get started. Now, before we get into the actual content of the games, we need to back it up a little bit. Ashley's journey through the Mass Effect trilogy begins as part of the third issue of the Mass Effect Foundations, a series of comic books penned by Mac Walters, the lead writer of Mass Effect 2 and 3. The comic was released in 2013, way after Mass Effect 3's release, but is chronologically placed a day after Saren and the Geth heretics attacked Eden Prime. The comic also explains and expands upon Ashley's fierce determination, no-nonsense attitude, and exceptional leadership skills, and the amount of discrimination she faces within the Alliance due to her grandfather's deeds at Shang-Chi. It goes without saying that this comic is important to Ashley's character, as it recontextualizes her as a veteran soldier instead of a newcomer filling a dead man's shoes. Let's begin. The comic opens from Ashley's perspective as she's walking around the Presidium with whom I'm going to assume is Kaidan, a day after the attack on Eden Prime. She's quickly cornered by Alliance psychologist Captain Channing, who wants to evaluate Ashley to ensure she's fit for duty after what she's been through. Ashley, of course, detests this very idea. As far as she's concerned, she's fine, and the last person she needs to talk to is a shrink. She eventually caves and tells Alliance psychologist Captain Channing that she has 20 minutes. Ashley first backs it up to a day before they were stationed in Eden Prime, where she and the 212 were having a few drinks while off duty in a bar somewhere in the wards. At the bar, there's some revelry going on, as all the other soldiers give each other shit and play matchmaker with each other. We're introduced to a Sergeant Donkey, known by the nickname Donk by the squad, who, despite relentlessly hitting on Ashley, seems pretty tight with her. The revelry is quickly interrupted by the commanding officer, who tells the 212 that they're on the clock as of right now. The science team at Eden Prime just dug up some beacon thing, and they want the 212 to protect it. The commander strolls up to the bar, takes a swig, and tells Sergeant Donkey that he's a squad leader. Donkey, confused at the very notion, asks why Ashley isn't in charge instead. She does, after all, outrank him. Now, I don't know how military ranks work in the Mass Effect universe, but if Gunnery Chief is similar to the ranks of the United States Marines, then Ashley just got passed over for a leadership role despite outranking Donkey by 2 pay grades. That certainly pissed me off. But, to Ashley's credit, she holds her tongue. The commanding officer gets up and whirls around towards Ashley to ask her a loaded question. "Williams, you know why I don't trust you?" Holding back her anger, Ashley coldly retorts, "I can guess, sir." The CO then gets right up in Ashley's face. "Your friends might not see it, but I do. You can't escape your past, Williams." Ashley, refusing to make eye contact with her CO, retorts, "If you say so, sir." Her commanding officer snaps back, "I just did." We then smash cut to Eden Prime, where Ashley's unit called Dog Squad is forced to walk to the beacon. This is standard fare for Ashley's squad, it seems. They always get the crap assignments, hence the name Dog Squad. Donkey tells Ashley to hang back for a second, where he tells Ashley that he thinks the CO's an ass, and that she should be leading the mission instead. Ashley brushes off the compliment from Donk and says that all the Alliance brass are the same, that they all think if they give Ashley a command, she'll surrender to the enemy or bungle the mission. Oh, and Ashley also thinks her CO's an ass too. Donk tries to reassure her that grunts like him don't think of her that way, that Ashley has the biggest balls in the whole platoon. Ashley, unlike other people in her squad, is able to keep her head on straight when things go crazy. Donk tells her to keep at it and that somebody's eventually going to recognize her efforts. In true Ashley fashion, she brushes it off as her heart at this point is protected with a solid layer of jade. She jokingly asks if the vote of confidence from Donk was him trying to make another passenger. Donk says sure, but it doesn't mean he's insincere about Ashley's ability to lead. Ashley retorts with some more cynicism. "Who knows, Donkey," she says. "Maybe one day we'll both get lucky. Luck's for the lonely, Ash. We're a team. We've got each other." Dog Squad reaches the rendezvous point as night falls, and something is very wrong. The other squads are missing. Dong pulls out a pair of NVGs and scouts the canyon below. 14 bodies. The entirety of Bravo Squad all lie dead, looking like Swiss cheese. Just then, something comes over the radio.
"Taking fire from unknown enemy at beacon."
Dong doesn't know what to do next. He freezes up. This was supposed to be an easy mission, a hike in the woods. But instead, this mission got a lot more complicated. Dong knows that he doesn't have the experience to lead his team effectively through this. So he does the only logical thing. He puts Ashley in charge. Donk knows that the team needs a real leader, and Ash has the experience they need to see this through. Ashley, now in charge, rallies the rest of Dog Squad and gets them motivated. She says they need to be smart, deliberate, and disciplined to come out on top. Donkey thanks Ashley for doing the job he couldn't do, and again, she brushes it off as per usual. They're not exactly out of the woods yet, after all. The sun comes up as Dog Squad closes in on the dig site. They notice in the distance mechs impaling people on pikes. Dong thinks that they might be Geth, but none of that really matters as a recon drone spots them, forcing them to spring the trap a bit earlier than they planned. Ashley yells, "In position, people, just like we planned it!" as she and Donk run for the hills. She barks out orders to the rest of the squad, sliding down hills and tumbling into a bush to prepare for an ambush. Once they get there past her and Donk, the two rush to the Geth from behind, screaming as they charge the enemy. Ashley quickly puts a hole in one of the Geth, and without missing a beat, tells someone to get on the radio to call for backup.
"We are under attack, taking heavy casualties. I repeat, heavy casualties. We can't. Need evac. They came out of nowhere. We need..."
The squad gets distracted by some strange ship in the distance, and in the commotion, everyone gets torn apart, Donkey included. Ashley makes a run for it, taking the heaviest amount of suppressive fire ever. In a last act of desperation, she calls out for help, but no response from her squad. She pleads to God to throw her a bone, that it can't end like this. Ashley clenches her teeth, closes her eyes, and lets out a scream. She will not die here lying down. To be the sole survivor unit she failed to protect, she won't stand the thought of her death vindicating the Alliance brass and her dipshit CO. She will live today or die trying. There will be no retreat, no surrender. In final act of martyrdom, Ashley leaps from cover, shouting, "I will not yield!" She smacks the butt of her rifle into one of the Geth troopers' stupid flashlight heads. As she leaps in the air, miraculously dodging fire from the Geth troopers. According to Ashley, she spent the next few hours playing cat and mouse with a Geth, biding her time until somebody could pick up the distress signal they sent earlier. Eventually, someone found her. She was on her own, one woman against many. She tells Alliance psychologist Captain Channing, that she was sure she was dead, and wasn't sure if she was worthy of rescue by Shepard and Kaidan. The comic ends with Ashley feeling better and smiling, echoing Donk's words to her. Luck is for the lonely. That is to say, those who don't have friends or people to depend on when it counts have to resort to chance to survive. Luck is irrelevant when you have loyal friends who trust you, like how Donk trusted Ashley. Ashley chalking up her survival skill to luck may also have some significance here. After all, it wasn't luck that caused Ashley to survive here. It was due to Ashley's combat skills that she was able to survive and make it out alive. However, the moment Ashley decided to throw herself at the Geth, she considered herself a dead woman. Did her sudden will to live come from a place from fearlessness or spite? We're going to circle back to this later, so keep those questions in mind. For now, let's catch up with Shepard and Kaidan. As Shepard and Kaidan catch up to Ashley, she fills us in the situation. As detailed in the comic, Ash has been running and fighting for her life for at least a whole day. She's tired, haggard, and angry at her inability to protect the rest of the 212. Here's where Shepard can make a judgment call on Ashley's integrity and ability, or inability, for that matter, to lead. If Shepard calls Ashley a coward for running away instead of fighting the Geth, she will say this.
"You just left the rest of your unit behind to die?"
We held our position as long as we could. The Geth overwhelmed us.
After Shepard wakes up aboard the Normandy after interacting with the Prothean beacon, he can make another judgment call on Ashley's competence, and judging by her reaction, this accusation really stings. Like, a lot.
It's my fault. I must have triggered some kind of security field when I approached it. You had to push me out of the way.
I expect better of my people, Williams. You endangered our entire mission.
Hey, look at her face. Shepard might as well just kicked a puppy. Ugh, poor Ashley. If Shepard continues to question her competence throughout the entire mission on Eden Prime, Ashley will say this aboard the Normandy after speaking to Anderson regarding the beacon.
You're not assigned to this ship.
Captain Anderson had me transferred to his command. Must have figured I knew what I was doing.
You have a problem with me, Chief?
You questioned my competence through the entire mission.
Best way to stop that is to show me you're competent. But I don't remember inviting you to come back to the ship with us.
You didn't. Captain Anderson did.
Ashley is completely fed up with the brass putting her down, especially with how hard she fought on Eden Prime. To her, Shepard is no different. He's exactly like her old CO. She's also incredibly vindictive towards Shepard's accusation, and is thankful that at least Captain Anderson recognizes her as a good soldier. Shepard can also continue to pull rank on Ashley for the duration of the game, after Anderson steps down from being the Normandy's captain, of course, and in several conversations with her aboard the Normandy, further admonishing and frustrating her. While I genuinely believe that Mass Effect is the most tightly written game in the trilogy, there is literally no reason for Shepard to be spiteful towards Ashley here. The whole spat between Ashley and Shepard revolves around the commander believing that she's an incompetent coward, which is blatantly not true. If you, like Renegade Shepard, still need proof of Ashley being somewhat competent, please watch the following clip. Ashley, while running, off balance and taking fire from these Geth drones, then draws her pistol, turns around, dives on her back, fires off 4 shots and hits exactly what she's aiming at. Incompetent my ass. Running at Shepard is fucking insane. If this spat between Shepard and Ashley is to set up her mistrust and hatred of the Alliance brass, we get that through normal conversations with her anyway later in the game. There's almost nothing to be gained here through antagonizing Ashley like this, and this is the only part in the game where I think the writing pulls way too much from old school BioWare, where the player can just be evil for being evil's sake. The only way you can rationalize this kind of writing is with the following scenario. Much like what the player can do with Basilishan and KOTOR, you can effectively tell Ashley that her opinions don't matter and that she should just shut the hell up already.
That's enough, Chief. You always second-guess your superiors?
Sir! No, sir. I'm sorry, I was out of line. I'll get back to my duties, Commander.
This eventually results in Ashley holding her tongue and stewing in her anger, becoming more cynical in the process. Nobody will ever recognize Ashley for her talents and efforts, nor sympathize with her, which is truly a shame. This is one of the many places where Ashley's professional appearance and abrasive attitude comes from. She desperately wants to prove herself in the eyes of the brass, and if she can't do that conventionally, she will have to resort to spectacle and martyrdom. Is it really such a surprise when she, against everyone's better judgment, activates the nuke on Vermeer? I choose to believe that she does this out of spite if we follow this path. If nobody will see Ashley for who she truly is, she's gonna make damn sure that the galaxy will see her sacrifice from orbit at 100,000 lumens.
Alright everybody, hang on!
This is a Pyrrhic victory for Ashley. Nobody can deny her heroism now. Her sacrifice helped stop a Reaper invasion after all. But hey, let's back this up a little bit. If Shepard can manage to drop the military bravado and work the stick out of his ass, a whole lot of options begin to open up for Ashley's character arc. It is both rewarding from a role-playing perspective and from a storytelling perspective. After apologizing to Ashley for being a bit of a knob, we could then ask her about her feelings about Eden Prime. Now, Ashley being on the Renegade side of the spectrum will mostly agree with the opinions of Renegade Shepard, but then she will get all defensive, cynical, and sarcastic when a Paragon Shepard offers her some sympathy. This is no more exemplified than with the first conversation Shepard can have with Ashley down the lower decks in the Normandy. In this conversation, Ashley wishes Shepard and the Normandy's crew could have been there a bit sooner to save Donk and the rest of the 212.
Kinda wish you'd got there sooner, Commander. No offense, I appreciate the rescue. I just wish...
You wish we'd been able to save the rest of your unit?
Yes, sir.
She talks it up to herself, lacking awareness and adaptability when that's really not the case. But nevertheless, she vows never to let such a thing happen ever again. To a Renegade Shepard, the answer to avoiding another squad wipe by a Geth ambush seems pretty simple. Fix the problem at its source. To which, Ashley will agree.
The answer seems plain enough to me. Be more alert.
Aye, aye, Commander.
However, for the more ambivalent and Paragon choices, Shepard can offer Ashley some sympathy, saying that they weren't trained to fight synthetics who don't move or breathe, to which Ashley gives a rather cynical but very real answer.
Sir, they have flashlight heads. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again.
The only exception to this rule is the Paragon post-Eden Prime conversation with Ashley. If Shepard is very welcoming and kind and sympathetic towards Ashley's joining in the Normandy, she becomes the optimist when Shepard gets a bit blunt and cynical regarding the death of Jenkins and whatever backstory you pick for your Shepard.
When your number comes up, it's over. His did.
Do you really believe that, Commander? After what happened to you on Akuz? Are you saying you only survived because of random chance?
Akuz was a bloodbath. Even now, I don't know how I survived. I guess it just wasn't my time yet.
With respect, sir, I think you had somebody watching over you.
This implies that Ashley has something else driving her other than her wanting to impress the Alliance brass. After all, Ashley being somewhat blunt is part of the charm of her character, so it's all the more significant that Ashley hints that she's not just some jarhead who exists solely to put high-velocity rounds into the heads of bad guys. As we will later see, Ashley is absolutely horrendous at explaining her more complex feelings and emotions due to how the Alliance brass has marginalized her throughout her career. She's wary of anything that can be used against her and prides herself on her professionalism as a soldier.
Ask me to clear a bunker of armed hostiles? No problem. Dealing with the foot in my mouth? Not so good with that.
You've got oceans, beautiful women, this emotion called love. According to the old vids, we have everything they want.
If you expect to get me in a tinfoil miniskirt and thigh-high boots, I want dinner first. Sir.
That will be enough, Chief.
At ease, Lieutenant. Can't see her in a skirt anyway.
Damn straight you can't.
These are common themes with her character that is closely associated with her grandfather's military history, her poor treatment as an NCO within the Alliance military, her xenophobic hangups, her love of poetry, family, and her father. After all, a Williams has to be the best if only to avoid suspicion. So let's find out why Ashley thinks like this. After Shepard rescues Liara from Therum, Ashley will want to speak to Shepard down on the third deck. In this conversation, Ashley will try to share her concerns about serving with aliens aboard the Normandy. Now, of course, Shepard can interact with Ashley in a few different ways, which is incredibly rewarding from a gameplay, role-playing, and narrative standpoint. Generally speaking, if Shepard follows the Renegade path, Ashley and Renegade Shepard remain skeptical of the Council races, with the bottom line being that they treat humanity like second-class citizens.
The Council's had a grudge against us since the First Contact War.
However, the opposite is true for the Paragon. Paragon Shepard places absolute trust in the Council and believes that humanity can learn a lot from the Council races as allies.
I'm not sure I'd call the Council races allies. We, humanity, have to learn to rely on ourselves.
Standing up for ourselves doesn't mean standing alone.
This is a viewpoint that Ashley doesn't necessarily agree with.
As noble as the council members seem now, if their backs are against the wall, they'll abandon us.
Paragon Shepards can respond to Ashley by calling her view of the universe a pessimistic one, to which she will say this.
You've got a pessimistic view of the universe, Williams.
A pessimist is what an optimist calls a realist.
Simply put, Ashley keeps it real. What's also important to note here, and for everyone who perpetually calls Ashley a racist, is that she doesn't let her prejudices get in the way of her job.
I can see where your concerns are coming from, Williams. But this is a multilateral mission. You're going to have to work with aliens, like it or not.
It won't be a problem, Commander. You say jump, I say how high. You tell me to kiss a Turian, I'll ask which cheek.
As a matter of fact, when on Vermeer, Ashley volunteers to work with Captain Hera Hayes' Solarian SCG team. It even tries to persuade Caden to stay behind to arm the nuke. She also gets mad at Caden when he tries to pull rank on her as an officer.
We can't do this without both teams at their best. I volunteer.
Not so fast, LT. Commander Shepard will need you to arm the nuke. I'll go with the Solarians.
With all due respect, Gunnery Chief, it's not your place to decide.
Why is it that whenever someone says, with all due respect, they really mean kiss my ass?
As a side note, what Caden did here is a big no-no. Generally speaking, it's an unwritten rule within the military that a junior officer should never pull rank on a non-commissioned officer like that, as the NCOs technically outrank the junior officers in experience. Given Ashley's experience as a leader, her technical scores apparently mean the highest standards, according to later conversations with Shepard, her hatred of the Alliance brass, and her relationship with Caden being pretty amicable, it's no wonder she's mad at him here. Anyway, back on topic. In regards to this rather infamous comment by Ashley, remember that she's really bad at expressing herself, and I do think that a lot of people are misinterpreting what Ashley's trying to say here.
Look. If you're fighting a bear and the only way for you to survive is to sick your dog on it and run, you'll do it. As much as you love your dog, it isn't human. It's not racism, not really. Members of their species will always be more important to them than humans are.
To use Ashley's analysis here, she's saying that the Council will sick their allies on the problem to protect their own interests. Ashley fears that the Council will gaslight humanity to action on the basis of the Council being wiser than humans, only for them to abandon humanity when the time comes. Ashley, in her analogy, is not at all suggesting that humanity is the guy sicking the Council on the bear. It is quite literally the opposite. Ashley is simply concerned that Shepard might put the Council's interest before humanity's, which, hey, is a decision that comes up at the end of the game. It's also crucial to understand that Ashley knows her views are unpopular, as hinted by her gathering herself before telling Shepard about her concerns.
Commander, you have a minute to talk?
I keep an open door policy. If you have any concerns, lay them on me.
All right.
Honestly, I think Ashley letting her guard down here and sharing her opinions about politics to her commanding officer is kind of significant. Remember, she distrusts the Alliance brass intensely, so she must either respect or trust Shepard enough that he won't go and tell everyone else. Even if he did, it's no secret that the Alliance is prejudiced against aliens, and this also goes for Turians who hold high positions in office as well. Practically every senior member of the Alliance military and some members of Cerberus are First Contact War veterans, such as Admiral Hackett, Captain Anderson, Alec Ryder, Rear Admiral Malkovich,
Krogan, Turians,
and Jack Harper, who's better known as the Elusive Man, who started Cerberus immediately after the First Contact War ended. The First Contact War did happen within all of their lifetimes, and the image of the Turians invading Shang-Chi is still fresh in some people's minds. It's perfectly reasonable for these veterans to have a healthy bit of skepticism when First Contact began with the Turians decimating the Alliance fleet without asking questions first. As a matter of fact, the whole reason why the Turians chose to fire upon the human fleet was that the humans were ignorant of the galactic law against activating mass relays, a precaution implemented by the Council after the Solarians encountered the Rachni. Needless to say, I think it's fair to object to Turians like Executor Palin, Commander Vernus, Saren himself, and Counselor Sparatus for being openly antagonistic towards humans. Commander Vernus was in charge of training human biotics like Jump Zero, the biotic boot camp Caden went to. Vernus was openly antagonistic towards his human trainees, using water or food to bait them into being hazed by the commander. According to Caden, he was quoted as saying that he was at the helm of the dreadnought that killed your father, and when Caden finally struck him, he told Caden that the Turians should have bombed humanity back to the Stone Age. It's true that Vernus was unliked by humans and Turians alike, but nonetheless he could have tapped the brakes a little bit, and maybe he would still be alive if he did. Executor Palin's views on humanity are somewhat more reasonable and are more similar to Ashley's. Palin's a bit of a skeptic who claims that humanity is expanding far too quickly and has already been given enough concessions by the Council, despite only being part of galactic politics for 25 years. Palin respects humanity's tenacity and wants them to harness that aspect of the race to push their policies forward. This is a respectable attitude, but it doesn't take into account the amount of times humanity has been rebuked by the ruling classes. Palin telling Shepard that the second-class citizens need to fight for every scrap that is granted to them by the Council isn't very constructive or even possible when the ruling classes won't even give them the chance to do so. After all, it was Saren's racism that prevented Captain Anderson from becoming the first human Spectre, and Nihilus' tolerance for humans that allowed for Shepard to eventually become a Spectre in the first place.
Not many could have survived what you went through on Akuz. You showed a remarkable will to live, a particularly useful talent. That's why I put your name forward as a candidate for the Spectres.
Why would a Turian want a human in the Spectres?
Not all Turians resent humanity. Some of us see the potential of your species. We see what you have to offer to the rest of the galaxy, and to the Spectres. We are an elite group. It's rare to find an individual with the skills we seek. I don't care that you're human, Shepard. I only care that you can do the job.
Like Executor Palin, Nihilus will either be impressed by Shepard's ruthlessness, heroism, or tenacity to stay cool under fire. He admires Shepard for those qualities, while others who hold office seem to overlook or detest them. This attitude is no more exemplified than in Speratus, the Turian counselor who is openly antagonistic towards Shepard and the human race as a whole. When Shepard reports to the Council after rescuing Liara from Therum, Speratus is the first to assume Liara is a traitor.
I assume you're taking the necessary security precautions.
Don't tell me how to do my job.
You are free to act as you see fit, Commander. Our role is to offer guidance and advice.
It's up to you if you're smart enough to listen.
I don't need this.
Communications cut, Commander.
Oh, but we're just getting started. After defeating the Rachnar in Noveria and choosing to kill the Queen, Speratus will accuse Shepard of being a genocidal maniac.
Is this report accurate, Commander? You found Rachnar on Noveria?
Found them and wiped them out. Do you take pleasure from committing genocide, Shepard?
Depends on the species, Turian.
Commander, you are addressing a member of the Council. You will show the proper respect.
Respect works both ways.
If Shepard chooses to spare the Rachnar, Speratus will say this instead.
Commander, do not cut me off like last time. I fail to find it amusing.
Let's just stick to business.
Is this report accurate, Commander? You found Rachnar on Noveria?
And then release the Queen. Do you have any idea what you've done? How many generations until they overrun the galaxy?
This Queen is different. She understands why her kind had to be wiped out last time around.
I hope you're right, Shepard. Our children's children will pay the price if you're not.
Now, let it be known I generally agree with Speratus objecting to Shepard sparing the Rachnar Queen, but the fact that the opposite situation exists makes him look like a spineless contrarian. It makes him look like he's just here to spite Shepard, and this is the guy who has the biggest say in Turian galactic politics? Ugh. Anyway, later, after defeating the Thorian, Speratus will once again show his prejudice towards humans. These offhanded comments from Speratus actually really got to me while I was capturing footage for this video, so I'll just let my live reaction play.
Commander, Exogenia should have told us about the Thorian. It would have made your job much easier.
You might have been able to capture it for study instead of destroying it.
The only reason to study a creature like that is to figure out how to kill it.
Yes, kill it. That's how you humans usually deal with things you don't understand.
The Thorian enslaved and killed innocent civilians.
Perhaps it's for the best then. At least the colony was saved.
Of course it was saved. Shepard would go to any lengths to help a human colony.
Oh my god! Huh? Of course it was saved. Shepard would go to any lengths to help a human colony. I picked the colonist background for this playthrough. I've never actually advanced the dialogue for this because I've always found it extremely funny to go, haha, hang up on the Council. But now, I see that really sacrificing the Council as like literally 0 redeemable benefits. If this fucking jackass is on the Council, spewing his anti-human, of course you would go to any length to help the human colony, whereas at the beginning, these fucking morons were literally covering Saren's ass because they didn't want to disparage the Golden Boy, even after he literally tried to blow up a colony with a Reaper, but okay, we don't know that yet. And then the Councilor's like, oh man, oh no, we can't, there's no evidence. Garrus busts his ass trying to find evidence on the guy. He has to go outside the law, outside of CSEC to actually fucking do something about it. Even after we prove everything that Saren's a traitor, this guy still fucking bellyaches. Holy shit. I'm starting to think that Ashley's reasons for wanting Earth to be, I don't know, slightly more independent in the galactic community are actually correct. Because, holy shit, if this guy's any representation of the Turians, oh my god, separate, please. Speratus and some of the other council members are very much disingenuous toward the plight of Eden Prime, saying that humans knew the risk when settling a colony close to the Traverse.
This is an outrage! The Council would step in if the Geth attacked a Turian colony?
The Turians don't found colonies on the borders of the Terminus systems, Ambassador.
Humanity was well aware of the risks when you went into the Traverse.
What about Seren? You can't just ignore a rogue Spectre. I demand action!
You don't get to make demands of the Council, Ambassador.
They say this while being completely ignorant of the fact that the Asari, Turians, and Solarians have had a head start of at least, I don't know, a few thousand years. The Councilors are also ignorant of humanity's various clashes with the Batarians, who routinely target and enslave the populations of human colonies. If your Shepard is like mine, he or she is a colonist who watched this very thing happen to his friends and family on Mindoir. This Shepard would either later grow up to adopt the moniker of the Butcher of Torfan, or be known as a war hero, who single-handedly prevented Elysium from becoming a repeat of Mindwar, while on vacation no less. If the Council's further incompetence and ignorance wasn't prevalent enough, I gave you the fustercluck that was Vermeer. We were first informed that the Council lost an SCG team in the system and wants Shepard to investigate. We land, blast away some Geth from the Mako, and find out that the Normandy is grounded to the prevalence of anti-air towers in the area. We find out that the SCG team was in the same boat before, and we're waiting for the Council to send a fleet.
You and your crew have just landed in the middle of a hot zone. Every AA gun within 10 miles has been alerted to your presence.
That's just great. What now?
We stay put until the Council sends the reinforcements we requested.
We are the reinforcements.
What? You're all they sent? I told the Council to send a fleet.
We couldn't understand your transmission. They sent me to investigate.
That is a repetition of our task. I lost half my men investigating this place.
Because the Council is either downplaying the threat or not fully committed to stopping Saren yet, I don't know, it's hard to tell these days. Shepard and Kirrahe are forced to make a desperate plan to assure that Saren doesn't have an army of Krogan at his disposal. They elect to make a 20-kiloton nuclear bomb out of parts from the Normandy's drive core. When Shepard asks Kirrahe how they will plan to get away from the bomb, Kirrahe answers that they will try to escape the blast radius. Basically, their plan is to run the opposite direction and hope for the best. Does anyone know how you outrun a 20-kiloton nuclear bomb? Please comment down below. By the mission's end, Shepard also had to leave behind one of his team members to die in the blast, and to make sure this plan succeeds. It's all totally fucked. This is all because the Council didn't have the common sense to send a bigger force. Oh, and that's not even the best part. Once we get back to the Normandy and report to the Council, they have the gall to be skeptical of Shepard's report on the Reapers, believing that Shepard's being played by Saren.
I hope you don't plan to cut us off like last time, Commander. What you discovered on Vermeer is too important.
Saren is formidable enough without an army of Krogan serving under him.
The Krogan would have served Sovereign. A Reaper.
Yes, we saw mention of this on your report. Sovereign. Ascension machine. A true artificial intelligence. This news is quite alarming. If it turns out to be accurate.
Sovereign's real. The Reapers are real. Saren even admitted it.
He's playing you, Shepard. Saren still has contacts on the Citadel. He probably saw your earlier reports. The ones talking about your vision and the Reapers.
It's highly possible Saren is using false information to throw you off balance. Our own intelligence has never turned up any corroborating information.
I tried to warn you about Saren. You didn't believe me then, and look how that turned out.
I believe you humans have a saying. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Here's another saying. Go to hell.
Maybe we were wrong about you, Shepard. Maybe humans are too hot-headed to be specters.
Enough! Commander Shepard has performed admirably so far. This discussion is only a minor disagreement.
Now, I don't want to call this gaslighting, and I don't think it is necessarily, but goddamn, there isn't a whole lot of trust for Shepard coming from this Council, especially considering that they effectively sent Kirrahe and Shepard on a suicide mission.
We seem to have a lot of disagreements, Counselor.
Despite the Asari and Solarian Council trying to smooth things over with Shepard every time Spiratus acts like an asshole, they forget that they put Shepard in charge of this investigation into Saren. Shepard quite literally spends the entirety of the game cleaning up the Council's mess with Saren. It begs certain questions. Why didn't they know about Saren turning traitor in the first place? Why don't they keep tabs on Spectres for this exact reason? Aren't Spectres supposed to be reporting to the Council because they are the ones that give them absolute authority to operate however the hell they want? At some point, you'd think they start to believe everywhere that comes out of Shepard's mouth, but that quite literally never happens. Even as a first human Spectre, Shepard is still being treated like a peon, and a tool to be used then discarded by the Council. Even Kaidan, the Normandy's resident Boy Scout, thinks that the Council's acting a bit strange, almost accusing them of incompetence.
I think there's something wrong with all this. This Saren is looking for records on some kind of galactic extinction, but we can't get backup from the Council? Sorry, Commander. There's writing on the wall here, but someone isn't reading it.
The Council doesn't want to believe anything's wrong. I'd call it human nature, but...
I hear you. It just seems like a group that's been around as long as the Council should see this coming.
You know shit's fucked when Kaidan, a morally upstanding person who prides himself on his humility and integrity, questions the Council's judgment. From this particular perspective, Ashley's reasons for distrusting the Council are completely justified. However, I, like Ashley, am not saying that we should start a coup and begin a race war with the Turians. She's saying that we, as in humanity, should not be beholden to the Council as their tools to use and discard. What's also important to know here is that this isn't the end of Ashley's thoughts on this matter. She brings up her family's history of proud service in the Alliance military, and her incredible dislike of the pro-human political party Terra Firma, calling them, quote, a pack of jackals, but stops at that. Now that Ashley's gotten the feeling that she can trust Shepard with her more pessimistic yet justifiable view of the universe, she can now start to open up a little bit towards Shepard about other things, such as her family, her father, her religion, and poetry. There's also this line from Ashley where it's clear she's not being completely straight with us.
That's odd. Your record is spotless and your technical scores are exemplary. You should be serving with the fleet.
Anyway, that's why I haven't served with many aliens, Commander.
This is where Ashley begins to show a bit more nuance to her character arc. So let's jump into why such nuances make her an interesting and well-written character. After taking Ashley on a second major mission and advancing the plot a little bit, Shepard is able to talk to her again. Or maybe the correct term would be eavesdrop.
Oh, before I go, you said you're serving with Commander Shepard now? We saw him on the news here. He's cute. Later, sis.
Tell me you didn't hear that.
Afraid I did.
Well, this is awkward.
Oh, shoot me now. One of my sisters. That's Sarah, the youngest.
Awkwardness aside, how Ashley chooses to continue this conversation with Shepard is pretty significant for her character.
What's up? You didn't come by to eavesdrop on Family Mail.
There's no doubt that she feels a bit more comfortable around Shepard and the Normandy's crew after going on a few different missions with them. So of course, Ashley starts to drop the military bravado and adopts a more friendly attitude towards Shepard. She's even comfortable enough to talk about her family with Shepard. Let's see what she has to say.
Your family seems to be important to you.
Yeah, we've always been close. Me and my sisters especially. With Dad on duty so much, I had to help Mom raise them.
Where did you grow up?
All over. We transferred a half a dozen times before I finished grade school. You go where personnel command sends you, right? I guess that's why I'm so tight with my sisters. We'd have to leave all our friends every 2 or 3 years.
There's some more insight into Ashley, giving credence to why she's a bit of a hard ass sometimes. There's also no way for me to objectively quantify my thoughts on Ashley's family not being able to stay in one place for long, but I will say I do know what that's like. Just when you think you can stay in one place for a while and make some new friends, you have to do it all over again, in a new school and in a new town. At that point, you kind of just give up and play Mass Effect until you graduate from high school.
Not that I would know. I'll just burn myself. Great.
The only friends you really do have at that point are your siblings, so it should come as no surprise that Ashley requested leave when a boy back home started to give her sister trouble. Anyway, Ashley tells us the story about her younger sister Sarah, that informs Shepard that her sisters aren't exactly wet blankets. They're all pretty disciplined and quite tough. All of them are trained in some form of combat or self-defense. They're also a decisive bunch and take no shit from anyone, feeling as though they can handle personal problems alone through sheer willpower.
You said all of your sisters learned self-defense?
Lynn did pistol practice, but didn't like it. She's kinda nervous. Sarah took Aikido. Abby decided to learn the sword. She always was a little weird. Likes big skirts and tops you have to tie her into. They do great things to her figure, though.
So, what did you learn?
One of Dad's friends taught me Marine hand to hand.
You traveled all the way home to walk your sister to school.
It was only a dozen light years, like a day's cruise. It's not like I was going to Earth or something. My last day out, Mike was waiting for us. Sarah had told her friends, so everyone at school knew what he did. He wasn't happy. I wanted to snap him in half, but Sarah gave me this look, this let me handle it, I need to do this alone look. She kept her cool, God bless her, as he screamed in her face. She just let him vent. Then he tried to punch her. I swear, she just flowed around him. Next thing I knew, he's face down on the sidewalk, and there's blood everywhere.
She cracked him in the face. Good.
When he swung, she wasn't there anymore, and he fell. She helped him stop the bleeding and had me call an ambulance. She told the paramedics he fell. Before they took him to the hospital, Mike touched Sarah's arm. I thought he was gonna end up on the ground again. But he hung his head, whispered, "I'm sorry," and started crying. And she hugged him. The Williams women are a decisive bunch, Commander. We do things when we're ready. Not before, not after.
If this story is just about Ashley's younger sister, I'm willing to bet Ashley is twice as tenacious as Sarah is. So it begs the question, where does Ashley's willingness to stand tall in the face of impossible adversity come from? As we learned earlier, Ashley places an incredible amount of pride in her family's service to the Alliance military, but her true strength seems to come from her father, who's been an inspiration to Ashley since she was a young girl. It's interesting that Ashley's family is a source of strength rather than a weakness, especially when we take into account that most of Shepard's crew have strained relationships with their parents. Jacob's father was absent his whole life before disappearing to live in a juvenile rape fantasy. Rex's father tried to kill him over scraps.
So I had to kill him. Right over there.
Garrus and his father have opposing views on how police work should be done, which causes them to become estranged. Caden's relationship to his father was rocky until he decided to join the military. Miranda's father was a controlling egomaniacal maniac obsessed with making his mark in the universe. When Miranda sought to get away from her father, he tried to kill her. Tali had an absentee father who ended up committing war crimes on his daughter's behalf and without her permission. There's also a bit more in Tali and Ashley's relationship that I will talk about later, so stay with me. Regardless, this makes Ashley's character fairly unique, as her family's history and relationship to her father has driven her to be the person we see aboard the Normandy. Ashley says that she goes back to Earth every year to read her dad's favorite poem, Ulysses. Ulysses is a poem in blank verse written by the Victorian poet Alfred Tennyson, written in 1833 and published in 1842, in his well-received second volume of poetry. The poem takes the form of a dramatic monologue spoken by Ulysses, a character who also appears in Homer's Greek epic The Odyssey. If it wasn't clear already, Ulysses is the Latinized name of Odysseus, who is, of course, the protagonist of the Odyssey. In the Greek epic itself, Odysseus, / Ulysses in this case, struggles to return home, but in Tennyson's Ulysses, an aged Odysseus is frustrated with domestic life and yearns to set sail again and continue exploring the world. To Tennyson, he finds that there's an animal quality, the type of nobility and heroism Ulysses possesses, and attempts to capture his boundless curiosity and undaunted spirit, even as he grows old in Ithaca. The part of the poem Ashley quotes back at Shepard echoes her father's desire to travel and see the galaxy, but has since settled for raising a family.
Dad always wanted to serve in space, but he wanted us to have real ground under our feet. He'd say, space is beautiful, but you can't raise a family there. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone. For always roaming with a hungry heart, much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners, climates, councils, governments.
Curiously, Ashley omits a few lines from this section of the poem, which is a shame, because the lines in between inform us a lot more about Ashley's character arc, and why both her father and Ashley herself identify with this particular poem. Luckily, I'm here to do so let's back it all the way up to the start of the poem. A little prophet said an idle king, by the still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I met in dole, unequal laws unto a savage race, that hoard, and sleep, and feed, and do not know me. I cannot rest from travel, I would drink life to the lees. At times I've enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that have loved me and alone. On shore, when through scuttling drifts, the rainy Hades, vex the dim sky, I am become a name, for always roaming with a hungry heart, much I have seen and known, the cities of men, and manners, climates, councils, and governments. Myself not least, but honor them all, and drunk delight of battle with my peers, far in the ringing plains of windy Troy. I am part of all that I have met, yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that traveled world whose margin fades, forever and ever when I move. How dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rest unburnished, to not shrine in use, as though to breathe were life, life piled on life, were all too little, and of one to me, little remains, but every hour saved, from that eternal silence, something more, a bringer of new things. If I that were for some 3 suns to store and hoard myself, and this great spirit yearning and desire, and follow knowledge like a sinking star, beyond the utmost bound of human thought. At the start of this poem, Ulysses expresses frustration at how dull and pointless his life is now, trapped in his home on the rocky island of Ithaca. His wife is old, and he must spend his time enforcing imperfect laws as he attempts to govern those people he considers to be stupid and uncivilized. In Ulysses' eyes, all those people do is try to store up wealth, sleep, and eat. They have no conception on how to live a proper and full life. They have no conception of who Ulysses really is, or what his life has been like. Ulysses still wants to travel and see the world like he used to do. So long as he's alive, he doesn't want to stop doing the things that, in his eyes, make life worth living. Odysseus has been made weak by time and fate, but is still strong in will. He wants to strive, to seek, to find, but not to yield. He's found joy, he claims, in every moment he spent traveling, even at the times when he was suffering. He found joy when he was both with his faithful crew members and when he was by himself, both when he was on land and when he was sailing in the sea through rainstorms. He's become famous throughout the world, as an explorer who is constantly traveling and yearning to know more. Ulysses reflects on what he has seen, and has learned a great deal about all the places where people live, about their lifestyles, cultures, and ways of governing themselves. Everywhere he went, he was shown honor and respect. Ulysses also found joy fighting alongside his fellow soldiers, men he honored and respected, when he fought in battles far from home from the Trojan War. But all these experiences have not satisfied his desire for travel. Rather, each encounter is only what his appetite to see more of the world. No matter how much of the world he sees, there's always still more to see, and it is these unseen regions that he always tries to pursue. Ulysses compares himself to a sword that has been allowed to rust uselessly away, rather than being used gloriously in battle. Merely being alive doesn't mean you truly are living. Even as an elder man, his greatest desire is to explore the world and keep learning more. He wants to go beyond the limits of what humans have seen and known, the way a shooting star seems to go beyond the horizon when it falls and disappears from sight. Taking all this into account, it seems that Ashley's father is an allegory for Odysseus, or at the very least, Ashley idealizes him as some sort of Greek hero. Ashley tells Shepard that her father took any crap assignment that allowed him to see space, and also tells Shepard that her mother and father want to work in colony development to see what space had to offer. It might also be said that Ashley's mother, and quite possibly her sister's refutation of Mike's advances, could be an allegory for Odysseus' wife, Penelope, who had to maintain Odysseus' estate while he was on a 10-year cruise.
You must know what military wives are like. Strong because they have to be, able to raise kids while dad's away on a 6-month cruise. She has a degree in planetary geology. She and dad both wanted to see new worlds. She gave up her career to raise us, though.
It's also a shame that Ashley doesn't continue on with a poem where Odysseus mentions his son Telemachus. So let's continue on where we left off. This is my son, mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle. Well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor, by slow prudence to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. Most blameless is he, centered in the sphere of common duties, decent not to fail in offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to my household gods when I am gone. He works his work, I mine. Ulysses then starts to describe his son in this part of the poem, Telemachus, who will inherit Ulysses' role as rule the island when Ulysses dies. Ulysses affirms that he loves his son, who is conscientious and thoughtful about how he would best carry out his responsibilities as a ruler of Ithaca. With patience and judgment, Telemachus will work to civilize the fierce wild people of Ithaca and make them more gentle, and gradually teach them to devote their lives to productive civic activities. Ulysses cannot find any faults in Telemachus. He devotes his life to the responsibilities of his role. He pays proper respect to his people and his parents, and after his father dies, he will continue offering appropriate sacrifices to the gods that Ulysses most honored. Telemachus is well suited for the role of ruler, just as Ulysses is well suited for a different role, the role of explorer. The latter is quite literally what Ashley is doing to maintain a relationship to her father. She's honoring the same god he presumably did to show the immense amount of affection she has towards her family. After all, Ashley is the eldest sister in her family, and in her father's absence, both while he's on deployment and in death, has been charged with carrying on her family name and raising her sisters to value the same things that she does. So far, she's done a pretty admirable job, surpassing her father's previous rank in the military, something of which he was very proud of.
You know what? He worked his ass off trying to get recognized, but he never made it above serviceman 3rd class. He was real proud when I made Chief. First thing he did was salute.
Ashley's relationship to her father and her family is crucial to understanding Ashley's moral compass and what she values. It's from here where we can understand some of the decisions and dialogue Ashley has outside the Normandy. As a matter of fact, one of the many reasons why Ashley's picked up on her father's affinity for poetry is probably for religious reasons as well. To Ashley, her belief in God is synonymous with Ashley herself having the chance to see her father again in heaven, or wherever humans go after we die. If we replace the word God within Ashley's dialogue with the words my father, her system of beliefs and moral values becomes crystal clear. Ashley's father was such a remarkable man that his daughter likes to believe that he is watching from the great Mass Effect field in the sky. However unpopular that view might be now that humanity has begun to colonize said sky. Through certain dialogue options, Ashley will also express her annoyance with how she often gets belittled for believing in a higher power, though I believe that this annoyance stems from the fact that it invalidates her relationship with her father somewhat.
That's not a problem with you, is it? That I believe in God?
You know that old saw, there's never an atheist in a foxhole? I've been in a lot of foxholes.
Yeah, I guess you have. I've met a few people who are really weirded out by my faith. Because I work in space, I can't believe in a higher power? Jeez. Hello, have you people looked out the window? How can you look at this galaxy and not believe in something?
To reinforce this point, Ashley never quotes any scripture from any kind of religious text, such as the Torah or the Christian Bible. She instead only quotes her favorite lines from her favorite poems. When Shepard does anything that is affront to Ashley's core beliefs, such as her inherent love for her family and those she's grown close to, or if Shepard invalidates hers or anyone else's individuality, and jeopardizes the chance for Ashley to see her father again in heaven, Ashley will object. For example, after recruiting Tali and getting the evidence we need that proves Saren is a traitor to the Council, Shepard and Ashley will encounter a man named Samesh Bhatia after departing from the human embassy. In this quest, Mr. Bhatia tells us that he had a wife enlisting in the Alliance military, and as it so happens, she served in the same unit as Ashley, the 212.
My wife was a Marine. She was in the 212 on Eden Prime.
Wait, the 212? Your wife was serviceman Nirali Bhatia. I'm Gunnery Chief Ashley Williams. I served in her unit.
Chief Williams, it is a pleasure. Nirali spoke of you with great respect.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Mr. Bhatia. Nirali was a good woman. What can we do for you?
Mr. Bhatia wants to give his wife a proper funeral and the respect she deserves, but the Alliance is holding her body hostage for reasons that they haven't disclosed to him. This obviously interests Ashley, as it perfectly meshes with Ashley's love for her family and respect for those who have since passed on. Ashley has also been personally affected by the Geth attack on Eden Prime, as the sole survivor of the garrison placed there. The Geth attack has also been downplayed by the Council, blaming humanity's hubris and need for rapid expansion for the colony failing in the first place. Ashley is likely furious about the Council refusing to do anything at all, once again treating humanity like second-class citizens.
And that's why I hate politicians.
This stonewalling from the Council seems standard fare, so maybe she can work within her own people's government to help those who defended humanity in the face of impossible odds. Needless to say, Ash is very much interested in making this right, so let's continue.
There's no reason for your wife's body to be held like this. Just wait here.
The man in charge of my case is Mr. Bosker. When I last saw him, he was in the expensive bar over there. Thank you for your time. I just want to give my wife a proper funeral, and the respect she deserves.
We speak to Mr. Bosker, who informs Shepard that they're not holding Serviceman Bhatia's body at discretion. They're holding it for study of Geth weaponry.
Serviceman Nirali Bhatia died on Eden Prime, as Mr. Bhatia no doubt told you. Her wounds are inconsistent with any type of weapon damage we've seen before. That is why her body is being held.
I don't care how badly the Geth mangled the body. It's the husband's right to claim her.
We are not holding Nirali Bhatia's body out of discretion. We are, frankly, holding the body for research. The tests we're conducting may lead to better defenses against Geth attacks. Respectfully, Serviceman Bhatia may save more lives in death than she did in life.
Here's where the small quest and Ashley's thoughts on the matter can diverge. Shepard can either charm or intimidate Bosker into releasing the body to Mr. Bhatia. Of course, this is the ideal outcome, and if Shepard can manage it, Mr. Bhatia can finally have some peace regarding his wife.
I understand what you're trying to do, but holding the body is wrong.
Commander, you of all people should understand how far we must go to protect humanity.
Not if we lose our humanity in the process. I'm out there fighting to stop crap like this.
All right, Commander. You win. It was hard enough refusing Mr. Bhatia. I'm not going to risk an incident by refusing you. Tell Samesh that the body is being shipped back to Earth. I'll go now to see to it myself.
Before Mr. Bhatia walks out to prepare for the funeral, Ashley will then follow up with some dialogue of her own volition, attempting to comfort Mr. Bhatia.
I reminded Mr. Bosker what we're fighting for. Your wife is coming home.
Thank you. I will return home and begin my preparations. It does not bring me happiness, but it may bring me peace. Goodbye, Commander.
Samesh, I don't know if this helps, but your wife, Nirali, loved you very much. She missed your cooking, and she played recordings of you every night before she went to sleep.
I know, Miss Williams. But thank you. It's nice to hear it again.
Of course, if Shepard fails this reputation check, the body will remain in the custody of the Alliance for research purposes. This alarms Mr. Bhatia and he becomes immensely distressed, but Ashley does her best to calm him down. She is, after all, familiar with the concept of dead people influencing the living, after her father passed away, of course.
Hello, Commander. Has any progress been made with Mr. Bosker? Will he return my wife's body?
It's not as simple as I'd hoped. The military needs your wife's body for important tests.
Tests? They're holding my wife's body for tests? My wife served the Alliance faithfully. She gave her life for humanity. And this is how they repay her.
Mr. Bhatia, your wife died defending humanity. We still need her help.
What right does the military have to hold her body? She's already given her life.
She died a hero, Mr. Bhatia. And now she has a chance to save even more lives.
It doesn't matter. She's dead.
Yes, she is, Mr. Bhatia. She died fighting for what she believed in. She sacrificed her life to keep you safe. I think she'd want to make the most of that sacrifice.
You're right, Miss Williams. She would not flinch from her duty. Let them run their tests. Let my wife save lives so that others are spared the loss I feel today. Goodbye. Thank you for finding me answers.
This is one of the brighter moments where Ashley lightens up just a little bit and shows some sympathy. Keep in mind that this is also the start of the game. Shepard hasn't gotten to know Ashley very well, and Ashley hasn't confided in Shepard about her political opinions or why her family is important to her. When it comes to matters of explaining herself, Ashley's absolutely horrendous at doing exactly that. But when it comes to experiences that are truly familiar to her, such as the loss of a family member, she truly shines. Ashley's affinity for family matters is showcased once again with Liara after Noveria. Ashley's seen throughout Mass Effect being openly antagonistic towards Liara, buying into the stereotypes that the Asari struggle with. Ashley could also hate Liara's starry-eyed and naive personality, something that clashes with her own.
The commander is right. We cannot rush off blind. We still need to learn more about Saren.
Who put you in charge? Did the commander resign when I wasn't looking?
We're all on the same team here, Williams. She's just trying to help.
Sorry, Commander.
Now, I think I speak for everyone who's played Mass Effect when I say I don't like it when Ashley does this, but her comments regarding the death of Liara's mother more than make up for it.
Commander, maybe we ought to tell Liara that her mom's here, or bring her along. It might take Benezia off guard.
Ashley begins the mission intending to use Liara as bait to throw Benezia off, but underneath it all, she's concerned for Liara's well-being, but has trouble showing it. Earlier in the game, if Shepard chooses to speak with Liara more than Ashley, our favorite xenophobe will get jealous and assume Shepard's being sweet on Liara.
Surprised to see you here, sir. Thought you'd be chatting up what's her name? Tassoni?
Liara? Why would you think that?
Scuttlebutt says you got a bit of a thing for her. I could understand why. The crew's off limits with the regs against fraternization. And at least she looks like a woman.
You think I'm interested in Liara because she's the only one I'm allowed to date?
So you are interested in her?
Ashley assumes that Shepard is only talking to Liara because of politics. Shepard is, after all, acting as both the first human Spectre and ambassador to the human race.
Of course, it could be politics. Alien diplomat's daughter, us under orders to make nice with the bug-eyed monsters.
Remember, Ashley is suspicious of the Council race's motives, and anytime Shepard works to advance their agendas, she's automatically going to question it. Ashley also doesn't trust Liara on the basis that she might be working for the enemy, as some of her dialogue hints.
Hold on, Commander. Her mother's working with Saren. Can we trust her?
Ashley's skepticism is somewhat warranted. She did, after all, personally suffer at the hands of Saren's Geth, and in her words, is looking for a way to get even. Now, am I saying it's right for Ashley to lash out towards Liara like this?
Saren's looking for the conduit. Think fast, Miss Prothean expert.
Absolutely not. And Ashley eventually does show some amount of remorse toward Liara, beginning with the death of her mother. After rescuing Liara from Terra and speaking to Ashley in the cargo hold, Ashley will express disbelief that Liara and her mother don't keep a close relationship.
What's your opinion on the last mission?
Not sure I buy Dr. Tassoni's story about her and her mom not talking. They're family, right?
In Ashley's mind, her family's life was so perfect that she hasn't stopped to consider that others, including aliens that live for a century, can experience a troubled home life. At least until Shepard suggests otherwise.
Not sure I buy Dr. Tassoni's story about her and her mom not talking. They're family, right?
Not everyone has a happy family life.
No, I guess not.
Let it be known that this isn't a lack of empathy coming from Ashley. It's simply just ignorance. And it's something that she fixes after speaking to Colin Shepard about family, who you'll remember had his entire family slaughtered by the Batarians.
You're lucky to have a close family.
Sorry, I forgot about your family situation.
Or lack thereof. Relax, Williams. I've dealt with it.
Asked me to clear a bunker of armed hostiles? No problem. Dealing with the foot in my mouth? Not so good with that.
After the boss fight with Benezia, it's also possible that Ashley's seriously considering what Benezia's final words were, as she apparently loses Pascal's wager after living for almost 1,000 years.
No light. They always said there would be a...
Could you imagine living an extremely pious and holy life for 1,000 years, cultivating followers who worship your words of wisdom like most Asari do with their matriarchs, to realize that the promise of life after death was a lie? This makes her snide comments toward Shepard, and him choosing to speak to Liara instead of her, mean-spirited in retrospect, something that Ashley has to be feeling sorry for commenting on earlier as she hastily removes the foot from her mouth. After Novera, Shepard can ask for Ashley's opinions on the mission, in which Ashley finally expresses some legitimate concern for Liara after the death of her mother, encouraging Shepard to go talk to her and make sure she's okay. This is pretty significant for Ashley to do, as she generally doesn't like it when Shepard talks to Liara at all, but this is the one time that she actually encourages it. She actually encourages Shepard to talk to Liara, an alien and someone she strongly dislikes, to make sure she's not bawling her eyes out. It is only through Ashley's immense affection for her family and her father that she's able to drop the military bravado and abrasive attitude to uncharacteristically lower her voice and look beyond her prejudices for just a moment.
You know, you really should talk to Tassoni about her mom. She has to be hurting. Just saying, Skipper.
Speaking of Liara's mother passing on, let's move on to the Rachni. Ashley's faith and desire to see her father again also drive her thoughts on whether or not Shepard should wipe out the remaining Rachni or instead free the Queen. Now for a big giant frickin' asterisk. The dialogue in the sequence is heavily influenced by who you bring in your party. At the start of Noveria, each party member will suggest you bring Liara along for the special bit of dialogue between her and Benezia. However, due to how the game arranges each character on the Paragon Renegade spectrum, the Paragon characters will argue against killing the Queen and the Renegade character will argue against it. This means that if you, the player, listen to the hand of the writer, Ashley will look like a genocidal racist psychopath because of how Liara and Ashley are arranged in the Renegade Paragon spectrum. The only way to make Ashley show some sympathy is to bring Wrex along, who is more Renegade than Ashley on said spectrum. It is here where we gain insight into her character and what her faith means to her.
There are acid tanks rigged up on that thing. Set them off. Millions of my ancestors died to put these things down. Don't let them come back.
We'd be making a whole race extinct. I don't want that on my conscience when I go to the final judgment.
Ashley will become concerned that God will look upon her unfavorably for being accessory to genocide. Ashley choosing to sideline herself would piss off the all-knowing, all-good, infallible being that rests in the sky. And no, I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about Ashley's father. That is to say, Ashley is afraid of being complacent in this matter and disappointing her father for not having integrity when it truly mattered, forever barring her from seeing him again in the great Mass Effect field in the sky. This is why Ashley, after finishing up with Noveria, uncharacteristically lowers her voice and expresses concern after Shepard chooses to wipe out the Rachni.
What's your opinion on the last mission?
You mean the Rachni, right? Like I said, killing a whole race isn't something I want on my conscience. I think wiping them out was a mistake. But that wasn't my call to make, it was yours.
Conversely, Ashley is confident and sure of herself when she praises Shepard's sparing of the Queen.
Like I said, killing a whole race isn't something I want on my conscience. You made the right decision, Skipper.
Let it never be said that religion doesn't have uses, such as instilling some moral values. Without religion, Ashley would be just an irredeemable asshole, so it's good that she has some good qualities, even if Shepard has a pry. Religion allows for Ashley to be a bit more merciful and compassionate, and this is no more exemplified than with the SCG indoctrinated soldiers Shepard encounters on Vermeer. As we go cell by cell, we encounter SCG operatives with varying lucidity due to Saren testing indoctrination on them. One prisoner tries to kill Shepard's team upon setting him free, while complaining about hearing voices. The other is completely lucid and doesn't attack us on sight, so Shepard sets him free, but not before telling Shepard what Saren was doing with all these Solarian prisoners.
I watched good people reduced to mindless husks. There wasn't anything left. Others died during the experiments. I envy them.
Do you know anything about the experiments they were conducting?
They were studying indoctrination. Symptoms, progress. Saren uses it to control his people, but I don't think he fully understands it. I don't know much else. I just saw what it did to the others. Turned them into empty husks. I can't end up like that, please. Let me out.
The last group of Solarians we encounter have suffered the most at Saren's hands. They're complete vegetables, with indoctrination putting them into a pseudo-catatonic state. Upon interacting with the cell doors, Shepard can either open the doors to maybe give the Solarians a chance to snap out of it and then run for the hills, or he can choose to open the doors and put the Solarians out of their misery. To further highlight Ash's compassionate nature, I brought along Liara, who you'll remember is at the far extreme of the Paragon spectrum. In this particular instance, both characters serve as a devil and angel role for Shepard, arguing for different types of mercy. Beginning with the Paragon option, where Shepard chooses to give these catatonic Solarians a chance to run, Ashley and Liara will say the following.
No threat here, Commander. This is horrible.
What drove Saren to this? It is cruel beyond measure.
Open the doors. Give them a chance to outrun the blast.
You sure, Commander? Just leave them wandering? Can't stand the thought of being like that. I'd want to be put out of my misery.
Let them out. They won't hurt us.
If that's what you want, Commander. I just hate leaving them like this.
Ashley hates leaving these lobotomized Solarians to wander around their cell until the nuke swallows them up and turns them into dust. But why does she think like this? If we remember back to when Ashley was talking about her sisters, we can gather that Ashley prizes her individualism and inner strength, as it's enabled her to get where she is now in life through sheer determination and willpower. This trait is also indicated to Shepard when Ashley talks about herself and her sisters being a decisive bunch.
The Williams women are a decisive bunch, Commander. We do things when we're ready. Not before, not after.
Now put yourself in Ashley's shoes for just a second. Now, could you imagine if some Lovecraftian monster was able to take away your self-determination and willpower, something you've ingrained into your own self-identity? Now apply Saren's explanations of how indoctrination functions.
I've studied the effects of indoctrination. The more control Sovereign exerts, the less capable the subject becomes. That is my saving grace. Sovereign needs me to find the conduit. My mind is still my own, for now. But the transformation from ally to servant can be subtle. I will not let it happen to me.
The process of indoctrination will slowly but surely erode away what makes you Ashley, and most of all, what makes you a Williams, damn it! Your abrasive but righteous attitude will eventually be gone, as will your exceptional willpower. Your love for your family, sisters, mother, father, grandfather, and God will be twisted into serving the Reapers. This is why Ashley wants Shepard to mercy kill the Solarians. Being under Sovereign's thumb is a despicable existence, and the ultimate betrayal of what makes Ashley herself. She cannot fathom an existence where she's turned into a vegetable or a puppet for someone else's gain, robbed of what makes Ashley herself.
Better to die than to live like this.
Just kill them where they stand, Shepard. Are you certain?
I'm with you, Shepard. No way I'd want to end up like that. And they can't outrun the blast anyway. It's all you can do.
This conversation also recontextualizes Benezia's death and Ashley's sudden sympathy towards Liara. Not only does Matriarch Benezia's death and final words touch Ashley's faith and inform her decisions on what to do with Arachnine, but Benezia's actions must also inform Ashley about the implications of what someone under the mental domination of a Reaper can do, and those implications send Ashley spinning.
I won't be moved by sympathy, no matter who you bring into this confrontation.
A Reaper can shatter the most intense and natural bonds to compel somebody to kill their own daughter, their own flesh and blood.
I can't believe you'd kill your own daughter.
This must have affected Ashley immensely. With her faith in God and her love for her family further explained, Ashley has shown a remarkable amount of character growth. However, something's still amiss here. Ashley mentions that her father never made it above serviceman 3rd class, where his daughter made it to chief, which in turn made Ashley's father very proud. The question is, why? I can understand her father being proud of his daughter, but the fact that Ashley's father was never made into a non-commissioned officer during his time in the military is very concerning. Even after working his ass off to get recognized, Ashley's father never rose above United States Marines equivalent of Lance Corporal. This is very strange. I'm sure the Alliance Army needed more 11 Charlie Corporals after the sieges of Shang-Chi, Elysium, and the Skillium Blitz. Again, Ashley's withholding some information from Shepard, and it's only when she gains his absolute trust that she will share her dark past with us. So let's talk about persuading Ashley to rethink her pessimistic worldview, how that has to do with Ashley's grandfather, and how the sins of the fathers shouldn't be visited upon their sons, then their daughters, but are so often are.
Saren's one of their best operatives. It's only natural they take his word over ours.
Oh, so now we just chase leads while this smug Turian runs around with his Geth troopers.
That's politics, Chief.
I hate politics.
After completing Pharaohs, Ashley will want to speak to Shepard again in the cargo hold, where she will want to share a drink with Shepard for reasons Ashley explains.
Hey, Skipper. Any interest in a small drink? It's a special occasion.
Shepard can respond to Ash's request for a drink in a couple different ways. Paragon Shepard will ask for a non-alcoholic beverage as he's on duty, which Ash will be disappointed in.
I'm on duty. Have anything without alcohol?
You're always on duty, Shepard.
Renegade Shepard seems to want to drink the day away, which Ash will shade he doesn't have enough booze to do so.
With all we've been through lately? Hell yes.
I only have enough to toast the day, not the captain.
In the more ambivalent dialogue option, Shepard will question how Ashley managed to smuggle booze aboard the Normandy in the first place.
Last I checked, the Alliance Navy was dry.
Alright, but you know, a still is the first thing the engineers install after engines.
Before we move on, I think it's worth to point out that Ashley's mostly dropped the military bravado and let her military bearings slip to the point where Ashley is openly drinking booze while on duty and with her commanding officer no less. Ashley began the game being skeptical of the Alliance brass, priding herself on a military bearing professionalism as a soldier. But now she's drinking contraband in the Normandy's cargo hold with said brass. That rough exterior Ashley's worked so hard to cultivate is now starting to erode, and her trusting of Shepard has now reached a breaking point in more ways than one. Regardless, Ashley wants to have a drink with the commander because...
It's Armistice Day, when the first contact war ended. My family always marks it. Since I'm the only Williams aboard, I thought I'd ask you.
Seems like an odd thing to celebrate. That was 26 years ago.
In our family, it's not really a celebration, more like an obligation. Don't tell me you don't know about my family. My commanders always find out. It's not in my files or something?
Despite proving her worth to Shepard, Ashley is still suspicious of him. It seems that Ashley is still hiding something or assumes Shepard is ignorant of her supposed black ink on her files. This is also strange because Ashley's family and her service to the Alliance has always been a source of strength for her. So why the sudden trepidation? Earlier in the game, Shepard remarks that Ashley's technical scores are exemplary and that she should be serving with the best of the best. Yet, Ashley's been stuck serving as part of the garrison forces in backwater colony roles like Eden Prime.
Anyway, that's why I haven't served with many aliens, Commander.
Remember, Ashley just kind of stops herself earlier before divulging more information about why she got those crap assignments in the first place, and Shepard can bring this up later in this particular conversation.
There's almost nothing in your files. Technical scores and a list of crap assignments.
There's a reason for the crap assignments. I'm General Williams' granddaughter, the commander of the Shanxi garrison in the war. The only human ever to surrender to an alien race.
Ah, that makes sense.
I see. That's why you drive yourself so hard.
A Williams has to be better than the best, if only to avoid suspicion. That's what my dad told me the night before he retired. Takes a special kind of thick-headed to march into a job where your family's blacklisted. I did it anyway. I'm not gonna let our name go down with Arnold and Quisling. Granddad deserved better than that.
It seems the Alliance resents Ash's grandfather for making decisions like Benedict Arnold and Victor Quisling did, seeking to avenge your family's honor through military service. There is a fine line between bravery and stupidity, but Ashley always seems to straddle that line with competence. Ashley chooses to make the best of a bad situation, and this gives her the chance to prove her greatest critics wrong. However, it's tough to prove said critics wrong when the powers that be don't even give you the chance to do so. While it's not explicitly stated that the Terra Firma party openly disparages General Williams by comparing him to the likes of Benedict Arnold and Victor Quisling, it's very possible that they do based on her reaction. If Shepard does the same and calls Ash's grandfather a coward, she will say this.
You're blacklisted because of your grandfather's cowardice.
Cowardice. That's what the Terra Firma party calls it. I'm not gonna let our name go down with Arnold and Quisling. Granddad deserved better than that.
This is exactly why Ashley hates politicians and those who hold power over her, as Ashley makes clear with her spats with Charles Saraceno, the representative for the Terra Firma party down the wards.
I thought the lesson of the First Contact War was that there's other life in the galaxy, and they have opinions too.
Perhaps so, Commander. But if aliens feel free to express their opinions at gunpoint, why shouldn't we?
We should, but you're looking for a reason.
Ashley agrees that humanity and the Alliance should keep arms and remain suspicious of their allies, but bringing those arms to bear is a completely different matter.
I disagree. We have a backlog of grievances the aliens have ignored, starting with Shanxi.
Were you at Shanxi? If not, shut your pie hole.
It's no surprise that Ashley hates it when a Terra Firma party representative brings up Shang-Chi. After all, she knows what they think of him. And by this point in the game, Shepard is intimately aware of Ashley's quirks.
It's not worth getting angry over, Chief.
Right. I read you, Skipper.
If Shepard so chooses, he could be a bit more blunt towards Saraceno's posturing, to which Ashley will then follow up with some facts that causes Saraceno to stammer.
Every day I stand up for humanity, often in the face of bullets. What have you done lately? You really think speeches help?
We all serve in our own way, Commander. I'm not a soldier, but I can tell the public why they should support your efforts.
Wearing a ribbon on your lapel makes you a hero, huh? You want to help humanity? Get out of your office and pitch in.
I joke, but this one comment has some implications on Ashley's character, for Ashley must also be pissed that her service in the military enables idiots like Saraceno to keep and hold office.
I assure you, I'm only interested in the betterment of humanity, the same as you, Commander.
It also doesn't help that the Terra Firma party attracts racists and other bigots, doing nothing to curtail the more vocal members of the party, dishonoring and muddying General Williams' deeds and name further. Saraceno claims they don't tell their supporters to tap the bricks in the old xenophobia because free speech, which Ashley herself respects to some extent, but all it's doing is making Terra Firma look like a pack of jackals.
Our core value is that Earth must stand firm against alien influences, politically, culturally, and in the worst case, militarily.
It's a noble goal. Too bad so many of your supporters are just racists.
At its core, Terra Firma has a decent message, but it gets all messed up with race politics.
A few extremists don't invalidate the whole party, Chief. Every group has bad apples.
Of course, Commander.
Now before we move on, I feel like we need to talk about who Benedict Arnold and Victor Quisling are, for the sake of context, so let's do just that. The infamous Benedict Arnold was originally a well-loved American war hero and close friend of General Washington before throwing it all away for a large sum of money and a commission in the Royal Army. Arnold came from a lower station in life as the son of a drunken apothecary, and as such, Arnold was fueled by vanity and spite for all who dared to question his abilities as a warrior, which, hey, that sounds like Ashley. That's something to think about. However, where Mass Effect's Ashley Williams fought to make her family proud through military service, something that kept her honest, Arnold seemingly only listened to the American military for glory, and not some higher purpose. Arnold put his desire to build the dynasty for himself before fighting to go free America from the tyrannical control of the British. It was because of this that Arnold would then go on to sell out West Point to the British for £6,000 sterling and an officer's commission, at which point his name would become synonymous with the word traitor. In May of 1781, Benjamin Franklin would go on to write a letter to Lafayette, comparing Arnold to Judas. He would write, quote, Judas sold only one man, Arnold 3 millions. Judas got for his man 30 pieces of silver, Arnold not half a penny a head. A miserable bargainer, especially when one considers the quantity of infamy he has acquired to himself, and entailed on his family. In seeking fame, fortune, and stability for the future of his family name, Arnold left a stain in his reputation that he would never be able to wash away. While his history might judge Arnold with some sympathy given his personal history, the legacy Victor Quisling left behind for himself has not. Victor Quisling was a known fascist and Nazi collaborator who tried to use his position of power to stage a coup on the Norwegian government. If successful, this government was to serve as a puppet government for Germany, so Hitler could use Norway as a buffer state in the case of an Anglo-Franco invasion of Germany. In exchange, Hitler would plunder Norway for its natural resources to fund the war effort. In return, Quisling would be the head of this new puppet government. Quisling also modeled his own political party after the Nazi Party, with the goal of completely eliminating socialist policies. He banned strikes, eliminated unemployment benefits, and sterilized the undesirables, if you catch my meaning. Quisling is quoted over several live radio broadcasts as saying the following to Norway's trepidation of the incoming Nazis.
Jeg tilføyer at slik som situasjonen har utviklet seg, enhver fortsatt motstand ikke bare nyttesløs, men direkte ensbetydende med kriminell ødeleggelse av liv og eiendom. Enhver embetsmann og andre stats- og kommunale tjenestemenn, og i særdeleshet alle vårt lands offiserer, i hær, marine, kystartilleri og luftvåpen, forpliktet til å lyde ordre utelukkende fra den nye nasjonale regjering.
In terms of actually referencing Quisling himself, it seems that she's referencing the brass's conventional wisdom that her grandfather just let the Turians walk in and take Shang-Chi from the Alliance, when that was obviously not the case. Same deal with Arnold selling out West Point and the garrison there. The Alliance brass likes to paint General Williams as a coward and a fascist, which is absolutely insane. It is entirely possible that the Turians sought to take on humanity as a client race, much like the Turians did to the Volus. However, this is a different situation. The Volus became a client race at the polite request of the Turians after the Arachnid War to stabilize the galactic economy. As for humanity, the Turians sought to violently conquer, pacify, then subjugate humanity as a client race for breaking laws they didn't know existed yet. If we really were to compare the events of Shang-Chi and Ash's grandfather to that of real events in real history, then an apt comparison would be the Battle of Alesia. This famous battle was between the Romans, led by Julius Caesar, and the revolting Gallic tribes, led by Vercingetorix. This final battle for control of Gaul ended with Caesar building 2 10-mile walls around Vercingetorix's camp, sealing them in and starving them into submission. However, before being sealed in, Vercingetorix sent envoys to request the help from other Gallic tribes to fight the Romans, but none came to his aid, forcing him to surrender. This is also an apt comparison, because Bioware seemed to take inspiration from ancient Rome for writing the lore of Mass Effect's Turians and how their society functions. Now, I covered how the Turians conduct war in the opening section of my video on Garrus Vakarian, so if you want to check that out in detail, click the card at the top right. In short, Turians believe in the concept of a total war, where there are no rules or restrictions on the type of weapons or warfare to be conducted on a populace. When Shepard presses Ashley for details about the conflict, she will say the following.
As I recall, your grandfather held out for a long time.
The Turians wrecked the orbitals in the first wave and occupied the major cities. They sat in orbit, dropping rocks on anything that moved. Granddad dispersed the troops. But when they went into the cities for supplies, the Turians would wreck a block to eliminate one fire team. Civilians were dying, his troops were starving, and he couldn't contact Alliance High Command. so he surrendered the garrison.
According to Ashley, the Turians dropped meteors or space debris on the colony, systematically obliterating the colony cities block by block from orbit. This was after the Turians screamed through the mass relay near Shang-Chi, and immediately started firing upon the unprepared human garrison there, whose resources were stretched far too thin after beginning to colonize Shang-Chi. Much like Vercingetorix did at Elysia before being boxed in by the Romans, one human starship managed to escape through the mass relay to warn the Alliance, leaving General Williams, the remnants of the Alliance garrison, and the civilian populace at the mercy of the Turians, who begin to settle in for an orbital siege. The men begin to starve, and every time they would try to make a move, the Turians would orbitally bombard Shang-Chi's cities in retaliation. With no contact from Alliance command and the status of reinforcements unknown, Williams surrendered the garrison. He would not know that shortly after surrendering, the Alliance's second fleet commanded by Admiral Cassatin Drescher would come screaming back through the relay, much in the same way that the Turians did to Shang-Chi's garrison when this fuss o'clock first started. Admiral Drescher and the second fleet completely obliterated the Turians' fleet, broke the siege, and liberated Shang-Chi. According to Ashley, this is what happened shortly after.
What happened to your grandfather after the war?
He was relieved of command as soon as Shang-Chi was liberated. They brought him back to Earth in irons, but there was never a trial. They quietly demoted him and stuck him behind a desk. He retired a year later and spent the rest of his life working construction in the colonies. Sometimes we hear about attempts to get him exonerated in some official way. Nothing ever comes of them.
This would explain why Ash is going on and on about the Council. Not only does Ashley feel like humanity is being fed table scraps by the alien governments who constantly patronize humanity, but on a personal level, Ash is getting fed even less by her own people. All this because the supposed sins of her grandfather being visited upon her. No wonder she's pissed. Ashley has nowhere else to go. She thinks both the Alliance and the Citadel Council are two different kinds of incompetent. You might be asking, why doesn't Ashley quit and move on to greener pastures? Well, as it so happens, Ashley has to answer for that very same question.
I should have figured this out myself. I don't know how I can help you, though.
Look at who I am, Shepard. Do you ever hear me ask for help? It's not that bad things don't happen to me. If you stay with me long enough, maybe I'll tell you about some of them. But I deal with them myself. I don't need a shoulder to cry on, a knight to rescue me, or a man to make me happy. This is who I am. I like her. And you better like her too.
Perhaps she has earned the right to be angry. Ashley is personally trying to make the Alliance a better place. Not for lack of trying either. She's a very driven individual, and after all,
a Williams has to be better than the best, if only to avoid suspicion. That's what my dad told me the night before he retired.
Based on things I've discussed within this very video, I think she's earned the right to be a bit more cynical than the average Alliance soldier. Between Elysium, the Skillian Blitz, the Second Mindor, the Siege of Shang-Chi, and the Geth attack on Eden Prime, the Alliance seems to make a habit of fucking up garrison placements, and when they do, humanity is seen as incompetent by the Council. To be fair to the Alliance, they didn't know there were hostile alien races to garrison against. But with every mass relay that they opened up, they had to know that the probability of that would be bound to increase. It begs a few questions. Why didn't the Alliance send more reinforcements to the final frontier at Shang-Chi, electing to spread themselves thin instead? Why hasn't the Alliance seemed to learn from Shang-Chi? After all, the Second and Mindor stem from the same issues as Shang-Chi. The Alliance's colonial garrisons are inadequate enough to repel extraterrestrial threats, because the Alliance itself spreads itself way too thin. A theme that will carry into Mass Effect 2 when Shepard begins to deal with the Collectors. As if neglecting its colonies wasn't enough, the Alliance also has a track record of neglecting its service members, especially human biotics with L2 implants. As we learned from speaking with Caden and Dr. Chakwas aboard the Normandy, the history of human biotics is rather dubious. Caden says that the birth of human biotics started with Kinetics, a corporation that was charged by the Alliance to study biotics. They were thought to intentionally cause Element Zero accidents to generate more human test subjects, and the implants Kinetics could make at the time were of varying quality, with varying side effects for the implantees. Most L2 implantees, like Caden, suffer from mental issues, such as crippling pain, insanity, and psychosis. The Alliance has largely ignored the plight of these human biotics, despite their understanding of modern human biotics being built upon the L2's perpetual suffering. Ah yes, L2 side effects. Have you ever considered that moving objects with your mind isn't a disability as you allege? We have dismissed those claims. Biotics are also given an immense signing bonus upon enlisting with the military, and are often forced into retirement after the side effects that come with their implants become too big of a burden. This will leave most biotics feeling as if they were just tools for the brass to use and discard after their agendas have been pushed. With this in mind, is it really such a surprise when some L2 biotics come after Chairman Burns during the side quest UNC Hostage, with their pumped up ants telling them to run faster than their warp fields, with the goal being to hold them hostage until the Alliance pays all biotics reparations for the issues caused by their implants? I don't think so. An imminent and painful death has a way of motivating people after all, but the fact that these biotics had to resort to kidnapping to make their voice be heard by the person who is supposed to represent them is very concerning. I would also like to point out the irony of Rasa, a Cerberus spy masquerading as Alliance psychologist Captain Channing, giving Ashley a therapy session when the Alliance didn't bother after what she went through in Eden Prime. While Rasa's true motives for interviewing Ashley were unknown to our favorite abrasive Marine, Ashley came out of the session a little less guilty about being the sole survivor of her unit. To give Cerberus a little bit more credit, the Elusive Man had the foresight to put Kelly Chambers aboard the Normandy SR2. Kelly serves as both Shepard's yeoman and Normandy psychologist. telling Shepard if and when one of his crew members becomes unfocused, or in much more video gamey terms, when their loyalty missions become available. It's no wonder why Cerberus is filled with ex-Alliance soldiers like Jacob Taylor. They care for their operatives. From this particular perspective, the Alliance's hospitality is no better than the Council's. The head honchos in the Alliance don't even treat their veterans with the respect they deserve, both in the military and in Parliament. So when Ashley says this, I'm inclined to believe her.
If everyone else can look at Shan-Chi and say, this is why humanity needs to be stronger, then so can I. I'm entitled.
It is here where we finally understand that family and Ashley's service in the military has been a source of pride, shame, spite, and entitlement. It's a special kind of simultaneous spite and entitlement that drives her, but yet also that same kind of spite and entitlement coming from Ashley is somewhat justified. The opposition she faces from both the Alliance brass and the alien races has galvanized her efforts to give the Alliance a swift kick in the ass she thinks it needs. Ashley legitimately wants to make the Alliance a better organization, but due to her family's history, she's rebuked at almost every turn. As we've gotten to know Ashley, it's become clear that she doesn't fight just to put hypervelocity rounds through the heads of bad guys. It's a bit more complex than that. Much like Telemachus, Ashley fights to honor the memory of her father and avenge her family's honor by serving in what she perceives to be a broken organization that has repeatedly failed to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Even when Ashley herself recognizes how stupid and boneheaded that decision is. She's had quite the heavy burden to carry, and so far Ashley's managed to carry it just fine. Regardless, we've now reached the climax of Ashley's character arc, or one of several for that matter. It's here, at this climax moment, where Shepard can make a judgment call on Ashley's cynicism and disappointment with the Alliance. Renegade Shepards can once again echo the same cynical mindset Ashley does, expressing concern that Ashley will bail when things get tough.
Sometimes you have to fight to the bitter end. You plan to bail if Saren gets the upper hand?
No, sir. I'd die to stop him if that's what it takes. Him and anyone else who tries to screw with the Alliance.
This resolution for Ashley's character arc still maintains her xenophobic tendencies and props her up as a stalwart defender of the Alliance. No matter how busted the Alliance is, she, like her father and his father before him, picked up the rifle and swore the oath of service. Ashley will remain in this position for the rest of the game, frustrated in her position just as another grunt in the army, not being able to do much due to the massive amount of bureaucracy in her way. Conversely, Paragon Shepards can offer Ashley some introspection on her current situation. Paragon Shepard implies that General Williams' decision to save his men instead of forcing them to fight to the bitter end was an admirable decision, but is worried that Ashley will foolishly do the same to save face for him. Ashley will respond to this, being somewhat crestfallen.
He refused to sacrifice his men just to save face for humanity. You planning to throw yourself on a sword to save face for him?
Would it make a difference? He's gone now. Dad's gone too. And who would it impress? I'll never be good enough for the Alliance.
You know, seeing Ashley falter for a second here is kinda heartbreaking. She's admitting that all she's fighting for might all be for naught. If it wasn't for that idealistic image of her father she holds dear in her heart, and perhaps maybe some aspects of her faith, Ashley would have probably quit a long time ago. But it seems here, in this very conversation, Ashley's having a small crisis of faith, and it's Shepard's job to shore up her doubts and remind her what she's fighting for. If Shepard chooses to give the Alliance the benefit of the doubt, despite their sketchy history, Ashley will object.
But hey, once we save the galaxy, maybe the Alliance will get its act together. Start acting like an actual government.
The Alliance isn't perfect, but it does well enough.
Have to disagree with you there, Skipper. Giving aliens the run of our most advanced ship? Kowtowing to the Council?
The Alliance should be able to stand on its own. We can't. Yet. Why not learn from the races who've been standing for the last 1,000 years?
How can you say that, given everything we've seen out here? They're already acting like Saren is our problem, already sicking us on the bear. The Council races will always think of themselves first. It's human nature. We can't afford to trust them, not if the survival of humanity is on the line.
In true Paragon fashion, Shepard forces Ashley to confront her own core beliefs and allows her to grow as a character, hence why she stammers. Shepard can then pass a charm or intimidate check to have Ashley re-examine her worldview and move her alignment to that of a Paragon. In regards to the intimidate option, Shepard would take a similar path, but argue that the Council race's patronizing of humanity was part of a divine plan, that humans are at their best when struggling.
Ash, you believe in an infallible, all-knowing God with a plan for the universe. All the grief we get from the Council must be part of that, right?
Now here's the interesting part of Ashley's climax for her character. Depending on if the player picks the charm or intimidate options, we get two resolutions for Ashley's character. Depending on which option you pick, Ashley will or will not clarify her views on her faith having to do with her xenophobia. If Shepard picks the intimidate option, Ashley will say that she doesn't know what God wants from humanity's place among the stars, but still resents the fact that she has struggled without answers as to why she and her family have suffered.
Well, that's... Guess I never thought of it that way. All big picture, I mean. It doesn't make what happened to Granddad any better, though.
It's a standard fare for Ashley, and in my opinion, it kinda sucks that Shepard's counsel amounts to, hey, God's perpetually testing you, so don't you dare think of falling off your horse anytime soon. But hey, if God sees fit to test Ashley in order to see her family get in heaven, who am I to judge? And I'm willing to bet Ashley's thinking the same thing. Conversely, if Shepard picks the charm option, that again reminds Ashley of the diversity of views in God's kingdom, Ashley will feel the need to defend herself from the implication that her faith makes her look like a massive racist.
Ash, you believe in God.
An infallible, all-knowing creator with a plan for the universe. You think the diversity of views in the galaxy wasn't part of that?
I don't know what God intends, Shepard. I don't think humans have some divine mandate, if that's what you mean. I don't think we're superior.
Well, there we have it, folks, from her own mouth and, from another sense, the writer's own mouths. It would seem that Ashley is indeed not a racist. Who would have thought? It's almost as if 14 years of discourse around this character has been objectively wrong. It's almost as if the Mass Effect fanbase treated Ashley Williams the same way the Alliance brass did. They wrote her off without giving her a chance to improve and without providing her a path to do so. The most popular path players take is that of the Paragon, someone who wants to show the galaxy humanity's most honorable characteristics. As such, the only way for Shepard to have Ashley give the Council races a chance is for him to preach tolerance as Paragon Shepard, while those players who tread on the same path actively admonished Ashley for being a little skeptical of the aliens without thinking first. It's kind of ironic, really. Ashley's been living in the shadow of her grandfather's supposed misdeeds, to the point where she's afraid of giving anyone any insight into her character. Ashley puts up a wall between herself and others, composed of military bearing and bravado, but underneath is a woman who carries a heavy burden and cares deeply about her family, something that is simultaneously a source of strength and shame for Ashley. She is someone who is willing to believe in God on the off chance that she could see her father again. Ashley feels beset on all sides by those who seek to patronize her on the basis of her family history, belief in God, and her political opinions. All annoyances set aside, we are left with one last thing at this refocusing of Ashley's character. Regardless, Ashley will still resent how the Alliance treated her grandfather, whether it was an act of God or not. Shepard can respond to Ashley in 3 different ways, but the most rewarding choices with the most relevance to her character arc are the ambivalent and Paragon options. In the ambivalent dialogue option, Shepard tells Ashley that her mistrust in the Council is misplaced, and reminds her that the Alliance brought General Williams back to Earth in irons, not the Turians or the Council.
It doesn't make what happened to Granddad any better, though.
But you can't blame the Council for that, or the Turians. It was our people who scapegoated him.
I know. It's hard to be a patriot and pissed at the government, though. Who am I supposed to vote for?
Ashley knows she's being torn between two extremes and doesn't really know what to do with that information. On the one hand, her service in the Alliance gives her the chance to clear her family name, but on the other, she can only do so much as she's bounced around from crap post to crap post, serving incompetent officer after officer. The Paragon option is something a bit more significant for Ashley's character regarding her grandfather and Shepard.
What happened to your grandfather shouldn't have happened.
Well, at least somebody knows that. You and he would have gotten along. He was a tough old bastard.
This subtle comparison from Ashley might have gone over some people's heads as just some nicety from Ashley, but remember that Ashley holds her family to the highest standards. In essence, Shepard has just earned Ashley's respect by saying what happened to her grandfather was bullshit, causing Ashley to hold Shepard to the same standards as her grandfather, with Ashley regarding both him and Shepard as exceptionally tenacious bastards. That's some exceptional character growth. Ashley so far went from keeping to herself to letting parts of her personality slip to forging a trusting bond with Shepard comparable to that of her familial bonds. Ashley says that things will come to a head for both herself and Shepard soon, and aims to protect us. But what does she mean by this? The upcoming events will propel Ashley further than she has been able to push herself. So let's get into why.
You bastard.
We get a tip from the Council that a Solarian SCG team, led by Captain Kirhei, recently went dark on the tropical planet of Vermeer in the Hawk system in the Sentry Omega cluster. This team was investigating suspected locations of Saren's main base of operations, and it's lucky that Vermeer was one of them. As I said earlier, the Council merely wants us to investigate, but for some reason, doesn't want to commit to sending a whole fleet. Due to the Council's incompetence, prejudice towards Shepard and other humans, or unwillingness to bring down Saren, we're grounded due to the prevalence of anti-air in the area. We speak with Kirihei and find out that Saren is using this facility to breed an army of Krogan. This would mean that Saren in turn has found a cure for the genophage. First Geth and now Krogan, Saren could be an even bigger problem than he already is. Unfortunately, Wrex doesn't see it that way.
We must ensure that this facility and its secrets are destroyed.
Destroyed? I don't think so. Our people are dying. This cure can save them.
If that cure leaves this planet, the Krogan will become unstoppable. We can't make the same mistake again.
We are not a mistake.
It seems we're at a bit of an impasse. This is where Wrex meets a crisis point that Shepard must solve by either killing Wrex or persuading him to set aside his personal feelings for the sake of the mission. Ashley promises to keep an eye on Wrex in case he tries to harm Shepard, a sentiment that might seem really unnecessary as he takes some potshots at a sandbar until we recount some events involving Wrex from the start of the game and this very video. Remember how I said that Wrex is on the far end of the renegade spectrum? Here's where that comes into play. Wrex doesn't care much for authority or the strict discipline that a militaristic chain of command might offer. As a matter of fact, in our first introduction to Wrex, he was close to starting a shootout in Kor's den to take down Fist. After the bouncer manages to shoo him away, he tells Shepard to get out of his way. Wrex makes such an impression on Ashley that her first instinct is that Wrex is dangerous and we should stay out of his way.
What was that all about?
Who knows? Let's just try not to get caught in the middle.
After talking to Harkin and catching up with Garrus, we learn that Wrex is being held at C-Sec for making rather obvious threats on Fist's life. Wrex also straight up tells the C-Sec officer he intends to kill Fist, which leaves him rather flabbergasted as he tries to invoke some amount of authority over him. Wrex finds this rather funny and kind of pathetic, as he has about as many redundant organs as there are C-Sec officers.
Witnesses saw you making threats in Fist's bar. Stay away from him.
I don't take orders from you.
This is your only warning, Wrex.
You should warn Fist. I will kill him.
You want me to arrest you?
I want you to try.
But the key thing to take away from this conversation is this line.
I don't take orders from you.
The only kind of authority Wrex respects is the kind gained through battle, which is why he levels with Shepard about his intentions regarding Fist.
Go on. Get out of here.
Do I know you, human?
My name's Shepard. I'm going after Fist. Thought you might want to come along.
Shepard. Commander Shepard. I've heard a lot about you. We're both warriors, Shepard. Out of respect, I'll give you fair warning. I'm going to kill Fist.
Fist knows you're coming. We'll have a better chance if we all work together.
My people have a saying. Seek the enemy of your enemy, and you will find a friend.
Glad to have you on the team, Wrex.
Let's go. I hate to keep Fist waiting.
While the player and/or Shepard might see Wrex as a trustworthy ally, or as his ace in the hole, Wrex only sees Shepard as a means to an end. As it turns out, having a Krogan in a firefight can be pretty handy, and with Wrex's help, we blast our way into Fist's office.
Enemies everywhere!
We press Fist about the location of Tally until he finally relents. Then Wrex does this. Wrex goes over Shepard's head to kill Fist. He indeed doesn't take orders from Shepard or anyone else for that matter. As you might expect, this complete disregard for authority from Wrex shocks Ashley so much that she turns her rifle on Wrex, expecting the worst.
Drop the gun, Krogan.
Remember, Ashley prides herself on her military service and the discipline the chain of command offers. She's at least thankful and respectful towards Shepard for giving her a warm welcome after Eden Prime.
Part of me feels guilty over what happened. If Jenkins was still alive, I might not be here.
You're a good soldier, Williams. You belong on the Normandy.
Thanks, Commander. I appreciate that.
So when Wrex pulls a stunt like this, endangering the commander's life, she's obviously going to be very upset, with the situation remaining in her mind for the rest of the game.
Drop the gun, Krogan.
It also seemed that Wrex makes good on his words. His sole intention was to kill Fist, and he did it. It would seem once Wrex is committed to a task, he will stop at nothing to complete it, as he explains.
You should warn Fist. I will kill him. We're both warriors, Shepard. Out of respect, I'll give you fair warning. I'm going to kill Fist. The Shadow Broker paid me to kill him. I don't leave jobs half done.
Shepard can also respond to Wrex's actions in a few different ways, but the ambivalent dialogue option highlights Shepard's shock with Wrex's refusal to fall in line.
I'm in charge here. You ever pull another stunt like that?
He was the only contract I had left. And don't we have something more pressing to worry about?
Wrex should absolutely not strike anyone as a trustworthy sort, and while this dialogue aboard the Normandy helps recontextualize his disregard for the chain of command, this is all for naught when he neglects to mention that he once worked for Saren on a small job.
Good. He's rotten. To the core. I could tell as soon as I met him.
Shepard gets rightfully angry with Wrex about this, and asks him why he didn't bring it up sooner.
Why didn't you tell me this sooner?
I would've if I thought it was important.
Wrex has fallen out of line for the second time by neglecting to tell Shepard about what Saren was doing before he attacked Eden Prime. This could have been some crucial information, but because Wrex didn't think it was important enough, he didn't bring it up. The situation with Fist could be overlooked as Wrex and Shepard forming a hastily made alliance to get the information from Fist, but now Wrex doesn't really have an excuse. He's been assigned to the Normandy to work under Shepard's command, but it seems Wrex still isn't all too keen on being honest with the commander. So, with all that out of the way, let's recap. Within a few minutes of knowing Shepard, Wrex has threatened to kill Fist multiple times, threatened and laughed at C-Sec officers while also clarifying his intent to kill Fist, betrayed Shepard's trust for Fist's head, and neglected to share some crucial information about a job he did for Saren. Given all this information, would you trust Wrex as an ally? I wouldn't think so, and neither would Ashley. It's totally understandable for our favorite cynical Marine to be worried about Wrex jeopardizing the mission while in Vermeer.
Looks like things are a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so worried if it wasn't for Wrex. He looks like he's gonna blow a gasket.
You think I should go talk to him?
It wouldn't hurt. Well, it might actually. Just do it carefully.
I'll be careful, but be ready, just in case.
I'm always ready.
After all, Kirrahe and Shepard don't really have much to work with here. They only have a platoon of Solarians, and the crew of the Normandy, which if we count all our hands, is only about 50 people, with a smaller number of the crew being proficient enough to field for combat. As we try to reason with Wrex, he once again draws his weapon, this time on Shepard. Wrex, like always, plans to make good on his threats. If we signal Ashley, she will back Shepard as a mixture of respect for the chain of command, and maybe a budding love for Shepard as well. The two have flirted back and forth, saying that they're both looking forward to some shore leave after they save the galaxy, of course.
I'm your commanding officer, not your moral compass.
Just my commanding officer, huh? We'll have to see about that.
I'll look forward to our next talk.
You should.
Ashley has also equated Shepard's tenacity with that of her grandfather's.
You and he would have gotten along. He was a tough old bastard.
Ashley also jokes that she has a feeling that the Normandy's crew is about to head into some deep shit, and jokingly offers to protect Shepard.
I have a feeling things will come to a head soon. But don't worry, Shepard. I'll protect you.
So here's where it pays off on Vermeer when she shields him from Wrex. Given how strongly Ashley feels for those she considers to be close to her, it's no wonder she wants to protect Shepard from the business end of Wrex's shotgun.
You think I should go talk to him?
It wouldn't hurt. Well, it might actually. Just do it carefully.
I'll be careful, but be ready, just in case.
I'm always ready.
Shepard ordering Ashley to kill Wrex is the most amicable solution that doesn't involve Shepard charming or intimidating Wrex, as it firmly places Wrex as a rogue element that has no place in Shepard's team that cannot be reasoned with.
You bastard.
Not today, friend.
Thanks, Chief. He just wasn't gonna listen to reason.
I kind of figured.
Wait, what? Did you just kill him, Chief?
Commander's orders.
Yeah, but I just can't believe it.
Outside of ordering Ashley to kill Wrex, we had three other options. The result of the Renegade option is pretty obvious, but the other two lead to Ashley going over Shepard's head to kill Wrex, much to the dismay of Paragon Shepard.
Wrex, please. We can discuss this.
No more talk, Shepard. I've got to do this my way.
I don't think so, friend.
Paragon Shepard, ever trying to be a warrior diplomat, doing his best to get Wrex to realize his folly, will react to Ashley's killing of Wrex pretty negatively.
Why the hell did you do that? I was still talking to him.
I'm sorry, sir. I couldn't take the risk that he might injure you. Or worse.
That's not your call. Never do that again. Understood?
Understood.
Wait, what? Did you just kill him, Chief?
Better him than the commander.
Yeah, I suppose.
Ashley had the best of intentions. If something happened to Shepard, who will lead the Shadowfire team into the base? Garrus, a lone wolf cop who, like Wrex, also has issues with authority? Leah or Atali, who are all by accounts green, naive, and pretty underexperienced? No, none of these are really good options. I suppose Ashley or Kaden could lead the fire team into the base, but one of them needs to go with the Solarians, and the other one needs to stay behind to arm the nuke. There's no good substitutes here. Shepard needs to survive to maintain unit cohesion. As Wrex himself has established earlier, he's a man of his word. So when he says it's time for him to do things his way, I believe him, and so does Ashley.
I don't think so, friend.
This is the one and only time where Ashley completely disregards the chain of command to perform a necessary evil. An evil which has some precedent in the game's narrative. She just saved Shepard's life, whether Shepard knows it or not. Ashley herself may not hold any remorse for killing Wrex, but will she have any regrets if she or someone else close to her perishes in this fight? Let's find out.
Well, this is it. Don't do anything stupid while I'm gone, LT. You too, Commander.
We'll be fine. You'll see.
Yeah, good luck.
Is there something you want to say, Chief?
I don't know, it's just weird, going under someone else's command. I've got used to working with you. All of you.
Don't worry, we'll see you on the other side.
I know, it's been an honor serving with you, Commander.
It doesn't matter if we're not in the same unit. We're still a team. Watch each other's backs, keep your eyes open, and fight like I know you can. We'll all come out of this in one piece.
You bet, Commander.
Guess they're sending in reinforcements.
Chief, we just spotted a troop ship inbound to your location.
It's already here, and is bleeding Geth all over the bomb site.
Can you hold them off?
There's too many! I don't think we can hold them! I'm activating the nuke!
What are you doing, Chief?
Making sure this bomb goes off, no matter what! It's done, Commander. Go get the lieutenant and get the hell out of here!
Belay that. We can handle ourselves. Go back and get Williams.
Williams, radio Joker and tell him to meet us at the bomb site.
Yes, Commander,
It's the right choice, and you know it, Ash.
I'm sorry, Kaidan. I had to make a choice.
I understand, Commander. I don't regret a thing.
I can't believe Kaidan didn't make it. How could we just leave him down there?
There was no time. I couldn't save you both. The bomb was about to go off.
It should have been me, Commander. You know that.
I'm sorry, Ash. I'd never leave you behind. I couldn't. You know that.
I know, and I'm grateful. But Kaidan died because of me. Because of us.
Ash, how far are you going to drive yourself? Are you trying to be a martyr? To redeem your grandfather's honor?
That's not fair.
What the public and the military did to him was unfair. But I don't want to lose you because of it.
Aye, aye, Shepard.
Well, that entire mission was a disaster, and Ash was feeling especially angry for being picked to live over Kaidan. She wishes Shepard would have left her behind, but instead, some feelings got in his way. Ashley and Shepard have gotten to know each other over the course of the game, reaching a greater understanding of each other. This new understanding of each other often involves Shepard and Ashley flirting down the cargo hold in Normandy, while Ashley vented to Shepard about her family, aliens, the Council, and the Alliance. As Kaidan would say to femship players, battlefield flirting is one thing, but openly fraternizing with a commanding officer is a very different thing. The basis of Ashley's romantic relationship with Shepard thus far is built on the basis of simple infatuation, with the implication being that they're just going to hook up after Shepard catches Saren. There's no hint, from Ashley or otherwise, that this is going to be anything beyond a simple fling between Shepard and Ashley. Yet if Ashley wants to take this relationship between her and Shepard a bit more seriously, her sarcastic temperament coupled with her blunt attitude makes it hard to tell when she's being serious, something that even Renegade Shepard recognizes.
You're a difficult woman. Hard to read, hard to keep in line.
Awfully smug, Shepard. What makes you think you can keep me in line?
Ashley maintains this playful and flirty attitude with Shepard until after Virmire, where she realizes that Kaidan might have been vaporized so that they could be together. What also pisses Ashley off is that she wasn't the ranking officer to make that call. Shepard was. This frustration goes hand in hand with Ashley's family being blacklisted and her wanting to recapture her family's honor. While Ashley might say otherwise, she at her very core doesn't think she's good enough for the Alliance, or anyone else for that matter. Throwing herself on top of a nuclear bomb while simultaneously flicking off the Council, Terra, Firma, and the Alliance brass with a spiteful grin on her face would be the ideal way for Ashley to martyr herself. But Shepard stopped her from doing so. Ashley has lived a life where she does her best to honor her family's name and has worked hard to give it the respect it deserves. But now the death of Kaidan has caused her to re-examine her wanted martyrdom. Along with the 212, her father and grandfather, Ashley has one more life to live for, being Kaidan's. Post-Virmire, Shepard can ask Ashley about her thoughts on Kaidan, to which she will ask the commander for advice on how to deal with his death. Now, the significance of this might have went over some people's heads, so allow me to just make this very clear. This is the first time Ashley asks Shepard for advice and listens without arguing with him. In other words, Ashley is learning and growing as a character. The closest comparison you can make to this is our first conversation post-Eden Prime with Ashley down the cargo hold. Ashley blames herself for not being more alert, placing the blame for the 212 being completely wiped out squarely on herself. Now that lightning has struck twice, Ashley, who is normally headstrong, abrasive, and full of answers, doesn't know how to react to Kaidan's death and defers to Shepard's experience in the following bit of dialogue.
About Lieutenant Alenko. How are you holding up?
Can't say I'm better. Sorry for anything I said back there. I don't want any deaths on my hands, and it's my fault.
Williams, listen to me. I'm in command of this mission. I made the call, not you. He's dead because of me.
It's funny. I don't have any fear of dying for the Alliance. But when I think of someone dying for me, if you don't mind my asking, how did you deal with the losses on Akuz?
It was my job to get everyone out safe. I failed. I vowed not to let that happen again. Same here. I'll remember him, and I'll do better for him.
Yeah. I guess that's all we can do.
Kaiden's death has galvanized Ashley's respect for the Fallen, and maybe her infatuation with Shepard into something a little bit more serious. Her new outlook on life and her relationship with Shepard must now be worthy of the lives and legacy of her grandfather, father, and now Kaiden. Ashley will cling to these ideals for the rest of the game. But after lecturing Ashley and giving her some half-decent advice, will Shepard? After talking to the Council and them denying the threat of an imminent Reaper invasion, Shepard gets rather angry with them. One of his teammates just died a spectacular death to make sure the galaxy has a chance at stopping Saren, and failing that, the Reapers. Emotions are running high after Kaiden's death, and I imagine Shepard is getting tired of being strung along by the Council after everything he's been through.
Commander, there's a convoy nearby. I can link us in if you want to report back to the Citadel Council. You know, to warn them about Sovereign.
Set the link up, Joker. They need to know.
Patching it through.
I hope you don't plan to cut us off like last time, Commander. What you discovered on Vermeer is too important.
Saren is formidable enough without an army of Krogan serving under him.
The Krogan would have served Sovereign. A Reaper.
Yes, we saw mention of this on your report. Sovereign, Ascension machine, a true artificial intelligence. This news is quite alarming, if it turns out to be accurate.
Sovereign's real. The Reapers are real. Saren even admitted it.
He's playing you, Shepard. Saren still has contacts on the Citadel. He probably saw your earlier reports. The ones talking about your vision and the Reapers.
It's highly possible Saren is using false information to throw you off balance. Our own intelligence has never turned up any corroborating information.
I tried to warn you about Saren. You didn't believe me then, and look how that turned out.
I believe you humans have a saying. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Here's another saying. Go to hell.
Maybe we were wrong about you, Shepard. Maybe humans are too hot-headed to be specters.
Enough! Commander Shepard has performed admirably so far. This discussion is only a minor disagreement.
We seem to have a lot of disagreements, Counselor.
Again, the Solarian and Asaria counselors try to smooth things over with Shepard, but they might as well be openly hostile towards him too. They're still denying the threat and not believing Shepard at his word when they absolutely should be at this point in the game. It's now Shepard's turn to vent to Ashley, whereas before Vermeer it was the other way around. Since we convinced Ashley to think about the diversity of views in the galaxy or to rationalize the opposition she's received throughout her life as divine intervention, Shepard plays the part of the cynic, whereas Ashley is now Mrs. Positive Optimism. Paragon Shepard's can express some resigned disappointment that even after all they've been through and seen, Shepard still doesn't have enough proof to expose the real threat.
I hope we can get the Council to give us a hand, Skipper. Alenko, the Lieutenant, I'd hate to think his loss...
They're right, you know. We don't have much proof. My visions and the word of a rebellious specter.
We've got our suit recordings. That's something.
Hey, BioWare, you might want to fix this plot hole for the Legendary Edition, just saying. And anyway, Ashley now treats everything as if God planned it, something that's consistent with her opening dialogue with Shepard after Eden Prime. This particular Shepard that I'm playing as was the sole survivor of both a Thrushmal attack on Akuz and a Batarian slaver raid on his homeworld of Mindwar. Ashley argues that all this tragedy led him to develop an iron will, become an N7 soldier, the first human Spectre, and commander of the Normandy in a few short years.
There's a reason for everything that happened, Shepard, even if you don't understand it at the time. What happened on Akuz, it's not easy to lose your unit, I know, but it gave you the drive you needed on this mission. And that got you here, commanding the finest tin can in the Alliance fleet. This is exactly where the galaxy needs you to be. No pressure.
As far as pep talks go, this isn't awful, but for Ashley, this is the largest amount of support she's shown towards Shepard thus far, which tells us a lot about how much she's grown as a character and a person. The Renegade option also gives us more insight into Ashley's character, while also putting Shepard at odds with this new Paragonized Ashley. If Shepard leans hard into the part of the Renegade Cynic, he'll be properly angry at the Council's repeated refutation of the imminent threat of the Reapers, making Kaiden's sacrifice meaningless. Shepard's had quite enough, and he tells Ashley what's really on his mind.
They've dismissed all my concerns out of hand. Visions. May as well have told them I divined it from entrails.
Hey now, Mr. Negativity. You gave me a damn good reason to think we should give the Council a shot. Don't tell me you've changed your mind.
I was a fool. They'll stick their heads in the sand and it'll come down to us.
You always this mood swingy? Or do I just bring it out in you?
Ashley's mad that after Shepard lecturing all game, he was willing to throw in the towel at the first sign of resistance, something that Ashley takes personally. This is the ultimate betrayal for Ashley. Her entire life has been difficult, so for someone like Shepard who's faced down worse things than a platoon of Geth, just to throw in the towel is abhorrent to Ashley. After all, her entire life has been defined by sheer willpower and integrity. So when Shepard charms or intimidates Ashley into being less cynical and then backtracks on his lessons, she's going to take that very personally. Ashley has lived and died by the phrase, "A Williams has to be the best if only to avoid suspicion." Of course, she's going to be mad at Shepard when he comes off as a bit of a hypocrite. Remember, at this time, Ashley holds Shepard up to the same standards as her grandfather, regarding both Shepard and him as equally tenacious bastards.
Look, I only said God had a plan so you'd understand my point. If this universe does have a plan, it needs a few revisions.
So you used my faith to manipulate me. That's great, Shepard. I thought you took me seriously. Guess I was wrong, huh?
Ashley interprets Shepard as being wishy-washy as him trying to manipulate her taking a leap of faith, which isn't totally wrong. No matter how diplomatic Paragon Shepard is or how blunt Renegade Shepard is, there's no dissuading Ashley for calling Shepard out. If that wasn't enough, Shepard then digs a deeper hole for himself by saying the following.
Come on, Ash, it's no big deal. Couples fight all the time.
Oh, so now we're a couple. Well, couples don't manipulate each other. If you don't mind, I have duties I should be attending to. Commander.
As we've gotten to know Ashley over the course of this very video, she's gotten comfortable with the Normandy and with Shepard. Ashley went from being a complete hard-ass to having a drink with her commanding officer while also telling him about her deepest, darkest secrets. She's slowly begun to trust Shepard as her commanding officer, as a member of the Alliance brass as well, which is some stellar character development that might have evolved into something special. She's flirted with Shepard from time to time, but now that's come to an end, as she suddenly puts back up the wall of military professionalism. Shepard has betrayed Ashley by being a quitter and a manipulator, something that she wants nothing to do with. If Shepard can't pass this charm and intimidate check, you'll no longer be able to romance Ashley, because this spineless and manipulative Shepard isn't good enough for her anymore. It gets worse for Renegade Shepard, who is a bit of a knob, surprise surprise.
I don't know. Are you always this passive-aggressive?
No. Usually when some smug bastard jerks me around, I just clock him. But that would be striking a superior officer, sir.
This stays in line with what we learned about Ashley. The Williams women aren't above clocking somebody to get them to fuck off. But hey, that was a little aggressive and depressing, so let's back this up again. If Shepard has enough Paragon and Renegade points, Shepard can clarify his views for Ashley. Paragon Shepards tell Ashley that she was right to be skeptical of the Alliance's competence, and that Shepard was stupid to insinuate that God created all these diverse opinions to temper humanity, or that humanity needs to sit at the Council's feet and learn from the centuries of experience they apparently have leading and governing the galaxy.
Ash, all I'm saying is that you were right and I was wrong. The Alliance does have to look out for number one.
Ah, the three little words every woman wants to hear from a man. I was wrong. Alright. No harm done.
Shepard now understands that the Alliance needs to govern their own. Sure, we may learn from the aliens and all the other diverse opinions in the Milky Way galaxy, but can we expect the Turians to know how to govern humanity better than humans know how to govern themselves? What about the Asari or the Solarians? No, we can't, and it would be naive to assume otherwise.
It's up to you if you're smart enough to listen.
I don't need this.
Communications cut, Commander.
On the other end of the dialogue wheel, Renegade Shepard rightfully gets mad at himself for being so blind and making himself look like an idiot as he preached optimism to Ashley when Shepard should have considered her a political savant. Telling Ashley that humans need opposition for the Council to succeed is pointless advice when they themselves are deeply flawed, showing us that they aren't the least bit interested in helping Shepard, choosing doubt and belittle him instead.
They made me look like an idiot. I stood here and preached at you, and they turned on us, just like you said they would.
Ashley has been a skeptic throughout her entire life, and persuading her otherwise through blind idealism was one of Shepard's biggest mistakes. The ever-smug and sarcastic Ashley takes pride in knowing that her cynicism was indeed warranted, and is pleased that Shepard finally understands where she was coming from all game, that humanity does in fact need to rely on themselves.
Ah, the three little words every woman wants to hear from a man. I was wrong. Alright, no harm done.
It's also important to note that Ashley doesn't lure this realization over Shepard like a child. She actually goes the extra mile to shore up Shepard's doubts with her own faith. Ashley is familiar with what it feels like to have everything stacked up against her, and the last thing she wants for Shepard is to feel that same sort of helplessness. It's actually kind of sweet, and it's also indicative of Ashley finally growing a little bit more as a character.
There's a reason for everything that happened, Shepard, even if you don't understand it at the time. What happened on Akuz, it's not easy to lose your unit, I know, but it gave you the drive you needed on this mission. And that got you here, commanding the finest tin can in the Alliance fleet. This is exactly where the galaxy needs you to be. No pressure.
Basically, Ashley's telling Shepard not to give up now, and that if the powers that be have truly given up on the crew of the Normandy, Shepard has to stay focused, as he may be their only hope. This uncharacteristical support from Ashley also causes Shepard to ask what Ashley really wants from him. Before, Ashley's relationship with Shepard just seemed like a casual fling for both of them, but after everything that's happened, she feels it's appropriate to drop the sarcastic jokes and for once be a bit more serious.
It's good to know where I stand with the galaxy. Where do I stand with you?
About a meter away, maybe 1.2 meters. Sorry. I'll be serious. I need time to think. We've been focused on the mission. When we're done, it'll be different, I swear.
In previous conversations, it seems Ashley has been ready to jump the commander's bones, but now Ashley wants to exercise caution with a victory that's somewhat in sight. The council may have denied the Reaper's existence, but they seem to believe that Saren is still a threat. This is something that Ashley and Shepard can work with. They can afford to wait until she or Shepard puts a few hypervelocity rounds through Saren's forehead. Also, the enlisted NCO sneaking down the commanding officer's bunk while underway isn't a good look, and neither is 190 the commander. The least Shepard can do before putting Ashley in a tinfoil skirt and a thigh-high boots is to buy her dinner first, instead of eating MREs while wearing Alliance Blue in the Normandy's mess. It's completely reasonable for Ashley to want to pump the brakes here a little bit. The mission does come first, especially with the stakes being raised exponentially higher since Shepard confirmed the existence of an imminent Reaper invasion.
I understand, Chief. The galaxy isn't gonna save itself.
The cheering mobs will never know how much you've sacrificed, Commander. Sleep tight, Shepard.
And sleep tight we shall. We get a message from Medina telling us that the Council is amassing a joint species effort to stop Saren after Shepard confirms Saren's intentions to attack the Citadel. While this initiative may seem like a breath of fresh air, we find out that they're once again only taking half-assed defensive approaches.
Good job, Shepard. Thanks to you, the Council's finally taking real action against Saren.
The Ambassador is correct. If Saren is foolish enough to attack the Citadel, as you believe, we will be ready for him.
Patrols are stationed at every mass relay linking Citadel space to the Terminus systems.
When Shepard decides to bring up Ilos, the Council decides that they want to play politics instead.
You think a blockade's going to stop him? He's on Ilos looking for the conduit right now. What are you doing about that?
Ilos is only accessible to the Mu relay, deep inside the Terminus systems, Commander. If we send a fleet in there, the only possible outcome is full-scale war.
Now is the time for discretion, Commander. Saren's greatest weapon was secrecy. Exposed, he is no longer a threat. This is over.
Shepard's obviously not having any of this and can try to protest. If Shepard suggests that one ship can go into the Terminus system to chase down Saren discreetly, the Turian Council will snap back at him, saying that he detonated a nuclear device on Virmire, being completely ignorant of the fact that the Council forced Shepard's hand in that particular matter. The Council's unwillingness to commit to sending a larger response force to cover Kirihei's SCG team turned Virmire's sandy beaches into an irradiated hellscape, not Shepard's lack of subtlety. It's the same situation again. The Council is electing to twiddle their thumbs instead of actually doing something. Only this time, the casualties won't be limited to a heartbroken biotic who experiences migraines. People will literally die by the millions if they don't take direct action against Saren and the Reapers. The Councilors are also forgetting that the Normandy has cutting-edge stealth technology. Shepard can literally sneak in and out for a covert assassination mission and get out before 0 Dark 30. So why the sudden stonewalling?
If Saren finds the conduit, we're all screwed. We have to go to Ilos.
Ambassador Udina, I get the sense Commander Shepard isn't willing to let this go.
There are serious political implications here, Shepard. Humanity's made great gains thanks to you, but now you're becoming more trouble than you're worth.
You bastard! You're selling us out!
It's just politics, Commander. You've done your job, now let me do mine. We've locked out all the Normandy's primary systems until further notice you're grounded.
We've now reached the point in the video where it seems appropriate to say the following. Ashley was right about everything. Her skepticism of the Council and even of her own government was well-founded and well-placed. Even as we have every advantage over Saren, as the Council does indeed claim, they still aren't doing enough. To use Ashley's words from before, the Council has sickness on the bear and is now keen to walk everything back with a smug and patronizing smile. All the pomp and circumstance and talk of how it was such a huge honor for Shepard to become the first human Spectre in the first place, when in fact it was just a roundabout way for them to clean up their own political messes involving Saren. The Council still seems keen on treating humanity like second-class citizens or children, when in fact Shepard and the crew of the Normandy are literally the most competent people standing inside the Council chambers right now. As it stands right now, Shepard is nothing more to humanity and the Council races other than a glorified janitor with a fancy title. Even with all the power that's vested in him as the first human Spectre, Shepard is still a second-class peon, being repeatedly kneecapped by the powers that be. This is truly the greatest betrayal. We've been played by the Council from the very beginning, and with nothing else to do other than wait for the Reapers to come in and kill everyone, the team heads back to the Normandy, where a frustrated Shepard is accosted by Ashley. Now, depending on how you've played Mass Effect and how you've interacted with Ashley thus far, she will have different things to say to Shepard here. How Shepard chooses to interact with Ashley will also influence her decision to save or kill the Council, but we'll get into that later, of course. However, do keep in mind that Ashley's still cynical and sarcastic toward the Council kneecapping Shepard, no matter how much Shepard's spoken and influenced her throughout the entire game. It's her attitude and dialogue that changes and ranges from "I told you so" to Ashley sarcastically remarking that the Council grounded the Normandy is part of humanity's learning experience as part of the greater galactic community. For example, if Shepard never convinced Ashley to apply her faith to galactic politics and become a bit more optimistic in the process, she will stay cynical and pragmatic, saying the following.
I hate being right.
I thought they'd listen. That they'd see.
You're an optimist, Skipper. Times like this, I'm glad I'm not. The Council's used to being the biggest kid on the playground. They don't want to believe Daddy's coming to pick them up. And eat them, I guess.
Basically, I told you so, you big dumb commander, you. On the flip side, if Shepard has passed both charm and intimidate checks while speaking to Ashley, she would say the following, albeit very sarcastically. Classic Ashley.
You're an optimist, Shepard. I guess we'll have to consider this part of humanity's learning experience.
This is a very simple comparison, but a very important one. The major difference in Ashley's behavior here is that Renegade Ashley, so to speak, argued the outcome of Shepard just being a tool for the Council and has no sympathy for him, electing to be more abrasive, whereas Paragonized Ashley first asks Shepard if he's okay first, and chooses to try to empathize with Shepard, even if the commander tries to snap at her.
We won't learn jack all if we're extinct.
Don't start second-guessing yourself now. The Alliance needs you more than ever.
I don't want to talk about it.
Shepard, if you ever need to talk... Hey, you listen to me bitch about my granddad. You can talk to me too. It's only fair, right?
I'm sorry. I am glad you're here.
What's even more remarkable and indicative of more character growth for Ashley is that she now keeps an open door policy where Shepard can talk to her about his issues. This also goes hand in hand with what Ashley says next, as things turn a bit more romantic between her and Shepard.
I know I'm not the easiest person in the world to get to know, so I'll do you a favor. Just this once. I want you to be happy. Whatever you need, I'll help. There. You made me say it. Boom goes my feminine mystique.
While Ashley has tried to drop the mask before, she wants to be clear this time. Ashley wants Shepard to be happy, and wants to be clear that she's with him until the very end, whatever that may entail. She also contributed this affection tarnishing her reputation as a hard-ass soldier, or in Ashley's words, her feminine mystique. For those of you unfamiliar with the term, it was first coined in 1963 by feminist writer Betty Friedan. Friedan argues in her book by the same name that women should demand equal status and equal opportunities within society. Women should not be satisfied with the more traditional roles of child-rearing, housework, and should instead pursue higher education and economic opportunities. Wait, does this mean that Ashley is or was written to be a feminist character? Huh. Something to think about. This is what Ashley has been trying to do throughout the entire game, and there's even some dialogue to support this.
Look at who I am, Shepard. Do you ever hear me ask for help? It's not that bad things don't happen to me. If you stay with me long enough, maybe I'll tell you about some of them. But I deal with them myself. I don't need a shoulder to cry on, a knight to rescue me, or a man to make me happy. This is who I am. I like her. And you better like her too.
Despite being in between a rock and a hard place throughout her entire life, Ashley has maintained this feminine mystique through most of the game, and is only choosing now to drop it to keep Shepard's head in the game and wish the best for him.
I've had a hell of a time figuring you out, but I think I have. I want you to be happy too.
You better.
We finally seem to figure out Ashley, but know that it was only through Shepard breaking down her barriers through just speaking to her that we're finally allowed to understand her. This kind of realization can only result in one thing. Fuck the government and everyone else in power. It's time for a mutiny, damn it! It's time for us to finally exercise our Spectre status. Let's get Anderson a punch a D in the face and steal the Normandy back. Ready? Okay, let's do it!
Hacker Man. He's the most powerful hacker of all time.
Get us out of here, Joker. Now!
You idiot shouldn't have made me a Spectre in the first place. Yeah! We're free and clear from all the red tape that the Council was trying to saddle Shepard with, as we set sail for the Mu Relay to save the galaxy. We're mutineers, stealing the most advanced warship the Alliance possesses to fight an enemy that the powers that be don't want to believe exists. Everyone aboard this ship knows the truth, and while most of the Normandy are determined to see this mission through, Ashley is the only one that's worried about the implications of fighting giant Reapers, but it's not for the reason that you may think. Sealing the Normandy was undoubtedly the right decision, but Ashley maintains that realistic attitude of hers. But underneath all that is a deep-seated anxiety. Ashley's trained all her life to be the textbook definition of a Marine, but is worried after all she's been through, she won't have a place in this upcoming war.
We've got a hard fight ahead. Fleets of AI dreadnoughts who've exterminated all life dozens of times over. I think the odds are against us.
Everything she's sacrificed to get to this place in her life might have all been for naught, as this is a battle that we fought with dreadnoughts, not rifles. While Shepard might try to comfort her, and she knows the limits of her skill set.
We have an advantage. We know they're coming and we know about their indoctrination.
I don't plan to lie down and die, Skipper. Don't worry about that.
Ash is good at putting hypervelocity rounds through the heads of bad guys, but she can't exactly put a round in between Sovereign's eyes.
But I'm infantry. Against Reapers, my rifle may as well fire spitballs. I won't have a place in this war. That's what pisses me off, not being able to shoot back.
And there's that deep-seated anxiety I talked about earlier. The last place Ashley wants to be is in a place where she can't fight to honor the memory of her family, the 212, and Kaidan. She has to be good enough to make good on those promises and is worried that she won't be able to do that. This attitude is reflected in the part of the game where Shepard must choose between romancing Liara or Ashley. While Ashley may try to hide her true feelings, at her core, Ashley is afraid of not being good enough for Shepard. While Ashley herself may resent Liara for calling her jealous, that interpretation of her character is absolutely correct and valid.
I may not know much about human relationships, but I understand the concept of jealousy.
Jealous? Of you? You're not even our species.
Perhaps that is why you feel threatened. I am a rival unlike any you have faced before. Hostility is a common reaction to the unfamiliar.
Liara also tries to rationalize Ashley's inability to comprehend Liara taking an interest in Shepard as a naturalistic one. The human female pursues the human male, but we also know at this point that it's not as simple as that.
Doctor, you keep smartassing me, I'll show you what my hostile reaction is like.
Liara is mixing up Ashley's apparent xenophobia with her very real anxiety of not having a place aboard the Normandy, or anywhere else for that matter. Ashley has to know where she stands with Shepard, and whether or not he considers her to be good enough, and that she's not some side piece. Basically, is Shepard full of shit or not?
You're special to me, Ash.
Yeah? Kinda hard to feel special while you're always chatting with your little blue friend on the side. Or is that my role?
Ashley's feelings of inadequacy is her crucial character flaw, and something that she has worked to overcome throughout the entirety of the game, with Shepard's help, of course. Through either convincing Ashley that her constant struggle to prove herself is mandated by God, or that she needs to exercise some amount of patience, we can help Ashley cope with these feelings. But understand that those issues aren't solved or vindicated until after the Council grounds the Normandy. By choosing Ashley over Liara, we finally clear up some of this anxiety, and take the first step until finalizing Ashley's character arc.
Dear God, I think I actually feel sorry for her.
That's a surprise. A second ago, you seemed ready to break her neck.
Or yours. No one likes to feel like they're not good enough to get what they want.
Simply put, there's one thing in her life that Ashley has made a point of pursuing. Shepard. Given her family's history and her frustration with dealing with things beyond her control, it makes sense that Ashley isn't about to let some naive Asari steal Shepard from her. Let it also be known that Ashley isn't completely ruthless either. She's learned throughout the course of the game to empathize a little bit with Shepard's help. So before the final assault on Ilos, and what could very well be her last night alive, Ashley makes her way to Shepard's quarters to check on him.
Skipper?
You don't have to call me that. I'm a traitor now. I probably shouldn't even be wearing this uniform.
We had to do this, Shepard. You know that. There was no other way. And you'll always be the skipper to me. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Paragon Shepards may act all crestfallen that he's betrayed the Alliance and should be considered a traitor, but Ashley assures him that the Council left him no choice but to seal the Normandy. In this conversation, Ashley will then quote two more lines of classical poetry by both Walt Whitman and Alfred Tennyson again. References to both works are significant to finalizing Ashley's character arc, so let's start with this bit of dialogue from Ashley.
And you'll always be the skipper to me. Oh, Captain, my Captain.
As I recall, the captain dies in that poem.
Next time, I'll stick with Tennyson.
While Ashley quoting this poem from Whitman seems a little inappropriate as Shepard might suggest, this line is incredibly appropriate and important to Ashley's character arc. Whitman's "Oh Captain, My Captain" was in fact an elegy created to commemorate the end of the American Civil War and the death of President Abraham Lincoln. This poem itself is famous for capturing the feelings of a nation that's been stricken with simultaneous grief and joy over the death of the president and the human cost of ending the Civil War. The captain character in this poem is implied to be President Abraham Lincoln, who Whitman writes to be a paternal figure to America, with each stanza pivoting between private grief and public celebration. Through these pivots of tone and tensions, Whitman is suggesting that a deep grief for a loved one can be an isolating force that makes loss even more painful than it might otherwise be. It's through this perspective that we find out why this poem is so important to Ashley, as it alludes to how Ashley has conducted herself throughout her entire life. She has chosen to celebrate and honor the passings of those who were the closest to her by putting on a mask composed of military bravado and following within their footsteps. She's learned to wear this mask effectively enough where she's become impossible to read, and while nobody's looking, Ashley's able to mourn those she cares about in private. It's all worked well for Ashley thus far, until Kaidan passed away on her watch. This was the straw that broke the Alcor's back, so to speak. Ashley no longer has words for the anguish and the heavy amount of survivor guilt that she feels. Why exactly do death and destruction seem to follow her everywhere she goes? Using Ashley's own words,
I'm not a word person, Shepard. Other people say what I mean better than I do.
And it's at this point in Ashley's character arc we finally understand. This is why Ashley's willing to believe in God, as she knows if she follows the penitent path, she will have a place in death where she wouldn't have in life. In death, she will have made her father and grandfather proud, and will now be able to cherish their company eternally, in the great Mass Effect field in the sky. This is also why she quotes classical literature, as those like Tennyson and Whitman, people who have been dead for centuries, seem, at least to Ashley, to have a better handle on the human condition, and Ashley's personal issues that she struggles with herself. Ashley closes this thought with another fitting quote from the end of Tennyson's Ulysses, which if you recall is her father's favorite poem that we talked about a bit earlier in the video.
Death closes all, but something ere the end, some work of noble note, may yet be done. not on becoming men that strove with gods.
In these lines from Ulysses, Ulysses himself now acknowledges that, in the most explicit way so far in the poem, that he has grown very old. Nevertheless, he still insists that he and his men are still capable of traversing the Mediterranean, which is, in a way, something like the heroism they showed when they were young. Now, Ashley is by no means an elderly woman, but it's a kind of blind and idealistic heroism that both Ulysses and Ashley display in the face of impossible adversity that makes both characters extremely admirable. In these lines within the poem, Ulysses urges his former crewmates to set out on a voyage with him to overcome the limitations imposed by time and age to reclaim some of their youthful heroism. While this may seem irresponsible and stupid, Tennyson makes it perfectly clear that their heroism actually emerges from those limitations. What makes Ulysses and his men admirable is the fact that they are older and weaker than they used to be, and are still yet willing to undertake tasks as difficult and as dangerous as the ones they faced in their prime. It is because they see their own limitations and persist in spite of those limitations that they emerge as heroic figures at the poem's end. This is exactly what's happened throughout Ashley's life. Her triumphs through adversity have only served to strengthen her resolve, with the commander serving to shore up her more smaller doubts. And on that note, what happens now? At this point in the story, Ashley trusts Shepard completely, and with good reason. With this in mind, and considering that this may be Ashley's last night alive, she finally and completely drops her guard. No more bullshitting around. No more walls of military bearing. Burn the regs against fraternization. None of that's going to stop her from being fully self-actualized and finally getting what she wants.
Ash, I don't always want to lead you. Sometimes I'd like to stand beside you.
Is that an admission of something, Shepard? I have a better idea. How about I lead? There are regs against this, you know. You ready to deal with the consequences?
The very rules and standards Ashley has held herself to throughout her entire life no longer matter, and have instead been replaced by Shepard's confidence.
I've spent my whole life fighting to get what I want. To get it done, I had to bury a lot of things. During that whole time, not even once did I feel like I was worth what I was fighting for. You make me feel good enough.
Now that Ashley finally has what she wants, Ashley plans on enjoying herself as much as possible. And as it so happens, Ashley is the type of girl to play with her food before she eats it. This involves Ashley teasing the living hell out of Shepard. What follows is a dialogue wheel boss battle similar to the one the player has in Culture 2 with Atris.
A physical victory perhaps, but the real victory lay in...
Yes! Yes! Yes!
You're winning! Fight third! Tie third! Hold down back, bitch!
The Triumph of the Jedi teachings is a cold thing when there's no one left alive to appreciate them!
You do not know...
Oh, this is good. This is good.
Talk to him!
While not as rewarding as telling Atris to get bent, the player can still tell Ashley to do the same, but in a different context. It just depends on how well Shepard can keep up with her in this specific context. Ashley, being rather bold and abrasive herself, appreciates it when Shepard can keep up with her, responding positively to the renegade options.
I can make you feel much more than that. Come here.
No. I think you're gonna have to come here.
Oh, this is good. This is good.
Talk to him!
Shut up and get over here.
Make me.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
You're winning! Fight third!
You still sassing me, soldier? I think you need more physical training.
Tisk. Now, what will it take to prove I'm in prime condition, Skipper?
Paragon Shepards, ever trying to be the diplomat, will actually walk all over him.
No. I think you're gonna have to come here.
This isn't a contest, Ash.
This isn't an act, Shepard. But you'll learn.
Hold down back, bitch!
Shepard electing to be a bit more ambivalent results in Ashley wanting this exchange to be more so a give and take.
I'm not looking to be a toy, Ash.
I don't think of you as one, but I won't be all squishy and submissive either. This is gonna be a give and take. I'll show you what I mean.
Wooly, why are you sweating so much?
Listen, man,
Wooly,
I'm not saying...
It's getting a little bit red right now.
You can't tell that, white man!
You'd think now that Ashley's had her fun with Shepard, she'd be a bit more serious, but as you may expect, that's not really the case.
Well now, that's a whole new spin for on the floor and give me 20, huh?
You can't ever be serious, can you?
Well, geez, Shepard, if you can't laugh after that, when will you?
Bridge to Commander Shepard. We're 5 minutes out from the Mu relay.
Ashley continues to relentlessly tease Shepard, and claims she has something important to tell him, but if he wants to hear it, he'll have to survive Ilos and come back to her first.
Hey, Shepard. Whatever happens down there, I just wanted to say... Wait, you know what? I'm not telling you. You want to hear this? You'll just have to come back to me.
Duty calls after all, and it's time for a final choice that will influence galactic politics for years to come and our relationship with Ashley in more ways than one. I mean this quite literally. Shepard has more power at his fingertips than anybody else in human history, and from this spot in the Citadel Council chambers, he can choose how to wield it. Ashley's character has already reached his climax, and the following action of her arc is determined by how Shepard has interacted with Ashley throughout the entire game. We're left with two options here. Hold back the human fleet for a chance to strike at Sovereign, or order the human fleet to protect the Council. What we essentially have here is a classic Charlie dilemma, and this dilemma is only further complicated by Ashley's character arc. Once said character arc is completely fulfilled, it makes his decision to save the Council much more complicated and nuanced based on how much insight we gain through speaking with her. If Shepard didn't pass the charm or intimidate speech check with Ashley earlier in the game, causing her to re-examine her worldview, Ashley will remain spiteful of the Council due to their incompetence and prejudice towards humans.
You can't sacrifice human lives to save the Council. What have they ever done for us?
This is bigger than humanity. Sovereign is a threat to every organic species in the galaxy.
Exactly. We can't throw away reinforcements trying to save the Council. We have to hold them back until Sovereign's exposed.
What's the order, Commander? Come in now to save the Ascension, or hold back?
Perhaps this renegade Ashley is right. Maybe galactic politics do need a bit of a shakeup. If the old Council was willing to patronize and belittle Shepard to the point of letting the Reapers just roll in to attack the Citadel, what good are they going to be for the fight ahead? What good are they going to be in an actual war against the Reapers? Setting the sequel games aside for a second, we can make the easy judgment that everything's just going to get caught up in bureaucracy while everyone scrambles to cover their own asses instead of working together. The Council hasn't done anything so far except kneecap Shepard at almost every turn, and when they're not trying to kneecap the first human Spectre, they never seem committed to solving a problem or finishing a task. There's a fundamental lack of trust between humanity and the Council. Trust and respect work both ways, so if the Council doesn't trust humanity or the first human Spectre, why should we trust them? With humanity in charge of the Council, we might indeed avoid the greatest threat of a brief existence. However, this would also significantly weaken the Council race's ability to fight the Reapers too, and based on what we talked about in this very video, the Alliance might not be ready for the responsibility that comes with directing a galactic effort to prepare for a literal extinction war. Ashley herself doesn't even consider the Alliance a formal or even competent government, so what hope does the Alliance have at governing the Asari, Solarians, and all the other Council races? Again, this is a trolley problem. Humanity maintains supremacy at the detriment of the other Council races' fleets. In choosing this option, Shepard will be actively weakening the galaxy instead of strengthening it towards a single objective, defending the galaxy against the Reapers. This is an opinion that Paragon Ashley agrees with.
Human casualties will be very high if you send your fleet in now.
This is bigger than humanity. Sovereign's a threat to every organic species in the galaxy.
Ashley is correct. This is bigger than humanity, and sacrificing human ships to save the Council does seem like the safest option. Shepard might be able to work off the familiar bureaucracy that the Council brings to the table, but will it be worth sacrificing the human fleets to save the Council? We also have to consider that this choice has humanity playing right into the Council's hands. They've seen Shepard, and humanity in general, as their personal attack dogs to stick on a target. The Council made Shepard a Spectre to go after Saren, and then immediately kneecapped him once he ceased to be politically useful. Would Shepard be comfortable with vindicating the Council in this manner? Setting a precedent for the Council to ask the same of humanity in the future? Can we still trust the Council to honor their sacrifice by preparing for the fight ahead? Or will they still patronize humanity, treating humans like fire and forget missiles? But most of all, can we leave Earth practically defenseless and trust the Council to plug the breach with their own forces? Can we trust the Council to divert some of their own forces away from their own homeworlds to protect their allies when the time comes? This is the other hypothetical track that the trolley can travel upon. The Council maintains supremacy at the detriment of human lives. In choosing this option, Shepard will be actively weakening humanity's position within the galaxy when the Reapers inevitably roll in, and we have to trust that the Council will back us when the time comes. So, what do we choose? Well, if we pretend we don't know what the outcome is for each choice, and considering the actions of the Council thus far, I think it's time to hit the reset button. The Council simply cannot be trusted to get the job done or be trusted to keep their word. Their efforts to kneecap and belittle Shepard have overshadowed every possible redeeming quality they have. The Alliance might not be able to fill the power vacuum that's left by the deaths of the Council, but at least in times of distress, they would trust Shepard's word implicitly.
Commander, they've closed the channel.
Guard on my flank! We're going in!
Filling the power vacuum will take some work, trust, and understanding of the problems ahead, so we will need someone who's up for that task. On the subject of trust and understanding, Udine is thrown right out the window. He backstabbed Shepard just like Arnold and Quisling did to their own people, and we simply cannot trust him to lead the Council and the future war effort. We need a leader with a backbone, someone who won't compromise on their principles for the sake of political gain. We need someone who understands war and battle, a grizzled veteran of the First Contact War who can use the power vested in him as the Counselor to shore up the galaxy's defenses. Which is why Anderson is the clear choice here.
We're about to go into war. We need someone with military experience. Someone like Captain Anderson.
You make a good case. Captain, Are you ready for this?
I don't know if any of us are ready for this, but I'll do what I can. So what happens now?
The Reapers are still out there. They're coming. And I'm gonna find some way to stop them.
Shepard's right. We're headed for war with the Reapers. If we lose, it's the end of all life as we know it. We have to show the rest of the galaxy what it takes to survive. With the support of the other races, we can win this battle. With them behind us, we can stand against the Reapers' return and drive them back into dark space.
Shepard did everything right. More than we could have hoped for. Saving the Citadel, but leaving the Council to die. Humanity's place in the galaxy is stronger than ever. And still it's not enough.
Humans may control the Council, but Shepard remains our best hope.
But they're sending him to fight Geth. Geth. We both know they're not the real threat. The Reapers are still out there.
And it's up to us to stop them.
The Council will never trust Cerberus. They'll never accept our help, even after everything humanity has accomplished. But Shepard, they'll follow him. He's a hero, a bloody icon. But he's just one man. If we lose Shepard, humanity might well follow.
Then see to it that we don't lose him.
It seems their efforts weren't enough. Even with Anderson's efforts, the Council still backs on the Reaper threat, with Saren and the Geth being a convenient scapegoat. However, there is a silver lining. So long as Shepard is alive and well, they cannot deny the real threat. So, what would happen if Shepard would suddenly die? What will happen to the Normandy's crew? And, for that matter, Ashley? How will she cope with Shepard passing away after bearing her heart's ruin throughout the entire first game? Well, let's find out.
Cruiser is changing course. Now on intercept trajectory.
Can't be. Stealth systems are engaged. There's no way a Geth ship could possibly...
It's not the Geth. Brace for evasive maneuvers!
Presley!
Kinetic barriers down! Multiple hull breaches! Weapons offline! Somebody get that fire out!
Distress beacon is ready for launch.
Will the Alliance get here in time?
I'm not doing this just so they can find our frozen corpses. Get everyone onto the escape shuttle.
Joker's still in the cockpit. He won't abandon ship. I'm not leaving either.
I need you to get the crew onto the evac shuttles. I'll take care of Joker.
Commander.
Ashley, go. Now.
Aye, aye. Everybody in. Go, go, go!
As Shepard gets ejected from the Normandy into space and burns up in the atmosphere of some planet in the Terminus systems, Ashley gets to walk away unscathed once more. First to 212, then Kaidan, and now Shepard. Death seems to follow her wherever she goes, but somehow it evades her. It would seem Tennyson was both right and wrong. Death does in fact close all, but it seems that those who are the bravest suffer the most gruesome deaths, while those who wish to martyr themselves never seem to die. This leaves Ashley completely shattered, and just like the deaths of Kaidan, the 212, her father, grandfather, her life has to be worthy of all their deaths, plus Shepard's now, while she tries to put everything back together. Funny I say that, because Cerberus does the exact same thing to resurrect Shepard to investigate disappearing human colonies. He's a multi-billion-dollar spaceman being brought back to life for a suicide mission by a shadow organization. Shepard is once again being sent to do a job that no one else can or wants to do. But this time it seems that Cerberus is at least willing to listen to Shepard. Already, on paper, Cerberus is a better organization than the Council. Okay, look, I know we just picked the kill the Council ending as a segue to talk about Mass Effect 2, but it's important to see what the alternatives are to see if the Council has indeed changed. Have they chosen to honor the sacrifice of all those human lives or not? If Shepard chooses to go to the Citadel, speak with the Council and Anderson, they will have this to say. And boy howdy, are we in for a bit of a doozy.
This meeting would be more productive if Udina was to join us.
My advisor is unavailable. As counselor, I represent the voice of humanity and the Alliance.
Okay, the first thing to unpack here is that the Council wants to speak to Ambassador Udina and not Counselor Anderson. This can only mean two things. The Council's pegged Udina as a collaborationist after they all worked to ground Shepard at the end of the first game. The Council is used to manipulating Udina, and perhaps to Anderson's credit, this means that he's doing a better job at upholding humanity's interests than the former ambassador. This also means they don't respect Anderson, and by extension, don't respect humanity enough even though they were offered a position in the Council after their sacrifice at the Battle of the Citadel. Oh, but this gets so much worse.
We've heard many rumors surrounding your unexpected return. Some of them are unsettling.
We called this meeting so you could explain your actions, Shepard. We owe you that much. After all, you saved our lives in the battle against Saren and his Geth.
The reason for this meeting is so that Shepard could answer for some action or another. So what exactly does Shepard need to answer for? For all intents and purposes, Shepard followed the Council's orders to the letter. In the interim between Mass Effect 1 and 2, the Commander was sent to wipe out the last of the Geth holdouts to quell public panic towards the Reapers. And Shepard fucking died because they wanted to play politics! And as you might expect, it gets much worse.
Saren wasn't the one commanding the Geth. It was the Reaper, Sovereign.
Ah yes, Reapers. The immortal race of sentient starships allegedly waiting in dark space. We have dismissed that claim.
Shepard. No one else encountered the hologram on Ilos that told you the truth about the Reapers. Only you and your crew ever spoke with Sovereign. I believe you. But without evidence from another source, the others think Saren was behind the Geth attacks.
This is absolutely insane. They spent the entire last game twiddling their thumbs, and now that Shepard was gone for 2 years, they've completely downplayed the issue. Shepard can try to remind them about what he's seen and what he's reported on, but it doesn't work.
Saren wasn't the one commanding the Geth. It was the Reaper, Sovereign.
Ah yes, Reapers. The immortal race of sentient starships allegedly waiting in dark space. We have dismissed that claim.
Now, I refrain from accusing the Council of gaslighting Shepard in the first game based on a supposed lack of evidence, of which you might be able to excuse. However, after Sovereign attacked the Citadel, the Council had no excuse to deny the threat now. They lived through the damn battle, at the expense of hundreds of human lives. So, I'm not going to hold back anymore. Especially after the Asari and Turian counselors say this to Shepard.
This Reaper theory proves just how fragile your mental state is. You have been manipulated. By Cerberus, and before them, by Saren.
Saren was a compelling and charismatic individual. He convinced the Geth the Reapers were real, just as he convinced you.
It was part of his plan to attack the Citadel. The Reapers are just a myth, one you insist on perpetuating.
We believe that you believe it, but that doesn't make it true.
What kind of line is that coming from the Asari government? You also have to love the ever-anti-human Turian counselor implying that Shepard belongs in a mental hospital for cleaning up their own political messes. Oh, but again, this gets so much worse.
I kept Saren from conquering the Citadel. I sacrificed human lives to save this council.
We are in a difficult position, Shepard. You are working for Cerberus, an avowed enemy of the Council. This is treason, a capital offense.
In one ear and out the other. There is no respect for Shepard or humanity in general coming from this council. Much like Ashley in her military career and her personal life, it doesn't matter how hard humanity pushes or how many people die to advance their place among the stars. Humanity will always get refuted by the ruling classes. And the cherry on top of this whole fucking situation is that the council then has the gall to suggest that Shepard should be charged with treason for working with Cerberus. Thankfully, Anderson steps in to defend Shepard, but the only benefit we get out of the situation is a return to normalcy. Shepard gets his Spectre status reinstated, but the Council will also refuse to help Shepard with his investigation into the missing human colonies and the Collectors. They are quite literally refusing to plug the holes in humanity's defenses after humanity defended its allies when it seemed to what mattered the most. Say it with me now. Ashley was right about everything. The Council sicked humanity on the bear, and now intends to return to the homestead to pretend like nothing ever happened. And on that note, I think it's time for Renegade Shepard to tell the Council exactly how he feels.
Take your offer and cram it up your ass. I didn't need your help to stop Sovereign, and I don't need it now.
We've tried to be reasonable.
A tactic that has been misplaced. If your actions become a threat to the security of Council space, we will take action.
Watch your step, Shepard. You've been warned.
The conversation ends with more empty and hollow threats from this incompetent council. Nobody should perceive these three stooges as a threat, and least of all, should Shepard. It's time for the real work to begin with Cerberus, a better organization than the council, at least on paper. Cerberus spent all this time and money bringing Shepard back to life, only to give us the resources we need to take the fight back to the Reapers, with no changes to Shepard's personality. I prefer that to the council kneecapping us any day. However, that doesn't mean Shepard isn't full of questions after being essentially dead for 2 years. When Shepard asks the Elusive Man a question, he always has an answer, instead of giving us the runaround like the Council usually did. His first thought should be with his crew, and we can ask the Elusive Man what they've been doing while Shepard was dead, and more importantly, what Ashley's up to.
Where's Ashley Williams?
She's still with the Alliance. Promoted, I believe. Her file is surprisingly well classified.
Well, it seems Ashley has once again chosen to honor Shepard's memory by applying herself further. Ashley's no longer blacklisted by the Alliance, and maybe being on the team that took down Saren got her enough points for another promotion. She's advanced farther in her career than when her father was alive, but this time, there's no one around to salute her or comfort her. She's alone once again, being completely unaware that Shepard is in fact very much alive and flying around the terminus systems in a brand new ship. Worse still, she's completely unaware that the Collectors are a thing, and is in for a rude awakening. Ashley and everyone else on Horizon are about to get abducted by the Collectors, so we need to get in there fast to stop these bug-eyed monsters.
They're pulling out. They wanted the colonists and they've got them. They've got
No! Don't let him get away!
There's nothing we can do. They're gone.
Half the colony's in there. They took Egan and Sam and Lilith. Do something!
I did my best. You just hid in your damn bunker.
If it wasn't for Shepard, you'd all be on board that ship.
Shepard? Wait. I know that name. Sure, I remember you. You're some type of big Alliance hero.
Commander Shepard, Captain of the Normandy, the first human Spectre, Savior of the Citadel. You're in the presence of a god, Delan, back from the dead.
All the good people we lost and you get left behind. Figures. Screw this. I'm done with you Alliance types.
I thought you were dead, Shepard. We all did.
You don't sound too happy to see me. Something bothering you, Ash?
Yeah, something's bothering me. I spent the past 2 years believing you were dead. We had something, Shepard. Something real. I loved you. I thought you were dead. I almost... How could you put me through that? Why didn't you try to contact me? Why didn't you let me know you were alive?
Not my choice. I spent the last 2 years in some kind of coma while Cerberus rebuilt me.
You're with Cerberus now? Garrus, too? I can't believe the reports were right.
Reports? You mean you already knew?
Alliance intel said Cerberus could be behind our missing colonies. We got a tip that this one could be the next to get hit. I went to Anderson, but he wouldn't talk. But there were rumors that you weren't dead. Worse, that you were working for the enemy.
Cerberus and I want the same thing, to save our colonies. That doesn't mean I answer to them.
Do you really believe that? Or is that just what Cerberus wants you to think? I wanted to believe that you were alive. I just never expected anything like this. How could you just turn your back on all of us? You betrayed the Alliance. Anderson, you betrayed me.
Ash, you know me. You know I'd only do this for the right reason. You saw it yourself. The Collectors are targeting human colonies. and they're working with the Reapers.
I'd like to believe you, Shepard, but I don't trust Cerberus. And it worries me that you do. What did they do to you? What if they're behind it? What if they're the ones working with the Collectors?
Typical Alliance attitude. You're so focused on Cerberus that you're blind to the real threat.
You're letting how you feel about their history get in the way of facts.
Or maybe you feel like you owe Cerberus because they saved you. Maybe it's you. Doesn't matter. I still know where my loyalties lie. I'm an Alliance soldier. It's in my blood. I'm reporting back to the Citadel. I'll let them decide if they believe your story.
I could use someone like you in my crew, Ash. It'll be just like old times.
No, it won't. I'm no fan of aliens, but Cerberus has a history of being extremist. I'll never work for a group like that. Goodbye, Shepard. Just try to be careful.
Well, that could have gone better. We've saved some of the colonists, but not all of them, and we've made Ashley very upset. Now, fans of Mass Effect often call Ashley unreasonable for acting like this, but I think critics of this part of the game are seriously underestimating the amount of emotional whiplash and trauma Ashley has felt throughout her entire life thus far. Her entire life has been marked by difficulty, with the constant need to prove herself worthy to the Alliance, and the legacy of those who've passed on. She was willing to die out of spite to prove to her greatest critics that she was twice as good, if not better, than they think she is. After losing the 212 and Kid into a nuclear blast, she blames herself for being the sole survivor of both situations. Through speaking with Shepard, she reconsiders a rather spiteful yet justifiable worldview, and learns that she needs to stop beating herself up so much. After fighting to get what she wants, burying a lot of things in the process, Ashley then starts to open up bit by bit, dropping the carefully constructed wall of military bravado, allowing her to be a bit more selfish and empathetic towards others. Ashley allows herself to love Shepard, as he's allowed her to feel good enough to do so. While Ashley never explicitly says that she loves Shepard in Mass Effect 1, she knows what its absence feels like, and can express it through familiar feelings of loss in Mass Effect 2 on Horizon.
We had something, Shepard. Something real. I loved you. I thought you were dead. How could you put me through that?
So when Shepard dies in one of the most horrific ways possible in the cold vacuum of space, that's gotta leave her feeling a certain way. Maybe calling Shepard a traitor is a little bit too much, but she has the right to be at least a little bit angry and emotional here. Also, to Ashley's credit, when the mission's over, she sends Shepard an email, apologizing for her lashing out at him. Now, something interesting here is that BioWare had Ashley's voice actor, Kimberly Brooks, record some voice lines for this message, but for some reason or another, it was cut from the game. Luckily, this small but incredible performance from Brooks was able to be recovered through mining the game's files, so that I could then, in turn, put it in this very video. Take a listen, as we hear a very angry and aimless Ashley in impossible amounts of anguish trying to rationalize Shepard's return to the living.
Shepard, I'm sorry for what I said back on Horizon. When I lost you 2 years ago, it tore me up. I prayed for you every day. I read a lot of Tennyson thinking about you. Just like I did when my dad passed. And then you came back. And it was like my prayers were answered. But I'm not who I was then, and well, neither are you. I don't know what's true anymore. Part of me can't believe it's really you. I keep going back to that night before Elos. Our night. I haven't let myself think about those memories in over a year. I wouldn't have expected you to work for Cerberus, but I know why they sent you to Horizon. I saw how many people were lost there. And if anyone can stop the Collectors, you can. I can't go where you're going, but I can wish you luck. Just stay alive out there, Skipper. I don't know what the future holds, but I can't lose you a second time. Ash. Death closes all. But something ere the end, some work of noble note, may yet be done. Not unbecoming men that strove with gods.
First thing to consider here is that Ashley's not used to her prayers being answered, as she's used to being alone and dealing with issues herself. So when Shepard comes back, she quite literally cannot handle it. As such, she can't join us to fight the Collectors. There's too much emotional baggage at play here that might interfere with the mission. Ashley also acknowledges that both she and the Commander are two different people with different priorities, but she still wishes the best for Shepard and wants him to come back to her in one piece. After all, she won't be able to handle Shepard dying a second time. Ashley also requotes Ulysses, which in turn reinforces her determination to honor the dead through persevering, and changes up the comparison from Ulysses to her father to Shepard to Ulysses, by comparing this very last voyage Shepard has with Cerberus to the one Ulysses wishes to embark upon within the poem of the same name. Earlier in this video, I compared Ashley's relationship to her father to that of Telemachus to Ulysses. That comparison has now changed and evolved to where Shepard has replaced the role of Ulysses within that analogy. Shepard has been brought back from the dead to embark on one final voyage to certain death, that being the suicide mission, while working with an organization that doesn't give a damn about politics or people stopping them, while Ashley elects to stay behind with the Alliance to govern its more wild aspects. If I confuse you with that statement, remember before we came to Horizon, we are told by the Elusive Man that Ashley is out in the Terminus systems as part of a colony outreach program, which makes this comparison between Telemachus and Ashley even more apt. I will also remind those watching that the poem doesn't necessarily reflect any feelings of anguish towards the dead. Ulysses reveled in the adventure that cruising around the Mediterranean brought, even while he was suffering. He isn't sorry for losing his friends in the process either. He wants to get in his trireme and start sailing around the Mediterranean once again like he did in his youth. So maybe Ulysses isn't the most appropriate poem for Ashley to be quoting at us. As for what work of Tennyson's Ashley's probably been bringing to comfort herself after Shepard's rather dramatic death, I would have to guess it would be Crossing the Bar. The poem reads as follows. Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me. And may there be no moaning of the bar, when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full of sound and foam, when that which drew from boundless deep, turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and that after the dark. And may there be no sadness farewell, when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place, the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face, when I have crossed the bar. This poem was written right before Tennyson's death in the year 1889. The work is a metaphorical meditation on death, which seems the speaker comparing dying, or a certain way of dying, to gently crossing a sandbar between a coastal area and the wider sea or ocean. In essence, it is a poem that argues that death is in fact a kind of comfort, a point of view based on the speaker's religious faith in the afterlife. Accordingly, the speaker wants to die quietly and gently, without fear, reassured by the knowledge that what comes next is a meeting with God. In summary then, the poem insists that there is no reason to fear death. Instead, it argues that people should take solace in the rather paradoxical thought that death brings not within an end, but a new beginning. That, in someone dying, should bring comfort and closure to those individuals instead of perpetual anguish. It's from this standpoint where we can finally understand why Ashley's mad at Shepard. Shepard's supposed to be dead, and she's both angry and happy that he's alive, but she can't quite put those feelings into words. Hence why she keeps going back to Tennyson and his musings on the human condition, the afterlife, and God. But hey, much like Telemachus, Ashley will do her work and Shepard will do his. But the problem is that Ashley is right about everything as per usual. Take a wild guess at who will lure the Collectors to Horizon and to Ashley. It was Cerberus.
The Collectors will be more careful now, but I think we can find another way to lure them in.
Ash said the Alliance got a tip about me and Cerberus. Was that you?
I may have let it slip that you were alive, and with Cerberus.
You risked the lives of my friend, my crew, and that entire colony? Just to lure the Collectors there?
A calculated risk. I suspected the Collectors were looking for you, or people connected to you. Now I know for certain. I told you I wouldn't sit and wait while the Reapers and Collectors gather strength. Besides, they would have hit another colony eventually, and without a way to predict which one, they would have abducted everyone.
Perhaps the Elusive Man is right. If he hadn't leaked that Shepard was alive and that Ashley was on Horizon, the Collectors would have gone somewhere else. However, he doesn't consider actively helping Ashley or the colonists fix his guardian anti-air batteries to help Shepard stop the abductions in the first place. This calls into question Cerberus' ethics and the Elusive Man's treatment of Shepard. Let's begin with the former, as such themes are prevalent throughout the first and second games. Shepard's first contact with Cerberus happens before the events of Mass Effect 1, where sole survivor Shepard's squad was eaten by Thresher Maws, with one of the two survivors, being Corporal Toombs, being hauled off by Cerberus and subjugated to brutal experiments. Shepard can find Toombs later in Mass Effect 1, gunning down Cerberus scientists during the mission UNSC Dead Scientists, where he will say the following.
They took me, Shepard. The scientists. You can't prove any of this. This man is delusional. They were running tests on the Thresher Maws. They let those things hit us just to watch and study. I woke up in a holding cell. The scientists were delighted I'd survived. Now they had someone to run tests on.
I can arrest him. He'll answer for his crimes in court.
Weren't you listening? He was part of a secret organization. I don't know what Cerberus is, but they'll never let their operation become public. You got away with a few scratches and a scary reputation. The rest of the unit died, and I was tortured for years, Shepard. You can't judge me. You don't have the right.
The next happens in the events of Mass Effect 1, where Shepard can investigate the colony of Chaska, where it would seem Cerberus transformed the entire colony into husks to attempt to gain some insight into how the process works. If you so choose, this could also be Ashley's first exposure to Cerberus, and it's very clear she doesn't like what she sees.
The entire colony must have been transformed. These logs place the blame for this on a group called Cerberus, whoever they are.
Lastly, in Mass Effect 1, Charles Saraceno rose to power in the Terra Firma party after his political rival died under mysterious circumstances. In Mass Effect Ascension, it's revealed that Saraceno was just a puppet for Cerberus' interests, and the Elusive Man had his rival assassinated by Paul Grayson. It seems Ashley was right to mistrust Saraceno as well. It also seems Ashley was right about Cerberus being somewhat racist, as Miranda admits to Shepard that too many joined the organization out of simple xenophobia. So wait, why do people still think Ashley's racist? I mean, she literally admonishes a pro-human terrorist organization. You can't get any more anti-racist than that. In Mass Effect 2, we learn from Tali and her Quarian team of Freedom's Progress, Cerberus tried to infiltrate and blow up one of their ships to recapture the young autistic biotic, Gillian Grayson. Similarly, we have the same thing happen with Jack. She was stolen from her mother at a young age and given to Cerberus to be raised as a test subject to make a powerful human biotic. She was pitted against other biotic children in fights, being rewarded for being violent by Cerberus giving her drugs. Jack remarks during this mission that she gets pangs of warm feelings when she kills something after years of Cerberus basically turning her into a violent biotic psychopath. We also learned from the same mission that Cerberus would buy these children from Batarian slavers, which is counter to this whole pro-human mission they supposedly run.
Some were bought from poor families on Earth or kidnapped from colonies. Most ended up here the way I did. Batarian pirates.
I would also still like to remind those watching that my Shepard took the colonist background, so this mission should have him feeling a certain way.
Sounds like this facility went rogue.
You'd like to think that, wouldn't you? He didn't say what they were hiding from the Elusive Man.
While the Elusive Man and Miranda might try to weasel out the responsibility of owning up to Cerberus' more pernicious aspects by saying the facility went rogue, there's no question that the Elusive Man's ruthlessness and constant need for progress might promote a culture of fear. This culture of fear is further explored in the Overlord DLC, where we learn that Cerberus created Project Overlord. Project Overlord was run by Dr. Gavin Archer. It was an ambitious effort not to only understand the Geth, but to find a way to control them. As per usual with Cerberus, their projects have noble goals to further humanity, but instead turn to crimes against humanity in the process. Dr. Archer had connected his brother David, an autistic savant, to a VI interface to allow him to interact with the Geth. The overstimulation had driven David insane and caused him to take control of the base, unleashing Geth and Cerberus' own security mechs on the staff. Dr. Gavin strung up his brother like this in this weird Christ-like pose, with his only defense being that Cerberus doesn't accept failure or setbacks.
I saw his memory. He begged you not to do this.
I was desperate. The Elusive Man doesn't broker failure. Any war we fight with the Geth will be bloody. I was asked to find a way to avoid that.
The organization is completely ruthless, and this goes hand in hand when Cerberus betrays Shepard and the crew of the Normandy for the second time. This betrayal happens when we are seemingly sent to a disabled collector ship to mine the ship for navigational data for the collector's home base. The Elusive Man tells us that a combined effort of Horizon's defense towers and a Turian patrol managed to soften the ship up for us. But as the mission progresses, it seems clear that something is very wrong.
Commander, you gotta hear this. On a hunch, I asked ED to run an analysis on this ship.
I compared the EM profile against data recorded by the original Normandy 2 years ago. They are an exact match.
The same ship dogging me for 2 years? Way beyond coincidence.
Something doesn't add up, Commander. Watch your back.
Where are the bodies of the collector crew? Careful, Shepard. Something doesn't feel right about this.
EDI, I'm setting up a bridge between you and the collector ship. See if you can get anything useful from the databanks.
Data mine in progress, Shepard.
That can't be good.
What the hell just happened?
Major power surge. Everything went dark, but we're back up now.
I managed to divert the majority of the overload to non-critical systems. Shepard, it was not a malfunction. This was a trap.
Did you get what we needed?
I found data that would help us successfully navigate the Omega-4 relay. I have also found a Turian distress call that served as the lure for this trap. The collectors were the source. It is unusual.
What are you getting at?
Turian emergency channels have secondary encryption. It is present, but corrupted in the message. It is not possible that the elusive man would believe the distress call was genuine.
Why are you so sure?
I found the anomaly with Cerberus detection protocols. He wrote them.
He knew it was a trap? Why would he send us into a trap?
That son of a bitch sent us right into Collector hands.
I should have known better than to trust Cerberus.
There has to be some other explanation. The elusive man wouldn't do this to us. He just wouldn't.
Oh, Miranda, but he just did. We're now 2 for 0 on Cerberus' attempts to try and kill Shepard and the Normandy's crew, with the first one being Horizon. Keeping all this in mind, it would seem the elusive man is using Shepard as his own personal attack dog to clean up Cerberus' messes, just like the Council did with Shepard in the first game. He's just another tool for another organization with its own goals and agendas. From this particular perspective, Cerberus and the Council are the same organizations. Well, the only difference between the two organizations is that the Council's ineptitude is bound to its bureaucracy, and Cerberus' failings are bound to its ruthless leader. Funny enough, the elusive man actually admits in the final decision of Mass Effect 2 that Shepard was resurrected because the elusive man thought that he could advance the causes of Cerberus. That Shepard himself was in fact resurrected to be a literal figurehead.
Shepard, you died fighting for what you believed. I brought you back so you could keep fighting. Some would say what we did to you was going too far, but look what you've accomplished. I didn't discard you because I knew your value. Don't be so quick to discard this facility. Think of the potential.
While Cerberus indeed does tend to get results, they also tend to get perverted for the sake of the organization's leader and Auteur's goals. If the horrors performed on Jack and David were done under a less ruthless leader, they might not have devolved into textbook examples of unethical science. In this video, I realized that the resources and power to combat the Reapers must rest with one organization or another. The ramifications of killing the Council and denying Cerberus the resources within the collective base will weaken the galaxy for the fight to come. But Cerberus cannot be trusted as much as the Council's bureaucracy. After all, the only thing that saves us from the bureaucrats is the system's inherent inefficiency, with the total opposite being detrimental to everyone. Simply put, we cannot trust the elusive man's visions for the future, because there's no one else to keep him in check. There's no arguing with someone like him, and the elusive man isn't above killing those who disagree with him either. It would also seem that Paragon Ashley at the end of Mass Effect 1 was correct. The upcoming war is bigger than humanity. The Reapers are a threat to every organic species in the galaxy, and it will take a combined effort to win the war against the greatest threat of her brief existence. Keeping everything I just said in mind, the only suitable response is for Shepard to not give them any more power. Cerberus cannot be trusted wielding more power than they already have, which is still a lot. Trust does indeed work both ways, so the only rational solution Shepard can make is to completely destroy the collector base and tell the elusive man to shove it.
We'll fight and win without it. I won't let fear compromise who I am.
With the elusive man's machinations fully exposed, he makes one final effort to push his agenda through Miranda. As I featured in my Dichotomy of a Character episode featuring Miranda herself, Miranda is someone who learned through being part of the Normandy's crew that she can make her own decisions, and not be beholden to the powers that be, which is exactly what she does by also telling the elusive man to shove it. Much like Shepard, she is not the elusive man's personal attack dog that can be replaced at any time.
Miranda, do not let Shepard destroy the base.
Or what? You'll replace me next?
I gave you an order, Miranda.
I noticed. Consider this my resignation.
Shepard, think about what's at stake, about everything Cerberus has done for you.
After blowing up the collector base and telling the elusive man to stay the hell out of Shepard's way, he goes and helps Liara take down the Shadow Broker. Afterwards, Shepard can reflect on getting tapped by the Spectres, then for Cerberus, while also getting the rare chance to be brutally honest about how he feels in the company of a close friend.
It seems like forever since I was an Alliance soldier. First I get tapped for the Spectres, now Cerberus.
You succeed against odds most people wouldn't even take on. It's no wonder everyone wants you on their side. But I know it wears on you. So how are you doing, Shepard? I mean, really. Not what you tell your squad to keep morale up.
Honestly, I'm tired. Tired of dealing with Cerberus. Tired of the Council ignoring me. Tired of my closest friends not believing me?
Yes, I heard about what Ashley said on Horizon. I'm sorry. But their short-sightedness doesn't diminish what you've accomplished. You and your team destroyed the Collectors and walked out alive.
Maybe we should give ourselves some credit, like Liara says. And if we are indeed fighting for everyone, unlike Cerberus, then it's time to work within those systems to prepare for the Reapers as best we can. We've thwarted the Reapers twice, so when Harbinger tells Shepard to prepare for the arrival of the Reapers, we will be foolish not to take him at his word. Blowing up the Alpha Relay was the last and final thing Shepard could do before the Reapers rolled in, and it was, by all means, the correct thing to do. It was a necessary evil, but it did anger the Batarians, and they will want blood, and as Admiral Hackett does say,
if the Reapers invade, we need the galaxy to work together. If we're at war with the Batarians, the other races will be hesitant to give aid to either side.
Hackett has a point, and while Shepard may protest, he will need to serve as a scapegoat to preserve galactic unity for the greater threat. The question is, How far will everyone backslide on the Reaper threat during Shepard's trial? Will the bureaucrats in the council continue to deny the threat? Let's find out as we begin to talk about the manipulation, loss, and despair both Ashley and Shepard will experience within When Mass Effect 3 starts, it's made clear that Shepard's a war criminal now, and while working for Cerberus warranted some suspicion, killing 300,000 Matriarchs was a sure way to strip him of his rank and land him in the brig. Luckily, Anderson and Hackett were there to stop the Alliance from taking action against him. They'll need Shepard for the upcoming fight. However, it seems that it is about the extent of the help we will get. The Galaxy has slipped back on the threat once again, and we get called by the Alliance's Defense Committee to essentially comfort them. Of course, it's only when the Reapers are on Earth's doorstep do they finally care. It seems nothing's changed. Without Shepard to spearhead the war effort, a return to normalcy was inevitable. However, it seems there's someone who's tried hard to better herself and to resist this sort of stagnation. We run into a familiar face who seemed to change quite a lot since we last saw her.
Shepard.
Ashley.
Lieutenant Commander? How'd it go in there?
I can never tell with them. I'm just waiting for orders now.
Lieutenant Commander?
You hadn't heard?
No, I hadn't.
Sorry, Shepard. It's been... well...
Lieutenant Commander. Wow. Ashley went from being a non-commissioned officer to a commissioned officer in the past 6 months while Shepard's been the Alliance's house guest. Her family has to be super proud of her, as she's not only eclipsed her father with experience, but also in rank. Remember, her father only made it to serviceman 3rd class. Nothing special. In Mass Effect 2, Ashley also got promoted from Gunnery Chief to Operations Chief after Shepard died, only to suddenly be made an officer a few years later. It seems the Alliance is finally recognizing Ashley's skills, as she steadily proved herself to the point where she was able to apply to Officer Candidate School without the brass bitching too much. They can't possibly look her in the eye now and continue to be disparaging towards her, not after everything Ashley's been through. This can also explain why Ashley's quite literally let her hair down. Ashley's more or less conformed the idea of the ideal soldier all her life to attempt to climb the ladder of success. Now that she's done just that, she can kind of relax as she's achieved what she set out to do in the first place. That being said, why didn't Ashley come and say hello to Shepard at least once? She made it clear on and after Horizon where things stood between the two. When we bump into her in Mass Effect 3, it still seems like she's processing everything and doesn't know exactly what to say, but Shepard can step in to assure her that it's okay to be a bit speechless.
That's okay. Just glad I bumped into you, Ash.
Me too.
It seems Ashley's still bad at expressing herself, which is a nice bit of character continuity all these years later. Still, being distant from each other in the past 6 months has put a strain on Shepard and Ashley's relationship, as hinted by this line.
You know the commander?
I used to.
She's still trying to figure out who Shepard is after Cerberus brought him back, and is understandably distrustful of him after he basically committed war crimes. The problem is that she's gonna have to figure this out during the war to end all wars, which isn't very helpful. This distrust will continue up until Mars, where Shepard will have to prove his innocence to Ashley to get her to trust him again. As we've gotten to know Ashley over the course of the Mass Effect trilogy, it's clear that she's a very emotional sort of person who really does need somebody to make her feel good enough.
Ash. Look, don't ash me.
If Shepard has any hope of rekindling his relationship with Ashley, he must appeal to those emotions.
You of all people should know what I'm about, Ash.
As Mass Effect 1 explicitly tells us, being a cold hard ass with a stick lodge up your ass will earn you Ashley's ire. And now that we've gotten to know Ashley a little better than the average person might, acting this way towards her after the fact will cause her to hate Shepard.
You want to hate Cerberus? Fine. But I'm done explaining myself to you.
I hope the Reapers send you to hell.
Just like in Mass Effect 1, when Shepard questions Ash's competence and invalidates the anguish she feels after losing the 212, Shepard's effectively doing the same thing here on Mars, with Ash's reaction being very, very similar. While it may not look like it as we progress through Mars, but Ash is trying to prod Shepard to make sure he's the exact same person she knew before he died. Well, sure, it's a little bit strange how Ashley goes about getting the answers she wants from Shepard, but as we learned so far, Ashley is anything but a straight shooter. This attitude also goes hand in hand with Ash's inability to explain herself adequately, when she pries a communicator from the Cerberus soldier's helmet. This scene does two things for the plot and the commander's relationship with Ashley. It proves that Ashley has indeed become more capable with rank, while also directly confronting her with her worst fears about what Cerberus could have done to Shepard.
Oh god. He looks like a husk.
Yeah, not quite. But they've definitely done something to him.
Engineered by Cerberus? They claim to stand for humanity, and they do this to their own people. That could have been you, Shepard. For all I knew, that's what Cerberus had done to you.
How can you compare me to that thing?
I don't know what you are. Not since they got their hands on you. Is it really you in there? Do you even know? I mean, could they be controlling you?
Ash.
I'm just talking out loud. I don't need you to answer. I doubt there's anything you could say to convince me. I guess I just need some time to get to know you again. To find the guy I used to love.
I mean, if we consider everything that Ashley's seen Cerberus doing on Mars, and on Mars only, Ashley's suspicion is completely justifiable. Cerberus managed to put an AI sleeper agent on the research facility, who then, in turn, allowed Cerberus to infiltrate the base and execute all its staff. This is the same organization that resurrected your once-dead boyfriend to work for the racist shadow organization, while also never giving you the courtesy of explaining to you the how or the why. He then goes off on a suicide mission, somehow coming out unscathed, then immediately after blows up a mass relay in Batarian space, destroying an entire solar system and killing 300,000 people. It's insane, and Ashley's right to think that way too. It all culminates in this moment where Ashley takes off the soldier's helmet and has to make sure Shepard is still the same person that she once knew.
I guess I just need some time to get to know you again. To find the guy I used to love.
I'm the same person I always was, Ash. And I want you with me, wherever this takes us.
That's what I needed to hear.
Now that we've got Ashley's trust again, we learn that Cerberus was trying to steal the plans for a Prothean superweapon from the Alliance to use for their own means, which is a disturbing thought. We have to stop Cerberus no matter the cost, and take the data back to the Citadel to get help for the fight.
Hey! Step away from the console.
Shoot her, Ashley! Shoot her! Shoot her! God damn it, Ashley! I said we have to stop Cerberus no matter the cost, and take the data back to the Citadel to get help for the fight.
I got this one.
That's more like it.
Let her go.
Shoot her, Shepard! Where's my renegade prompt? Shoot her!
Finish.
Shoot her! She has the Prothean data! Shoot her! God damn it, Shepard!
Grab that thing. Bring it with us.
Shepard, we got Reaper signatures in orbit.
Ash. Come on, Ash. I'm getting you out of here.
Barely got a pulse here.
Move him out.
Where are you taking her?
Where to Memorial. Best care in the Citadel.
Here's where we get to the more detestable but somewhat understandable part of Mass Effect 3, especially for content involving Ashley. She won't be around to unironically help the Turians defend their homeworld from its moon and hear her grandfather spinning in his grave. She will not be around to see Wrex fight for the future of his people and reflect upon what would happen if she did kill him on Vermeer. Nor will she see Cerberus assaulting Grissom Academy, abducting humanity's best and brightest, which includes autistic children like David Archer. Worst of all, she won't be around to hear the Council finally admit that they were never going to help Shepard when the time came, instead electing to look out for their own interests, just like she said 2.5 years ago.
The Council cannot give Earth the military support it needs. Our own planets must come first.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but Udina puts it best.
They're a bunch of self-concerned jackasses, Shepard. We may have a spot in the Council, but humanity will always be considered second-rate.
Say it with me now, boys and girls. Ashley was right about everything. Oh, what it would give to see Ashley's reaction to this. Instead, we're gonna have to settle for Joker's reaction.
Hey, Commander. You know, I had my doubts about the Council. But after years of ignoring your warnings, they're finally willing to step up and tell you they just can't help.
They've spent years denying the threat. You think they'd be prepared now?
I was kind of hoping that maybe they were planning in secret and just not telling you about it because, you know, Cerberus. Well, let me know if you want me to get them on the channel and then hang up on them, you know, for old time's sake.
I mean, Jesus Christ, we come to a council with a plan and everything, and they're still not willing to at least throw a bone Shepard's way. For once, we have actual proof and an actual plan that might give us a chance against the greatest threat of our brief existence. We don't have a rogue specter admonishing us, nor do we have to rely on dreams or visions, nor do we have to rely with Cerberus to get this job done. And the council still says no! They still want to bellyache and play politics when we need to stand together now more than ever. Even if Shepard saved the Council in Mass Effect 1, they're still not willing to help, and they're worth seeing a lot more given that hundreds of human lives were sacrificed in the hopes that the Council will recognize humanity's equals, not so the Council can still play politics.
The cruel and unfortunate truth is that while the Reapers focus on Earth, we can prepare and regroup.
We are convening a summit amongst our species. If we can manage to secure our own borders, we may once again consider aiding.
I'm sorry, Commander. That is the best we can do.
By saving the Council, hundreds of thousands of humans are going to die, because the Council refuses to help back us up and make good on their word. Even when the Council owes humanity a favor or two, Udina, as human counselor, still wields little to no political power.
You're a Citadel counselor. Don't you have options when the others block you like this?
With Parliament destroyed and Shastri gone, I have more power than any human in history. But today, you saw how little that is.
And it's here where Shepard and Udina collectively say, screw the Council, and instead seek to undermine them for a change. In order to get the help Earth needs, we have to take the pressure off Palaven, which requires getting Krogan and/or Solarian cooperation, so the Turians can then, in turn, help Earth. But while all this is happening, Ashley will be bound to a hospital bed by what she hates most: bureaucracy and guilt. While some may not like what Bioware did with Ashley in Mass Effect 3, this was the easiest way to get Ashley and Shepard to have a heart-to-heart and level each other after everything that's just happened. After progressing through the game a little bit, Ashley will regain consciousness and be coherent enough to hold a conversation with Shepard. We also learn that Udina's asked Ashley to be a Spectre, which is a bit strange given the circumstances. Ashley's not fit to do much of anything, and as soon as she's out of bed, Udina wants her to be one of the Council's agents. I find that hard to believe, but we'll get back to this in a minute. Ashley and Shepard have some catching up to do.
Here, I picked this up for you. Figured you had some downtime.
Thanks. That's sweet. I've been climbing the walls.
How are you doing?
Good, considering. The nurse said you checked in on me earlier. Still out cold, I guess.
We didn't have time to talk. I thought maybe if you were up for it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure you wanted to. You were pretty clear on Mars about where things stood.
What do you mean?
You're not a part of Cerberus anymore. Case closed. Full stop.
It's the truth.
Okay. You cut all ties. I accept that. But where do we stand, Shepard? Did we cut all ties?
A lot has happened, Ash. But I'd like to work this out.
I'm surprised.
Why?
Miranda Lawson? Ring a bell?
What about her?
I wear armor into battle, not swimwear. I'm a real person, Shepard, flaws and all. Not sure if that's your thing anymore.
Oh, so now we know one of the main reasons why Ashley's mad at Shepard. Ashley thought she and Shepard had something special, only for him to prove her wrong in Mass Effect 2. Shepard was the only person in the galaxy that made her feel good enough to dust herself off and keep going. To Ashley now, that point is meaningless. She's no longer good enough after bearing her heart to Shepard, which does suck. Shepard can try to accuse Ashley of abandoning him on Horizon, but he fails to take into account that Ashley couldn't follow Shepard wherever he was going. Ashley was, and still is, hurt, angry, and stricken with grief, unable to truly process how the hell Shepard is even standing here in the first place. Such emotions couldn't be carried into the collector base. If Shepard refuses to be somewhat reasonable in this regard, Ashley will hate his guts for romancing certain characters within Mass Effect 2, such as Miranda, Jack, and to a certain extent, Tali. Ashley hates Miranda on the basis of her being genetically perfect and seemingly having zero flaws. While this isn't necessarily the case for Miranda's character, and I do think Ashley and Miranda would get along if they just talk it out, but Ashley hating Miranda makes perfect sense from her perspective. Ashley's had to fight throughout her entire life to get exactly what she wants, whereas Miranda's had everything given to her right down to her bloody DNA. Of course, Ashley's gonna be mad at Shepard for fooling around Miranda, as that relationship invalidates Ashley's own struggles. Ashley hating Jack is, pretty obvious.
Just thought your taste had moved on to wanted criminals with shaved heads.
You mean Jack?
Hey, I'm not judging. Whatever generates your Mass Effect field.
I mean, Jack is a violent, chaotic criminal, and Ashley values the strict discipline that the military offers, so it's not really hard to see why Ashley doesn't like her. On that note, the one and only person that Ashley doesn't necessarily hate Shepard for fooling around with is Tali. Ashley even goes as far as to say that she considers Tali a little sister, and that she totally approves of Shepard romancing the Mass Effect trilogy's best girl.
I'm surprised.
Why?
I just heard you and Tali were a thing. Look, it's okay. Tali's like a sister. I totally approve. Not that you needed my approval.
We got the green light from the ex-girlfriend, guys. It's time to romance Tali again. Yeah! Sorry, I don't know what happened. Anyway, moving on. This is some super significant character development for Ashley, and further proves that she is, in fact, not a space racist. She's empathizing with Tali, and as we learned so far, when Ashley calls or considers someone family, that is the highest personal honor she can bestow upon you as an individual. That is to say that Ashley holds Tali up to the same standards of badassery that Ashley holds her sisters up to. On a more depressing note, this is why Ash is on the verge of tears after she witnessed Tali commit suicide on Rannoch.
Can't believe Tali's gone. I know you did what you thought you had to do, but I just wish I never had to see that. Tali was like a little sister, you know? think I need some time. I'll be fine.
Of course.
Just keep the Geth away from me, alright?
While Ashley, or Mass Effect 3 in general, never explicitly says why Ashley herself considers Tali a sister, we can make a few good guesses based off Tali's character arc in Mass Effect 2. Much like Ashley, Tali has tried to make her father proud, even though her father never returned her affections, treating Tali more like a soldier instead of a daughter. Despite this, Tali is willing to be exiled to honor the memory of her father, rather than have him be held up as a traitor to a people, much like the Alliance has painted Ashley's grandfather in the same light over the years. Much like Ashley herself, Tali was also the victim of political bullshit in Mass Effect 2, which I talk about in length in that particular Dichotomy of a Character episode on Tali herself. This particular video is one of my best and most viewed videos on my channel, and I encourage you all to check it out to see those parallels between Ashley and Tali's character arcs in action. A link to this video will be in the pinned comment below, the card above in the top right corner, and in the description. On that note, we've cleared the air with Ashley, and we can finally ask her what she's been up to. We can ask Ashley about her promotion to Lieutenant Commander, her family, the Reapers invading Earth, and why she never popped in to say hello to Shepard back on Earth. For the sake of argument and for time, we're only going to ask Ashley about her promotion to Lieutenant Commander, then circle back around to everything else later.
So, what's all this Lieutenant Commander business?
Seems like the old Williams curse is losing its grip. Was sure I'd top out at gunnery, Chief.
You've worked hard. You deserve it.
I thought so too. Until Eden Prime. Losing 212 was... well, you know.
It was the Reapers, Ash. You did the best you could, and survived to help us.
Just losing everyone under my command, it's tough to face. I'll never forget any of them.
The key thing to understand here is that Ashley feels undeserving of any promotion in the first place, and still blames herself for losing her whole unit. Even after all these years, it's also made clear that Kaidan's death still bothers her to this very day through seeing Lieutenant Victus sacrifice himself on Tuchanka during the bomb mission.
Shepard, this reminds me of Vermeer. Of Kaidan.
Yeah. I was thinking about him too.
It stirs something up in her that she must go to the Normandy's casualty walls, remember Kaidan's sacrifice, and to talk with Tali about it.
You got me thinking, Shepard. With everything always going so fast around here, there's hardly time to reflect on any of it. But what Lieutenant Victus did? Well, I just miss Kaidan. Thought I'd stop by and let him know.
Put in a good word for me.
I will.
Jumped down there with the bomb.
He didn't have any other choice. It was that, or let it go off.
It almost reminds me of...
Vermeer. Yeah. Didn't you hear us on the shuttle?
Sorry. Guessed my mind was elsewhere on the shuttle ride back. It's not the same, I know that. And I've seen friends die other places, like during the attack on the Collector base. But this wasn't being killed by enemy fire. This was...
someone giving up his life for the mission. Just like Kaidan back on Vermeer.
How do you accept that, knowing that a teammate died for you?
Would you have done the same if you were guarding the bomb back on Vermeer?
To stop Saren? Yes, if I had to.
One day, it'll be your turn. And everyone who's ever died for you will be watching as you get the job done.
Thanks, Ash. Sorry to bother you.
Anytime, Tali.
Survivor's Guilt is a hell of a thing, and for Ashley to still be blaming herself after all these years proves its potency. One other weird thing to glean from this conversation is that Ashley stops herself from getting angry at the Reapers, which is very different from the blunt and emotional Ashley in Mass Effect 1. Now, if you assumed Officer Kennedy at school taught her to be less emotional, then you'd be right. If we talk to Udina after Ashley's out of her bed and accepted Udina's offer to be a Spectre, Udina will say the following.
You do know she's not a fan of politicians, right?
We've watched her recent career closely. Officer Candidate School taught her how to hold her tongue. She wants to do her family proud. I'm giving her that opportunity and she knows it.
Okay, true, but that tone of voice from Udina is kinda suspicious. Even though Udina's been somewhat agreeable thus far, make no mistake, he's still a snake, and is probably manipulating Ashley's love for her family for his own gain. A perspective that's further validated if Shepard picks the Paragon option within this conversation.
It's about time someone recognized Ashley's contribution.
Yes, her service record speaks for itself. She's a survivor, a warrior, and most importantly, she is incorruptible. I will be keeping her close. Do not worry.
Udina wants to keep Ashley close, but what exactly does that mean? He also mentions that Ashley is incorruptible, which given Udina's intentions to keep Ashley close, has some rather disturbing implications. Furthermore, does the Council even need more Spectres at this point? Even Ashley's confused as to what being a Spectre actually means.
Ready for the responsibilities of a Spectre?
Doesn't feel real yet. Maybe it'll sink in. I don't know what duties I'll have. Everything's a mess right now.
I know the Council is incompetent and unfocused, but giving someone Spectre status is something that they must at least put some amount of thought into. It's weird that Udina comes to Huerta Memorial and offers Ashley Spectre status while she's still bedridden and feeling like she's letting everyone down. I will go as far as to say that Udina is preying on Ashley's frustrations by offering to make her a Spectre. It's weird that the human counselor is talking to the bedridden human Spectre candidate. If Ashley's truly proven herself to be worthy of being a Spectre in the first place, the other counselors would have come to see her in the hospital too. Ashley also got her skull slammed to the side of a shuttle, so there's the possibility that she's still not all right in the head.
I'd like an answer, Lieutenant Commander. The galaxy has need of exceptional soldiers like you, now more than ever.
I still need time. You'll have my answer soon, I promise.
I look forward to it.
Again, Udina is a snake, and that goes hand in hand with what we're going to talk about next.
What do you think of all this?
Yeah. I'm never sure of Udina's motives. Seems a little too convenient.
Well, gee, thanks for your support.
I don't need Udina to tell me you're an exceptional soldier. Nor should you.
I guess so. He said we'll have the official ceremony soon. Once I'm out of here.
And after? Any plans to come back to the Normandy?
If I have anything to say about it, yes.
I'm glad.
After dealing with the genophage, the Slayer and Delatras will tell us that Udina has been engaging in some less than legal activities and wants to meet Shepard on the Citadel. Once we get there, it seems something is very wrong. Jorgo checks the emergency channels, only to find out that Cerberus is taking control of the station with the intent of killing the Council. It's a coup d'etat, and I can think of nothing worse than Cerberus getting into wartime politics, so it's up to Shepard to stop them. We find that Commander Belly is still alive, who then tells us that the Executor and the Solarian Council were moving to arrest Udina on charges of corruption. It seems he was taking massive amounts of bribes for some political end or another. As our cover path through the Citadel, we find out from the Solarian Councilor that Cerberus paid off Udina to make it possible for them to even stage this coup in the first place. Thankfully, Kai Lang allows her to say this before she's promptly cut down by him. And on that note, take a wild guess at who's guarding Udina and the rest of the Council per Udina's grand designs.
Did you feel that? Gunman, get down!
Oh fuck, it's Ashley. Well, it seems Udina wasn't kidding when he said he would be keeping Ashley close, and by this, he meant that he was going to use Ashley as his own personal attack dog. Kai Lang would kill Ashley, who, if you recall, doesn't have a good track record when dealing with Cerberus assassins. After dispatching Ashley, Lang would then assassinate the Council, allowing Udina to seize power as Cerberus' puppet. I don't think people give Udina enough credit for orchestrating this whole thing in the first place, as the groundwork's been laid ever since Ashley was in the hospital. He's gotten the incorruptible neophyte Spectre, who's been trying to prove herself throughout her entire life to feel as though she's indebted to him. So when Cerberus assaults the Citadel, Ashley is of course going to flock to his defense.
She wants to do her family proud. I'm giving her that opportunity and she knows it.
It's a brilliant plan, and if the Delatras hadn't ordered Shepard back to the Citadel, Cerberus would have absolutely succeeded. Keeping in mind that Ashley's been the victim of Udina's manipulation ever since she regained consciousness, it is fair to say that she will require some persuasion to see that she was fooled. Here's where Shepard's relationship with Ashley will ultimately be tested depending on Shepard's choices throughout the trilogy. Effectively, it all boils down to whether or not Shepard has proven himself worthy of Ashley's trust. Mass Effect 3 will check her save file for certain flags and assign each decision a numerical value, or in less video gaming terms, what actions cause Ashley to trust or distrust Shepard. If the total numerical value of these decisions is 4 or higher, Ashley will automatically side with Shepard against Udina. If the value is between 0 or 3, Shepard will need to pass a reputation check. If the value is -1 or below, Ashley won't be able to be talked down. For this particular save file, we did romance then cheat on Ashley, while also leaving the Council to die in Mass Effect 1. Captain Kirhi also perished from Vermeer, so before we even start Mass Effect 3, Ashley absolutely feels like Shepard needs to prove himself worthy of her trust again, as it will literally be at -2. The only way for Shepard to start to regain Ashley's trust enough to prompt the reputation check is for Shepard to be understanding of Ashley on Mars and to visit her in the hospital at least once, as the final trust value will be between 0 and 3. In less video gaming terms, Ashley will beg Shepard to stand down because she's still unsure of where she stands with him.
Just stand down, Shepard. I don't want to do this, but I will.
Ash, you know the stakes. You've got to trust me. I'm on your side, but I need you to believe in me. Like you used to.
Maybe it's not time to give up on you yet. All right, Skipper. Udina, step back from the console.
To hell with this.
We've managed to convince Ashley to trust us once again and stop Cerberus from seizing control of the Citadel. But Ashley has to be reeling from this whole situation. She's become what she's hated the most, an attack dog for a politician who intend to get her killed to advance his own agenda. Before Shepard sits back out, Ashley will try to make sense of what just happened, realizing that she almost lost sight of what was important to her, and decides to make up for lost time in more ways than one. Her first order of business was asking Shepard to ride the war out on the Normandy, as she refused to help him out last time. If the commander does indeed say yes, then Ashley's second order of business will begin to assume the role of Matriarch of the Williams family. Before the Citadel coup, Ashley will tell us that her younger sister Sarah's husband was killed in action, with Sarah wanting to honor his memory at a memorial wall that's been put up by the refugees in the Citadel. While this scene might seem small and insignificant, it is a scene that completes Ashley's normal character arc having to do with her father and her blacklisting by the Alliance military. At first, Ashley's not sure what to say to her sister, as Ashley's never been particularly good at expressing herself, but as Shepard reminds her, she needs to be strong for her baby sister now. Her family, and that's to say her father, made Ashley the person she is in Mass Effect 3. It's now Ashley's turn to carry that torch. In other words, the comparison I made earlier between Telemachus and Ashley has come full circle. Ashley has done well to honor the teachings of her father, so that she can, in turn, be an inspiration for her sisters as the matriarch of the Williams family. Ashley's finally brought some closure and peace to her family name through hard work and determination. All Ashley has to do now is help Shepard win the war, so her sisters can pass on their lessons to their grandkids so they can have a brighter future. Now, the question is, what will Ashley's future look like? Will she tell her sisters and her grandkids that she just hung out in the observation deck while serving under Commander Shepard aboard the Normandy SR-2? Or will she say that she served under Shepard in a different context, if you catch my meaning? Before everything goes to shit again, Ashley's last order of business is to level with Shepard, as this is the last chance she'll possibly get. She wants to know if she and Shepard can pick up where they left off, if that's even possible in the first place. Ashley does this in the best way possible, while also showcasing some unique character development along the way. Instead of pulling on the words from some dead poets or writing an apologetic email to Shepard explaining her emotions, Ashley's able to express herself just fine on her own now.
Well now, those big powerful Citadel arms giving you ideas, Commander?
Maybe.
Then maybe I have something to ask you.
What?
Well, we had something before. A long time ago. Something important. You've seen me at my worst. Totally embarrassing. You were there for me when my baby sister was suffering. I've held a gun in you, Shepard. I'm just saying, we've been through a lot. I have to know. Are we going somewhere?
I want more, Ash. I can't see myself with anyone else.
That's good. I'd hate to have to punch out whichever table-dancing tart is throwing herself at you this time.
Such a romantic.
You love it. Now
Remind me.
Yes, sir.
Despite all the baggage Ashley and Shepard have carried over the past 2 games, Ashley still wants to be with Shepard wherever the road takes them, for the relationship is rooted in tragedy and fear of losing each other again. This is why Ashley's concerns about losing Shepard again while they're chasing Leviathan hit harder than all the other romance options for male Shepard.
Shepard, snap out of it. He's freezing. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Hell of a headache.
Never do that again.
If they do end up crossing the bar like the 212 and Kanan did before them, so be it. If they witness the Asari homeworld fall, they will at least be together while it happens. They'll be together to see Cerberus become the very thing they set out to destroy on Horizon. They'll be together when they both find out that Cerberus made a clone of Shepard for insurance, and be there to party down after kicking him off the Normandy. They'll be together when both Ashley and Shepard find out exactly how dead he was before Cerberus resurrected him.
It can't be done. It's not a matter of resources.
It's always a matter of resources. We're not losing Shepard.
Sir, Shepard is clinically brain dead. After that much trauma, that long with no oxygen, we cannot overcome nature.
Operative Lawson disagrees. She is now in charge of Project Lazarus.
I didn't realize it was that bad.
I thought you were just unconscious. That sounds like more.
Looks like.
How did it feel? Do you remember anything from while you were under?
No different than any other time I've been knocked out. Just took him a little longer to slap me back into fighting shape. I'm still me. And this, it doesn't change anything.
Damn right it doesn't. Whatever anyone says, you're you.
Tissue regeneration is proceeding. The helmet kept the brain intact for whatever good that will do.
Lawson will find a way.
Sir, you realize that Shepard is a veteran of a coup. A Cerberus operation wiped out his entire squad.
Shepard's a soldier. He knows the Reapers are the real threat. He'll work with us.
And you did.
The Alliance wasn't listening. What the hell was I supposed to do? Sit and wait?
You did what you had to. Now let's go put it right.
They'll be together when we finally get to stab Kai Lang in his stupid fucking face! That was for Thane, you son of a bitch!
The Reapers are preparing to complete their harvest of your species.
I'll stop them.
It is too late. I recommend...
I'll stop them.
Then at last, they'll be together before the call comes. One last opportunity for Ashley to tease Shepard into making her feel good enough for the fight ahead, with Shepard being somewhat apprehensive about indulging her.
Everything's ready, Shepard.
What about you? Are you ready?
Let's get it done and go home.
We're not getting off that easy, Ash.
No. We looking at a rough ride?
Ash, I get what you're trying to do.
This is the final instance of Shepard being afraid of losing Ashley, which is something that Ashley understands more than anything else in the world.
Hey, no brushing me off. Talk to me. What's going on?
I'm not brushing you off. I'm just thinking about everyone we've lost fighting this war.
I understand. And do I ever? You know, I was lost without you, Shepard. When I thought you were dead, it broke my heart. And then you found your way back. It was a miracle. Screw the science. It was a damn miracle, Shepard.
I couldn't do this without you, Ashley. When I first met you back on Eden Prime, I saw a woman who never gave up. You lost your company, expected no help, and there you were, fighting an invasion single-handed.
You don't need to say anything, Shepard.
No, I do. Ash.
I doubted you once, Shepard, and I lost you. That's not happening again. Just shut up and kiss me.
One last embrace, and one last nightmare to reflect upon who we've lost, before we seize victory from the Reapers at any cost.
Hey, you okay?
Having trouble sleeping, I guess.
I'm surprised you slept at all with everything going on.
Yeah, you're right. Just jitters, I guess.
Just jitters, he says. You amaze me.
He says jitters, and she snickers. Ashley is amazed that Shepard is indeed unfazed. Such confidence is indicative of competence, as a consequence responsible for Ashley overcoming the improbable.
You being here, with me, it means everything.
Shepard.
Shh. I love you.
All things will die at the twilight and evening bell. So thee merry couple, I do bid farewell. For there will be no sadness at the passing bell, when I tell these melancholic souls, farewell. We can only hope history will look upon us favorably, as Shepard and Williams endeavor to never surrender. We meet at the final lift will be, where she and thee remain restless.
Hey.
How are you holding up?
Restless. Everything depends on this. Think we have a chance?
There's always hope. That's how we got this far.
And you made it happen, Shepard. You're the reason we're here.
I've had people like you picking me up and dusting me off when I stumbled. Lost count of all the times you've saved me.
Almost as many times as you saved me, hero man. It always comes down to this. Feels like 1,000 years since we met on Eden Prime. So much has happened. It's hard to figure out how we got here.
You're a survivor, Ash. Always were.
I hope you're right.
Boldly they rode and well. Into the jaws of death. Into the mouth of hell.
I don't want you to go. I love you, Shepard.
I love you too.
Though they may be slain, still they remain. This is our home, our domain. This is where the pair will fight upon the cool green hills of Earth, before crossing the bar, at the end, once and for all.
Then let's get it done, and go home.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Outride the sons of Terra. Far drives the thundering jet. Up leaps the race of Earthmen. Out far and onward yet. We pray for one last landing on the globe that gave us birth. Let us rest our eyes on fleecy skies and the cool green hills of Earth.
Here, take her.
Shepard!
You gotta get out of here.
With all due respect, Commander.
Don't argue with me, Ash.
Damn it, I can do this.
I know you can. No matter what happens here today, I'll always love you.
Shepard, I love you too.
Go!
Shepard leaves Ashley behind for the second and final time in the Mass Effect trilogy. While she tries to protest with a nice callback to a line from Mass Effect 1, she cannot argue with Shepard, even though she's basically telling Shepard to kiss her ass. Even so, Ashley knows she has to let go. Ashley is forever doomed to be a survivor, and Shepard is, well, doomed to be Shepard. She would never be able to follow him everywhere, even though she wants to. It's a cruel way for Ashley to say goodbye to Shepard, especially with someone who's racked with survivor's guilt. But, as Ashley knows, life's unfair, and if everything happens for a reason, who is Ashley to question fate? The only thing that Ashley can do now is tell Shepard what she neglected to say in between Mass Effect 1 and 2, when the Collectors attacked the Normandy SR-1, and she lost Shepard for the first time. And thus, Ashley completes her character arc, and shortly after, Shepard completes his. Our time together is at an end, and we must decide. 4 paths lay before us, but which one would Ashley pick if she made it up to the Citadel instead of Shepard? As per usual, refusal is thrown right out the window. Ashley and apathy definitely don't mix together. As for the synthesis ending, Ashley has gone on record saying that she hates indoctrination, and that changing anything that makes Ashley herself is detestable and disgusting. Now imagine doing that on a galactic scale to everybody, and we can see why Ashley would not pick this ending. I would also think that the control ending will be equally detestable for Ashley as the refusal ending, as it means that Ashley will become a god. If she chooses this ending, she won't be able to see her family in heaven, instead being bound to whatever immortal plane the Reapers created for her. Fuck that. That leaves us with only one viable option. Destroy. It is a nuclear option, but the goal from the beginning was to stop the Reapers, not subdue them or control them. Ashley's been in this fight since Cerberus attacked Eden Prime, and before even Shepard was even involved in the fight in the first place. So the only logical choice for her is to pick the destroy ending. Dead Reapers are how Shepard and Ashley will win this war, and forever dead they shall be. The Reapers will never harm nor harvest any organic ever again, as we put an end to the reign of terror once and for all.
Disengage and head to the rendezvous point. I repeat, disengage and get the hell out of here.
Jeff, we need to go.
Damn it.
As our time together comes to a close once more, only 3 questions remain. Who's Ashley Williams in the Mass Effect universe? Why do I consider her to be a compelling, well-written character? And finally, what can we learn from Ashley's character arc in the Mass Effect trilogy? When Ashley's character arc first begins, she was fighting off a Geth invasion single-handedly, while also not getting the credit she thought she deserved at the time. She saw her entire unit get obliterated before her very eyes, and vowed to do better for them, as unreasonable as that demand might be. When Shepard makes Ashley feel welcome aboard the Normandy, it comes off as a huge relief to her. It's through Shepard where she can slowly but surely begin to drop the mask of military bravado she's cultivated for herself to make her family proud. Through romancing Ashley, Shepard can make her feel good enough to keep fighting and keep persevering, only for her feelings of despair, loss, guilt, and loneliness to be compounded by Shepard's death and subsequent return to the land of the living. Within Mass Effect 3, Ashley and Shepard manage to find some amount of solace within these emotions, and work together to push past them to begin loving each other again. Her abrasive but righteous attitude might earn the ire of some players, but you'd be wrong not to admire Ashley's fierce determination, stalwart defense of her personal values, and your ruthless pursuit of her goals. The past 15 years of discourse surrounding Ashley as a character has painted her as just a plain space racist with 0 redeemable qualities, which is blatantly and objectively not true. If being skeptical of politicians and believing that the Council will use humanity as their own personal attack dogs to clean up their own political messes makes someone a space racist, then I guess I'm a space racist too. Ashley's suspicions of the Council, Cerberus, and politicians in general are well founded and are vindicated throughout the entire plot of the Mass Mass Effect trilogy itself, as I proved in this very video. The worst crime that Ash has committed is liking classical literature that's significant to her character arc and loving her family, toiling day by day in a job where she's blacklisted to please her ancestors so she can hopefully see them again in the afterlife. It takes a special kind of person who possesses all that drive and determination not to only handle all those things, but to go above and beyond what's expected of you to prove your greatest critics wrong, while also staying true to your core beliefs. Ash is such a dynamic and interesting character that embodies the spirit of Mass Effect so well that I truly do feel sorry for those players who just dump Ashley and Virmire without hesitation. Thus, the lessons we learn from Ash's character arc are made clear. It's true that these lessons aren't inherently complicated, as they all come down to lessons about inner strength and persevering through impossible odds, even when everyone hates your guts and misinterprets your words. The way Ashley goes about solving her problems and coping with her blacklisting by the military is what makes her an interesting and well-written character among Mass Effect's cast. But most of all, it's what makes Ashley a unique and compelling character in fiction, one that's certainly worthy of being celebrated for all time and giving another chance when Mass Effect Legendary Edition is finally released. So as our time together wanes, what lessons can we glean from the character arc of Mass Effect's Ashley Williams? As Ashley has shown us throughout this video, family can serve as both a source of strength and wisdom, even in death, a true rarity when it comes to the cast of Mass Effect. It is also not a weakness to look to the past for some help, even if and when humanity has begun to colonize the stars. The human condition and all the suffering that comes packaged with it is universal, and through these interpretations of what it means to be a human being with massive glaring flaws, you may indeed find some comfort in their words. However, I think the most important lesson we can glean from Ashley is the lesson of self-determination. Despite all the trouble that Ash has faced throughout her entire life, she's managed to carve her own path through sheer willpower. I'm not saying that those watching need to arm a nuke while doing backflips while being stuck in place because you accidentally activated marksman. I'm merely suggesting you take heed from Ashley's incredible willpower and apply an eighth of it to your own endeavors. This is the final and most important lesson of Ashley Williams, a seemingly controversial, yet nuanced, important, compelling, and well-written character. As always guys, this has been XBadgerKnightX, and I want to thank you all for watching until the very end. This Dichotomy of a Character episode covering Ashley was certainly an interesting one to make for sure, and I think I've come out with a new appreciation for Ashley's character and her place within my favorite franchise. I also hope I've done the same for those watching. On that note, if this video made you think differently about Ashley's character arc and place within the Mass Effect trilogy, let me know down in the comment section below. As I've learned from making this very video, any discussion that involves Ashley is a live wire, which in turn makes for quite the spicy comment section. It's up to you guys if you want to fan the flames with some more hot takes. Comment section's open guys, go nuts. We're also super close to hitting my 1,000 subscriber milestone, so if you guys haven't already, hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. So with all that being said, what's coming up next for my channel? What other videos do I plan on uploading in the future? Well, with the release of Mass Effect Legendary Edition in a few days, expect a full and lengthy review of this definitive version of the game where I will take stock of all of its changes and technical improvements, then compare them to what's already available in the vanilla game and through mods. I'm also fully committing to releasing another Dichotomy of a Character episode on Miranda Lawson in a few weeks. I've got all the footage I need, I just need to polish up the script and piece everything together. After that episode, I think I'll be all Mass Effected out as far as my Dichotomy of a Character series goes. I might do an episode on Kaidan, but I will make no promises here. I actually want to do a bit of a change up here and take a look at Persona 5 Royal's cast of characters, and do an episode or two on its cast. I plan on doing episodes covering Makoto Nijima, Kasumi Yoshizawa, and An Takamaki. Well, some of you might already know that I already kinda did an episode on An Takamaki, but that video was mostly a response to an ignorant video essayist. I thought that An deserved better than to withstand that sort of slander, hence the video. But I think it's time to formally induct An into the Dichotomy of a Character Hall of Compelling Characters. An definitely needs her own video. Needless to say, the future of my channel looks super bright, and I'm feeling pretty motivated, mostly due to you guys. I started the series back when I had no less than 150 subscribers, and now I'm almost at 1,000. I sincerely thank you all for your loyalty and support. I thank you all for giving my videos the time of day, and allowing me to share my thoughts on why I think certain characters in fiction are compelling and well written. As always guys, if you want to see more content from me, consider liking the video, dropping a comment down below, and subscribing to my channel for any and all future content for myself. Let's try and hit that 1K subscriber mark, yeah? As always guys, this has been XBadgerKnightX, and I thank you for sticking around to the very end. I'll see you guys in the next episode, where we talk about Mass Effect's resident Aussie booty queen that the Normandy SR2's cameraman thought was too thick to film for the Legendary Edition, Miranda Lawson. I'll see you guys then. I'm out of here, and goodbye for now.
Death closes all. But something ere the end, some work of noble note, may yet be done. Not unbecoming men that strove with gods.